So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the second part of the story, what if Naruto went back in time with additional powers. The support you guys have been showing for this series is insane. I thank you all for showing this love and support to the video. I love you all. If you guys enjoy this what if and want next part of this video, comment down below to let me know. The comments on videos really help me out a lot. They motivate me to upload more frequently, so please do comment down below. Before I start, please do support for more awesome contents and leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And share this video with your friends and also check out the descriptions and check out the playlists. With that out of the way, let's start. Chapter 9, Setting into Motion Part 3. By the next morning the marriage arrangement and betrothal bond between the two Hyuga heiresses and the Kazama clan heir was quite well known. Of course the more ignorant souls of Konoha were calling out for Naruto's blood since he had somehow bewitched the Hyuga clan. The elders of the Hyuga clan were none too pleased by this new development, but they were also scared after. All who wanted to try to fight a guy that killed a five-tailed demon scorpion. The more sensible people in the village were quite happy with this. Though some of his fan base had been upset that he was taken, thankfully, it wasn't very common knowledge of just how many wives he could have. There were 3 certain girls though that had interesting reactions. They were happy, depressed and worried all at the same time. Ino, Sakura and Tenten were happy that Hinata got her chance, depressed that it wasn't them, and worried that it might never be them either. Naruto however had gone, in private, to a special jeweler that Sarutobi had told him of the previous night when he went to sign his part of the marriage arrangement and betrothal bond. The shop carried some of the finest jewelry in all of the elemental countries, and the owned was a kindly old man who had been making master works for more than 6 decades named Hiro Yamada. Sarutobi's story had been true. Naruto, with a letter from the Hokage, went to the shop early in the morning, intent on getting Popper symbols for Hinata and Hanabi hers would be given to her in the future. However the man had such an interesting collection that Naruto bought rings for the other girls in case things went well with them if not he could always figure out something later. He even bought a piece for himself that was a dragon wrapped around a yin-yang symbol in form of a medallion. He also got gold chains for each of the girls so their rings could be placed on them. He knew he might be jumping the gun with 3 of the rings, but his instincts told him to buy them. For Hinata he got a platinum ring carved to look like vines, and on the top a purple amethyst was fixed in the shape of a lotus bloom. Hanabi got a similar one only the bloom was an orchid and made of sapphire. For Ino he found a ring with various types of gold, made to look like roses in the shape of a ring, and in the center was a blue topaz that looked like her eyes. For Sakura he found a ring with her namesake tree carved into each side in gold and on the top was a setting for 3 pink tourmaline stones, going from small to large, in the shape of cherry blossom petals. Tenten was a bit harder to find one for, but he did find one that fit her. It was a simple platinum band with 3 gold kanji etched into it for beauty, courage and wisdom. After acquiring the specified items and paying the proper amount of Ryo Naruto promised the elderly jeweler that he would bring any future business he had to him. Later that morning saw Hinata proudly walking to meet her team with her ring on a gold chain around her neck, her face still flushed from thanking him for nearly 10 minutes. She had giggled when he left mumbling about cold showers and girls more mature for their age than they should be. Ino sat in her family's shop completely bored out of her mind and slightly fussing in her mind about the new situation with Naruto. To this day she could still remember him as a little kid running around in orange shorts and a white t-shirt chasing bullies away from her and Sakura. She idly wondered if he remembered those times. She and Sakura had never forgotten him. They had been 6 years old when they first met. Naruto had protected Sakura from a genin bully and got the crap beaten out of him in the process. They had tried to make fun of Ino too, and Naruto had defended her as well. After that they became friends and played a couple of times until a group of villagers chased him off throwing stones at him and calling him a demon Sakura's. Mom had been included at that time, something the woman still regretted to this day. After that Naruto seemed to change, he dropped his usual kind and brave self and turned into an annoying idiot. He always played pranks, took nothing seriously and let his grades slip at the academy. Sakura had been forbidden to ever speak to him unless forced, deciding that he was a bad kid who would hurt her and Ino. As the years passed the 2 girls went on with their lives, never forgetting the Naruto they met, but hating the one he turned into. Ino had been the most disappointed. She had a crush on him when they first met. Now that they knew the truth behind Naruto and his secrets, they knew he did what he did to protect them. Naruto had learned early on in his rather dismal life that having friends was something he would never gain, as such he spent an entire childhood alone, no friends, no family and a lot of hate, anger and resentment. It made Ino sick that she had nearly followed down that path had Naruto not dropped the act that one day and showed everyone just what kind of person he was. She shuddered to think where she might have ended up, still a damn fangirl most likely. Spending time and getting to know him over the past couple of weeks had been bliss for the young Yamanaka. It didn't take long for her old crush to reignite and grow from there. They always talked a lot when he came by to train her help around the shop. Like her, he had quite the green thumb and appreciation of plants. He did go beyond that though, as he had a lot of knowledge concerning medicinal herbs, poisonous plants and eatable plant life. As well, he was practically a walking, talking herbology guide. Idly she wondered if he would stop by today. As if summoned by her thoughts, said Han Yu walked into the shop dressed in his casuals, blue jeans, black sneakers, his belt with the utility pouches on them, and a black tank top. His tail and thick braid of hair swing behind him, and in his hand a bag holding a thermos and some food. "Naruto-kun. What brings you by here?" Ino asked excitedly. "Everyone else was busy today, so I thought I'd drop by for lunch," Naruto said, holding up the bag. "Nothing fancy though, just some rice balls, dango, egg rolls and a few pot stickers with some green tea." Ino let out a playful pout. "Aw, I was hoping you were going to give me a gift like you did Hinata." Naruto chuckled. "News sure gets around fast in this village. So you're not mad?" "Not really, just a little disappointed. I wanted to date you too," Ino answered. Naruto sighed. "Ino-chan, you know my circumstances, just because I'm engaged to Hinata-chan and betrothed to Hanabi-chan doesn't mean we can't date," Naruto said, placing the bag on the counter only to get tackled by Ino a second later. "Do you mean it?" she asked hopefully. "I know I used to be mean to you and all, but I was." She was silenced by Naruto putting his finger on her lips. "It's in the past and I don't hold a grudge unless there is a damn good reason for it, and being teased because of immaturity is not one of those reasons. If you want to date officially, then I would be honored, and in time if you still want to be with me I would be happy to accept you as part of my clan in future," Naruto said. Ino's aqua blue eyes looked into Naruto's icy sapphire blue and saw that he spoke only the truth and that he had feelings for her, perhaps not as strong as what he felt for Hinata or maybe Sakura, but definitely for more than a friend. She found herself quite transfixed as she looked into his eyes, amazed at how expressive they could be when he let them show it. As if on instinct alone she tilted her head up, her face nearing his almost if drawn to it. Naruto took notice, a small smile on his lips, and closed the distance to give her what she seemed to want so badly. As soon as their lips touched, Ino felt a thrilling shock surge through her body. Opening her mouth slightly to deepen the kiss caught Naruto slightly off guard, but he reciprocated anyways, idly noticing that she tasted of apples and cinnamon. Ino let out a moan. She had expected Naruto to taste of ramen, but got mint and tea instead, and he was making her toes curl rather nicely. This wasn't her first kiss, she had kissed Shikamaru once and to her embarrassment, Sakura, as a dare. Kissing Naruto however was a whole different level of an experience and she honestly doubted anyone else could compare. The kiss broke for the need of fresh air. Ino was flushed pink in the cheeks with a glazed, half-lidded look in her eyes. Naruto almost laughed. Hinata looked the same way the previous day, maybe he wasn't so bad at this romance thing after all. "And to think, I just came here for lunch," Naruto chuckled. "Oh, if I could I'd give you more than lunch." Bad Ino, not the time to have perverted thoughts, at least not yet anyways, haha. Ino giggled in her mind. "So does this mean I can be your girlfriend, Whiskers?" Ino asked playfully. "I would think that the answer was kinda obvious, Ino-chan," Naruto said with a half smile. "Nice to see you two getting along so well, so when's the date set?" A feminine voice asked from behind them with a snicker. Ino flushed beetroot. "Mom!" she cried out at being caught. Ino reluctantly pulled herself away from Naruto. The woman was Amame Yamanaka. She looked like a slightly older version of Ino with the same color eyes, but with sandy blonde hair, in contrast to the platinum blonde hair that her husband and daughter sported. She also had the same personality as Ino, but with a more maternal side to it and a Sakura-like temper if pissed off. Thankfully Naruto had never seen it. Busted, Naruto thought, slightly amused. "Good afternoon, Amame-san, how are you today?" Naruto asked politely. The older woman smiled at the two. "I'm doing just fine, Naruto-kun. Congratulations on your engagement to the Hyuga heiress. Would my daughter perhaps be the next one for your harem?" she teased. Naruto's face twisted in a slight scowl. "I dislike that word. I'm not building a harem, I'm making a family. Harems usually consist of a group of women that serve a master. I loathe that. I refuse to play favorites, and all the women I will be with will eventually be married to me and will be treated with the respect they are due." Amame smiled, so did Inoichi, who was sitting on the top of the stairs. They had thought highly of the boy before, but now he had their full approval. Ino had another glazed look covering her face, which was amusing considering Sasuke never had this much of an effect on her. "That's nice to know, we can't be too careful with our little girl now," Amame said. Naruto nodded in understanding. If he had a daughter he'd probably kill any male that came within 10 feet of her, unless he approved of them. Ino snapped out of her mental bliss as something she had been wanting to ask Naruto suddenly crossed her mind. "Hey, Naruto-kun, I heard from Sakura that you've been teaching her elemental jutsu and manipulations." Do you think you could teach me some? Ino asked using her patented big-eyed pout jutsu. Naruto chuckled. That won't work on me, Ino-chan, but I did plan on seeing what your element was anyways. He pulled out a card from his belt pouch. Pump a little of your chakra into this card and we'll find out. Half of the card burst into flames while the other half crinkled up. Well damn, first Sakura-chan is a water-earth type with the possibility of learning wood elements in the future. Hinata-chan was a water-wind type, meaning she might be able to learn ice element jutsu, and now Ino-chan is both fire and lightning. I might be able to teach her a few fire-lightning fusion jutsu when she gets strong enough. The strange thing is the girls seem more powerful this time around. Oh well, I'll just help them best as I can. Naruto thought as he studied the card. Well, Ino-chan, you have fire and lightning affinities. I know quite a few jutsu for each, and I have made a few fusion jutsu I can teach you once you get your reserves and strength up higher. Naruto said. Inoichi walked down the stairs with a confused look on his features. Fusion jutsu? He asked. Naruto nodded. Hello, Inoichi-san, and yes, fusion jutsu. He started. I discovered that if you have more than one element and if you can meet the right conditions, you can make sub-element jutsu, which is basically a fusion of 2 of the 5 main elements. Wood element jutsu is a combination of water and earth elements with a high level of manipulation and control abilities. The first Hokage was gifted with this as part of his bloodline, but it can be recreated. Sakura-chan should be able to do wood jutsu once she gains a mastery over her elements. How many fusions are there? Ame asked. Naruto looked thoughtful. Ice for water-wind users, magma for fire-earth users, wood or as I prefer plant for water-earth users and shadow for light-dark users. There is also a rare tri-element fusion called metal consisting of fire water earth users, but it is very rare for anyone to have more than 2 elements. I'm an exception to that rule because being a Hanyu gave me an affinity to all the elements, the price being that I'm only part human. He paused for a moment. Then there are fusions of elements that boost overall power like lightning, fire or fire wind. To be honest, creating new jutsu isn't too hard if you know what you're doing and have good element manipulation and chakra control. All it takes is a bit of experimentation and a good imagination. Damn, and I thought our clan's mind jutsu were something special. Inoichi mumbled. Don't knock your own techniques, they are very good. The only mind jutsu I know is the memory copy jutsu. However, the Yamanaka clan was once known for its ionics, and that gift still resides within anyone of Yamanaka blood. All you need to do is try deep meditation and find the thread of chakra that links your core to your mind and try to find out what it is that has blocked the flow of mental or psi energy. Psi energy? Ino asked confused. The body consists of 3 separate types of energies. Kai for body, Kai for soul and Psi for mind. Kai and Kai when combined form a more potent and versatile energy called chakra. For most this happens automatically as they grow, hence chakra cores and coils. But since the discovery of chakra and its versatile uses, people have forgotten how to tap into pure Kai and Psi energies. But if one were to connect their chakra to their Psi, they would gain a much stronger and useful chakra, making a harmony of mind, body and soul. I also learned to do that and gained a few modest Psi skills such as teleportation, telekinesis and telepathy, though I still have to obey all the practical limits. I can't teleport to places I haven't been or anywhere beyond a 10-mile radius, and even that can be a strain sometimes. I can't use telekinesis to lift anything above 2 times my own body weight, and I can't use telepathy with another person unless they willingly allow me to create a telepathic link with them. All of this is made easier though by adding chakra. Ryuso Shunshin techniques are actually a modified teleport and Shunshin jutsu with element chakra and Psi energy added into it. Naruto lectured. The Yamanaka clan still uses a bit of Psi energy in their clan jutsu since standard chakra wouldn't cut it and the Yamanaka clan has a history of psionics. Your jutsus however specialize in invading the mind, controlling it, gathering information from it, or causing anything from intense confusion to waking nightmares. Naruto finished. How do you know all of this? Inoichi asked. Naruto decided a half-truth was better than a full-blown lie. When I absorbed Kyuubi's powers and abilities, I gained most of its knowledge as well as a few memories. It was actually kind of painful. Think of having several millennia of information suddenly crammed into your mind all at once and then your mind automatically taking the task of sorting the information. If the human mind didn't work so fast there was no telling just how long I would have had that migraine. Thankfully I only had one for about a week straight. Though not being able to move really sucked too since my body was also making its adjustments at that time. What I got didn't come without a painful price, just remember that. Naruto stated. Inoichi cringed at the thought of that kind of headache. It would be likening to a slow torture to insanity. Meaning that Naruto not only had a diamond hard will but an intensely high tolerance to pain. Amaim looked a little confused, she wasn't a kunoichi, so she didn't know much about how chakra and all those other things worked, but she had enough sense to know that Naruto had paid with a lot of pain to get the power he now had, an amazing feat considering how poorly he had been treated most of his life. Ino was just odd, not only was her boyfriend hot, strong and could kick major ass, but he was incredibly intelligent. She couldn't discount his other nice features either, after all, kindness, gentleness and attentiveness went a long way with a girl too. I'll write of some scrolls on meditation and send them over with a shadow clone so you can work on strengthening your family jutsu. If you don't mind though, I'll train Ino-chan in it myself, who knows, she might even come up with a few new jutsu of her own. Naruto offered and was promptly glumped by said teen girl. So much for our simple little lunch, huh? Naruto chuckled. Ino pouted. It's still early, we can still have some lunch. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment, his tail actually came up and rubbed the side of his head in a scratching motions, causing Ino and her mother to giggle at how cute the young Hanyu could be without realizing it. We could go to the park and make it a picnic if you want. Naruto offered. Amaim smiled. That is a good idea, I will watch things here at the shop. Ino, go enjoy yourself with your new boyfriend. Ino blushed a bit but smiled and hugged her parents before dragging Naruto out of the door with a bag of goodies in tow. Their picnic date ended up being a wonderful experience for Ino, and she would look forward to future dates with her new boyfriend. 6 loud clangs rang through the air as 6 kunai fell at Naruto's feet in 2 pieces. Letting out a breath, he settled back onto his favorite stance. One of his katana resting on his right shoulder while the other was poised in front of him, ready to block or attack at a moment's notice. His opponent let a smirk cross her lips, no one gave her this kind of challenge in Kenjutsu but him. It was invigoration, it was fun, it was a freaking turn on. Pulling out 6 shuriken and channeling some chakra into them, she began preparing for one of the new jutsu he had taught her. Shadow Clone Shuriken Jutsu. She called out as 6 bladed stars became 60. Naruto made Griever's fire element burst to life and performed one of his simpler special attacks. Flame Cutter. Several white-hot and burning blades of energy shot out as Naruto slashed his sword at the incoming threats. Most of them were incinerated as he dodged the rest. His opponent drew 2 swords of her own, a pair of scimitars, and dashed at him. Naruto pumped a bit of chakra into Beelf, causing the blade to separate and fall limp before he lashed it out like a whip. The young woman parried and blocked the attack and struck with her free blade. The training ground was filled with the sounds of blades clashing as the 2 combatants continued to exchange blows in an amazing, beautiful but deadly dance of fluid movements and precise strikes. Naruto smiled, his opponent was good, very good for her age, but he was better due to have years more experience from his previous timeline. With a deft twist of his wrist from his left hand and a quick tug from his right, his opponent was disarmed. Griever, now back to normal, pointed at her throat, signaling the winner. Tenten huffed as she looked at the slightly smug look on her newly appointed boyfriend's features and pouted a bit. She hated losing a spar, but she also knew that Naruto was much better at swordsmanship than she was, she preferred distance attacks. She was no slouch with melee weapons either, but trying to outfight Naruto with swords was damn near impossible. Naruto re-sheathed his swords and smiled at Tenten. She, like Ino, expressed her desire to date him and he had no intentions of denying her. Though her idea of a sparring match to celebrate had been a little on the odd side, but Tenten was a bit of a tomboy. You're getting better, Tenten-chan, if you keep increasing your skills at this rate you'll catch up to my level in no time. Naruto said proudly. Tenten blushed a bit at the praise. Thank you, Naruto-kun, but I doubt I could ever reach your level anytime soon. Perhaps, but you are very good in your own right and I've been training with swords for a long time. Naruto replied. Tenten tilted her head slightly in confusion. You're only 1 year younger than me and I've been training most of my life. I'm not saying that it's impossible for someone to gain your kind of skill in such a time frame, just highly improbable. But that still wouldn't explain your level of mastery. She said. Naruto frowned slightly. Tenten-chan, in time I will tell you, all of you, just how I became so powerful and skilled. A few already know, but that was because they needed to, otherwise, it would have brought up too many questions. Don't you trust me enough to tell me? Tenten asked, sounding a bit hurt. No, that's not it at all. The other girls don't know either. I just don't think you'd believe me if I told you. It's not something I like to talk about, to be honest. Naruto said with a sigh. I understand, Tenten said, feeling a bit down. Damn, now she looks depressed. Should I tell her or show her? Would she hate me? Naruto wondered. Please don't be upset, when the time comes I will tell all of you. I do trust you and I care about you deeply, but I'm just not ready to tell each of you that part about me yet, though it is my final secret. Can you wait until then? Naruto asked. Tenten gave him a small smile and hugged him, he readily returned the embrace as she nuzzled his neck. I can wait, Naruto-kun, I'm sorry if I pulled up bad memories. She said softly. Don't worry about it. I will likely have to explain soon enough anyways, so just be patient a little longer, okay? He asked. Her response was to kiss him, much like Ino had done earlier. His eyes widened slightly before he returned the kiss. He wasn't quite sure just what he was doing to make so many wonderful girls love him, but who was he to argue? After breaking the kiss, the two sat down and cuddled for a moment, Tenten sporting a light pink flush across her cheeks. Naruto also began blushing a bit as Tenten began stroking his tail. It felt good, perhaps a little too good. Glancing down, he noticed a growing bulge in his pants crap. Thankfully, Tenten remained blissfully unaware of his condition, and Naruto was able to will it back down to a normal level of comfort. Things have changed so much, sometimes I wonder if it is all real or if I am merely having some sort of dream. I never would have dreamed that any of these girls liked me, and yet now that I've gotten to know them better I get an oddly complete feeling. When Kaio-chan resurrects, then I will truly be complete. I've never really felt anything like this before. It's nice but scary at the same time. But now more than ever I must prevent the future from happening. I can't lose what I've gained here. I have my precious people back and I am finally able to experience love more freely. For these girls I will do all in my power to protect them. My kami have mercy on anyone who tries to hurt them, because I will not, and even Shinigami-sama will not hide them from my wraith. Naruto thought and bowed silently as he unconsciously hugged Tenten a little firmer. Tenten looked at the boy who had captured her heart and smiled at his gentle yet protective gesture. I can't believe how strong he is, yet he is so gentle. And his eyes, I could lose myself in them. I had always thought it was Neji that I loved, but Naruto-kun is really the one. I've only known him for a short while, yet it feels like a lifetime. He even treats me like a lady, unlike the other guys I've known or have in my life. The really strange thing is I don't mind sharing him with the others. He has such a big heart, I doubt that just one of us would be enough to fill it anyways. Tenten thought blissfully as she rested against Naruto. She had always been one of the guys, but Naruto made her feel like a woman. Naruto stood by himself on top of his favorite perch on the Hokage monument. It was late at night now and he had come up not to enjoy the view, but to test out his Reaper powers and form. Something he had been meaning to do for a few days now. He idly wondered if turning into his Reaper form would hurt as much as turning into his Werefox form did. Not that a little pain bothered him, but changing your whole physical form was far from a little pain. Thankfully, he had an insane tolerance for pain. This only thing that bothered him was that to turn into a Reaper, he had to deal with a whole different level of chakra. Human chakra was a combination of Kai and Kai, body and spirit, and as such considered a divine energy, much like what Kami uses, just not is such a pure form. Kyuubi's chakra was demon chakra, though he had purified it of the evil taint it once had. It was still volatile to humans if not used properly, and far too powerful for humans to handle in large amounts. Reaper chakra, however, was a whole different type. It was considered devil chakra because Shinigami was technically a devil, or what could be considered a rank above demon. Devil chakra was more chaotic than demon chakra was due to the fact that it focused solely on three elements: darkness, light and their fusion element shadow. As a Reaper, he also gained control of powers unique to Shinigami and some devils, those being life and death energies, though limited in things like hellfire, which was an element all its own, since there were various types of it identified mainly by colors. Demon chakra and human chakra were focused on the five main elements, and sometimes the sub-elements. They were easier to handle, depending on the creature or power levels, though some rules didn't apply. Kyuubi had been one of them because her power was so immense that she could have technically been ranked a devil and not a demon. But she was one of the Biju, a tailed demon beast, whereas devils are almost always humanoid in their base forms, whereas demons usually had to assume a human form. Well, here goes nothing, Naruto muttered and held out his right arm. Reap through all, soul edge. A burst of black fire hinted with silver and gold ripped out of the seal on his arm and formed a small ball of energy in the palm of Naruto's hand. He gripped it and the flames lengthened and flared out until soul edge appeared from them in all its glory. The weapon pulsed a greeting to its master. Naruto smiled at it. He then let it go and the weapon hovered in place waiting for Naruto to reclaim it. Naruto then began gathering the devil chakra within him, his body surrounded by an aura of purple and black flames with surges of gold and silver coursing across his body. As the energy hit its crescendo, he realized how glad he was that he placed an anti-chakra seal barrier so no one could sense this. The energy was so potent that it was causing the stone beneath his feet to melt. Soul release, avatar of Shinigami, demonic Reaper ascend. Naruto barked out through gritted teeth. Naruto's body and muscle mass began to grow, but only slightly compared to his Werefox form, topping off at about 6'9". His skin darkened to a charcoal gray color and was littered with gold and silver tribal and Celtic runes. His tail lengthened and burst into black and purple fire. Blood spurted from a sudden slit on his forehead as a golden-colored eye opened with a silver pupil. It was a devil eye called the Jagan, giving him the ability to see into souls, judge them and torture them if he so wishes it. It held a number of nasty little things that it could do, such as its doom gaze. A pair of horns sprouted out from the sides of his head and curved back as his hair turned a metallic silver color. 4 bursts of black and purple flames shot out from his back, incinerating the blood spattering, and was followed by a flurry of black feathers with silver highlights and gold feathers with crimson highlights. A pair of black feathered wings hooped out from his upper back, while the golden feathered wings stretched out from his mid to lower back. Finally he opened his eyes. Black had replaced the whites of his eyes, his retina now deep purple, and his slit pupils pulsing crimson. The whisker marks became solid gold slash marks, his fangs grew making him appear like a vampire, and the claws on his hands turned silver, but still as razor sharp as ever. His attire had changed as well. He wore no shirt to give his wings free rein to move. A long set of chains was crisscrossed across his torso, looped around his neck and as a belt around his waist. His jeans had been replaced with studded black leather pants and spiked boots, spikes set in on the boots' toes and a larger one on the back, the rest was otherwise studded to match his pants. On his arms was a pair of spiked gauntlets that led to fingerless black gloves with spiked knuckles. A black chain was wrapped around his neck in the form of a choker, or collar, he didn't know which, though he did know that he could manipulate the chains on his body to act as he pleased, as the ends of the chains were armed with barbed spikes. As it was, he decided that this form was a delightful mix of badass and fearsome, a form that would make any being, human or demon, shake in fear. Perhaps I should test my wings. Naruto said, his voice holding a demonic timbre to it once again. Holding out his hand, Soul Edge hovered to its master's waiting grasp and gave out a few seemingly happy pulses at its master's new form. Naruto let a predatory grin cross his features, which would have made Shukaku shit himself if he saw it. Leaping up into the air, he began to flap his massive wings. He was surprised that he could do it on such an instinctual level, but credited it to Shinigami for adding such instincts to his mindset when in this form. As such, he found staying aloft to be not only easy but not tiring either. And thanks to his near-limitless chakra levels, he felt no strain and very little depletion in this form. Though he was sure the strain would be worse if he was in battle, everything had their practical limits, even him. Deciding that now was a good time, Naruto took flight at a high rate of speed towards a destination 50 miles south of Konoha. 30 minutes later he landed in front of a large mountain cave, a cave that had a single lost treasure within it, the fox summoning contract. Naruto walked into the cave and about a mile back he came to a large stone chest. The cave itself was fairly barren, since Kyuubi only used this place to hide the summoning scroll, and to even an observant eye, the stone chest looked to be just a boulder. Naruto placed his hand on the stone and pumped some of his demonic chakra into it. Red glowing demonic runes flickered for a moment before the chest opened to reveal a large red and gold trimmed scroll resting within it. After removing the scroll, the stone chest crumbled into rubble, its purpose having been served. Naruto quickly left the cave and took flight once again with the scroll safely tucked under his left arm. He flew straight for his compound, and once he landed he released his Reaper form so he didn't attract any attention. Feeling a bit sleepy from having such a long day, he quickly opened the scroll once he was in his bedroom, signed it with his blood, and then closed it. He would summon a fox later to inform them and bring them up to speed of his status. Stripping to his boxers, he crawled into his bed and fell asleep within moments. It had been a long day. Several hours later, a glowing orb of light appeared hovering next to Naruto's sleeping form. The orb began growing and glowing red and gold as it began forming into a female form. The form was laid down next to him as the glow faded. The woman that appeared had blazing crimson locks that flowed like silk to her hips and 6 bushy and furry crimson furred tails with black tips. She had fox-like ears the same color as her hair and small black tips. 6 whisker marks covered her cheeks. Her shining emerald green eyes shone with delight and happiness as she wrapped her arms and tails around Naruto, a few tears leaking from her eyes and not caring that she was nude as the day she was born. Naruto shifted in his sleep and cuddled up to her, a small smile on his face. She smiled back and gave him a peck on his forehead. "Naruto-kun, I'm back and this time I won't leave you, I promise, I love you." She whispered and closed her eyes to join him and sleep. Resurrection was after all very tiring. Chapter 10, Wave Mission Dangerous Tides. As the early morning light filtered into Naruto's room from the sunrise, he began to stir. For the first time in many years he had slept great. He felt warm, safe and very comfortable. It felt almost as if a piece of him had returned. Not wanting to wake up just yet, his sleepy mind let him leave his eyes shut so he could just bask in the content comfort he was feeling at the moment. Kyuubi had also woke and was now partaking in something she would enjoy doing for centuries to come. Watching the man she loved in a peaceful state of sleep. A soft smile crossed her lips, her eyes watered. She was finally with him. Somehow, someway she had been given another chance. Perhaps it was due to the favor Naruto held with both Kami and Shinigami, or perhaps it was just him. He had a power that not even the mightiest of demons could match. He had a power to not only change people but change things around him. She loved looking at his face, it was so handsome and feral. It was no wonder to her that those other girls had fallen in love with him once they got to see him as he truly is. Sure, she had her misgivings about a couple of them, Sakura and Ino, at first, but watching from Shinigami's realm, she could see it in their eyes. The same love she held for him shined in their eyes as well. It was more than just the fact that he was an alpha male, much more than that. Naruto, deciding that he should get up, opened his eyes slowly and blinked a few times to adjust his vision. His icy blue eyes met a pair of eyes he had longed for many years to see again. The gears in his sleep-filled mind suddenly sprang into full action as he recalled Shinigami and Kami telling him. It's her. She's back, her eyes are still just as beautiful as I remember them. Naruto thought as he gazed into her eyes. A happy smile crossed his lips as tears welled in his eyes. It had been so many years since he had shed a real tear, he had almost forgotten how. Shakily he raised his hand to her face and gently cupped her cheek. She smiled at him and nuzzled into his hand. Hey Kaio-chan, I missed you so much. Naruto said, his voice nearly not believing what his eyes and touch were telling him. And you, Naruto-kun, I feared I'd never see you again, but when you came back in time it made my soul fragments from the future combine with my soul from the past. They purified me, and with the help of Shinigami and Kami, granted me new life as a Hanyu. I'm back now and I don't have to be stuck behind a seal. We can finally be together, we can finally touch. She trailed off as Naruto leaned up and kissed her deeply. Naruto absently noted that she was nude, but at the moment couldn't bring himself to really care. He'd seen her nude before when she was in the seal, besides he'd have to get used to such things sooner or later anyways. Speaking of which, he was going to have to come clean. Kaio-chan, I have something I need to tell you. You know I love you, I do, with all my heart, but Kyuubi stopped him with another kiss and pulled back a moment later and smiled. Naruto-kun, I already know and I approve of them and anyone else who might come in the future, so long as they love you. She said softly. But how? He asked, feeling very confused and a bit grateful at the moment. Shinigami-sama allowed me to watch from his realm. A couple of the girls came as a surprise, but I could tell that they love you very much, even in the small amount of time they've gotten to know you. Besides, it is quite common for demon lords to take more than one mate. But I do have one request. She said. What do you wish? Naruto asked. I want to be your first mate. I know your body is young, but your mind is not. I have waited for millennia to feel the touch of a man I could love. Please do not make me wait anymore. She almost pleaded. She needed to know this was real. Naruto could sense her need, and if he was honest with himself, he needed her too. He knew what it meant to take her as a mate. They would give themselves to each other and bite the other's neck, creating a seal mark that signified their mating and soul bonds. It took every single ounce of his will to fight off the nosebleed that threatened to come. I will grant your wish. Naruto said softly, rolled on top of her and began kissing her passionately. For the next hour and a half, various cries and moans of passion filled the manor as the two consummated their love. It took 2 lifetimes to get there, but they were finally united, mind, body and soul. As Naruto got dressed, Kyuubi, a bit sore from their activities, searched through some of the older clothes that had been left behind by his parents. She found a deep cobalt blue battle kimono, an emerald green obi, some fishnet shirts and leggings, and some undergarments that were just about the right size for her. Naruto told her to help herself, so she put the clothes on. She left the kimono open a bit to show off some cleavage and display her mark, a Celtic Trinity rune with a small 9-tailed fox in the center, with its tail spiraling behind it in the Uzumaki clan crest. Naruto's was the same, and anyone he marked in the future would gain the same mark on their neck. The greatest benefit of the mark was their new telepathic link that opened between them. Due to their souls bonding completely, this link had none of the normal bounds and could be used to speak to each other, no matter the physical distance. It also ensured that so long as Naruto was alive, any of his bond mates would gain a fraction of his power and his ageless lifespan and youth. I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do. Naruto chuckled a bit. I'll help you, I'm also coming with you from now on your missions. Kyuubi said. How are we going to pull that off, Kaio-chan? He asked. Simple, since I began as a demon I can still take the form of a fox. The reason why you can't is because you started off human. Kyuubi explained, and in a small flash of foxfire, she turned into a small, kit-sized chibi Kyuubi with one tail. Her fur was the same color as her hair, and she had the usual black tips on her ears and tail. See. I can even get bigger to aid you in battle like the Inuzukas used dogs. She said happily in an undeniably cute voice that sounded much like a 5-year-old version of her adult voice. Naruto chuckled. Even I have to admit you're a little too cute for your own good, Kaio-chan. The little fox let out a giggle and hopped up on Naruto's shoulder, perching there and wrapping her tail around him before licking his cheek. Naruto gave a small smile as he placed Beowulf and Griever onto his belt and adjusted his trench coat. Giving Kyuubi a quick scratch behind the ears, he prepared to flame poured out of the room when a monkey appeared in a poof of smoke, handed him a scroll and vanished again. I wonder what Jai-san sent me. He mused and unsealed the scroll. Naruto. The man you asked me about a while back has finally arrived and is requesting a C rank. As such, it looks like it is finally time for you to take your mission to Wave Country. As per your request, no one else will take this mission and I will leave the safety of Tazuna-sen up to you. There is however an additional mission I would like you to take while on this mission. Sealed at the bottom of this scroll is the bingo book you requested as well as your first A rank mission. It has come to my attention that the former Konoha ninja, Aoi Rakusho, is in Wave, possibly working for Gato. Your mission is to terminate him and reclaim the Raijin sword. As a bonus, you may keep the Raijin to do with as you please. On to the final bit of news. In preparation for the Chunin exams in a few months and the still likely attack by Orochimaru, I have managed to convince my old student Tsunade to return for the exams. Jiraiya will likely come as well as he is due in Konoha around that time. I will see you and your team later after you have done the D rank Kakashi-san picked up for you just moments ago. Akira Sarutobi. 3rd Hokage, Konoha. I was wondering when we would be going to Wave. Naruto muttered and unsealed his new bingo book and his A rank mission scroll, giving him all the need-to-know information on Aoi Rakusho. The Raijin whom I don't really need it, but I bet either Ino-chan or Tenten-chan could get good use of it. Ino would probably be better, if I remember correctly she had an affinity to lightning and fire, right? Kyuubi asked, remembering some of what she watched in Shinigami's realm. Yeah, though I best seal it after getting it. I wouldn't put it past Sasuke team to try stealing it since he has the same affinities. Naruto said as he placed the scrolls and bingo book in one of his belt pouches for spare items and scrolls. Let's get moving, Kyu-chan. Naruto said, and both he and Kyuubi vanished in the usual flash of fire. Sakura sat alone on the bridge to Training Ground 7. Sasuke the brooding prick was off brooding to himself as usual next to a tree, occasionally casting a scathing glare at her, not that she even cared anymore. Though part of her really wanted to test her new skill on him, she had made a variation of chakra weapon that Naruto had taught her. Shuriken and kunai were pretty easy to make, but she wanted a more ranged weapon, hence she worked for a week on making a chakra arrow. Her father had once been an archer, one of the best in Konoha, and he had left behind a special bow when he died. The bow was made of specially treated wood and string that conducted and channeled chakra, it even had 2 chakra crystals on each end to act as cores. Her father used them to channel chakra into his arrows to make them more effective. She discovered that was fairly simple, but then she experimented and discovered she could manifest arrows made of pure chakra, water or stone with relative ease and little drain on her stores. Once she got a better hold on her abilities and became a better shot, she could help the team much better with both her blossoming taijutsu skills and now her ranged skills. This was great and all, but she couldn't help feeling a little depressed with the past few days' events. So far all of her friends, even Ino, had managed to bump their way into Naruto's heart. Hinata and her sister were guaranteed weddings in the future. She had thought for sure with all the time she spends with him, training or otherwise, that she would have been one of the first. Granted, she hadn't seen him in 2 days due to having to do things at home with her mother or run errands. It still hurt though, and in a way she knew she deserved it. She had been the worst of them all when it came to how he was treated. But she had really been trying to prove to him that she wasn't that person anymore. She was pulled from her thoughts as Naruto appeared in a flash of fire, and perched on his shoulder was probably the cutest little fox kit she had ever seen. She gave him a slightly forced smile and then continued to look at the waters under the bridge. Naruto frowned as a concerned look crossed his features. He knew that look all too well, having used it many times in his life. Naruto-kun, I think she feels left out and is hurting. I can sense her emotions. She loves you, but she doesn't think you love her back. With all the things that have happened in the past couple of days, I haven't been able to talk to her. Kyu-chan, why don't you go stretch your legs for a minute while I fix this? Kyuubi gave him a quick nuzzle on the cheek and hopped off, padded up to Sakura and looked at her for a moment and rubbed up against her leg in hopes of cheering the girl up. Despite popular belief, Kyuubi was a strong empath and hated seeing others in pain. It was part of the reason that her previous sealing had been all the more tragic. Sakura smiled a bit and let out a coo at the cute little critter in front of her and gave the little kid a scratch behind the ear, earning her a satisfied purr. She let out a giggle as the little fox gave a yip and began chasing a grasshopper. Naruto smiled as well. No matter what, he had learned one thing about Kyuubi: once the evil had been forced into her, was cleansed from her system, she was quite playful and affectionate. The only time he ever saw her get angry was when someone tried to hurt him or someone he cared for. Good morning, Sakura-chan. Naruto greeted with a kind smile and sat down next to her. Good morning, Naruto-kun, I like your little friend, she's cute. Sakura said, watching Kyuubi frolic about. Aye, that she is, her name is Kai. He said softly. Sakura looked at him, her eyes widened slightly. Kyu as in Kyuubi. She gulped a bit. Sakura-chan, you forget, I explained already that she was forced into attacking. She was the first being to ever show me any form of love, and for that, Shinigami-sama granted her another chance at life as a Hanyu. She is in fox form so she can help me on missions, and so she doesn't scare anyone. Do you really believe that an evil demon would just come up to you like she did and try to comfort you because she could feel that you were sad? He explained gently. I know. Sakura calmed and looked at the fox and let another smile cross her lips as she rolled about in the grass. You have a way, don't you, Naruto-kun, to bring out the best in others even when no one thinks they deserve it, don't you? I only do what I must to protect those precious to me, you are no exception, all I want is for my precious people is to be happy. Naruto said, placing his hand on her cheek. Sakura practically melted on the spot. Her mind lost almost all coherent thought as he leaned and placed a gentle kiss on her lips as delightful electric shocks ran up and down her spine. Kyuubi watched smugly from the other side of the bridge. If there was one thing their Naruto-kun excelled in other than battle, it was being a lover. His kisses could even make her tails bush out, and no one had ever done that before. Naruto pulled away and reached into his pouch and pulled out a small box and pouch and presented Sakura with a ring and chain he had gotten for her. He had planned on asking her next after Hinata anyways, since he spent the most time with her and knew she could get insecure at times, perhaps this would help. Sakura gasped as she saw the beautiful ring. Does this mean what I think it does? She asked softly. Yes, Sakura-chan, I would like to marry you sometime in the future. I know we are still young, and in time you might find someone else. I will respect that if it happens, but for now I wish to know, would you marry me when we are old enough? Naruto asked. Sakura's mind raced. Find someone else. Is he nuts? I doubt I could ever find another man that could even come close to how I feel about you, Naruto-kun. No one else would have done for me what you have done so far. And let's not forget this is practically a get into his pants soon sign, Kami, I bet he's an animal in the sack. Hush you. That can come in time, don't ruin the moment you pervert. Spoil sport. The answer is yes, I would love to marry you when we are older. Sakura said as happy tears welled up in her eyes. It might not have been the most original or romantic proposals, but the feeling was there all the same, and she loved him for it. Kyuubi padded back up to them and cuddled up on Sakura's lap as Naruto placed the ring on its chain around Sakura's neck and kissed her once more. Sakura was in such a happy daze that she didn't even notice Kakashi appear in a swirl of burning leaves. The Cyclopean man noticed the ring, the fox kit, and how close Naruto was to Sakura. He gave one of his usual lazy smiles. It was about time. He had wondered how long it would take for those two to get together. Sasuke just brooded off into his own little corner next to the tree on the training grounds and glared at the now happy couple. He could honestly care less about the pink-haired tart, but seeing her happy with the demon spawn made his blood boil. Naruto was the cause of all his problems, he and his brother. Somehow, someway he would put down both the demon and his brother, then perhaps turn the demon's whores into his own personal slaves or kill them before he kills the demon, whichever suited him first. Alright you three, we got to go catch Tora again and then report to the Hokage's office for our next mission. Let's get this over with. Kakashi said. Naruto let out a snort. Maybe we should use Hiraishin to catch the little bugger this time. Kakashi chuckled. Tempting, very tempting. Kakashi then leaned down and whispered so only Naruto could hear. We can just send Sasuke after him, the cat seems to have a thing for him. Naruto smirked. Well, it's probably the closest thing Sasuke team is ever going to get to catching a little pussy, so I guess that works. It took every single fiber of Kakashi's willpower not to drop to the ground and bust out laughing. Granted, the Uchiha's sexuality was frequently in question, but that was one of Naruto's better burns. Sakura just followed behind her sensei and new fiancé, with Kyuubi happily perched on top of her head. Both watching with bemused looks on their faces as the Lord of the Brood brought up the rear, still stuck in perma-brood. 2 hours later found a highly amused Naruto and Kakashi with a slightly giggling Sakura, a sleeping Kyuubi on her shoulders, and a very scratched up, extremely irate Sasuke Uchiha. Unlike the last time in his previous timeline, Naruto had let Emo team handle the furry little buzzsaw. This in turn caused several rather funny things to happen, the first being that Emo Prick's face was now in desperate need of a gallon of Bactine. The best part had come when Sasuke had tried to kick the cat, only for said cat to latch onto his jewels with its claws. Kakashi had actually fallen out of the tree he was in due to laughing so hard. Oddly enough, the painful stimulation had caused Sasuke's little, and we do mean little, friend to react a bit into it like a cocktail weenie. Hence the reason why his voice was now several octaves higher than usual. Team 7 stood in front of the Hokage's desk after handing the rather smug-looking Tora back to its overly affectionate owner, much to the cat's disdain. Sarutobi was for his part amused, he and Iruka had watched the whole event via his crystal viewing orb. Best show they'd had in ages. Sasuke was glaring at the cat's obvious discomfort with a slightly insane gleam in his black eyes. Had anyone actually heard what was going on in his head, he would have been sent to the mental ward and right for the padded room with a straitjacket. Naruto decided to get the ball rolling. Hokage-san, I believe we have enough D-rank missions accomplished to have a C-rank mission now, do you have one we could take? I know for a fact that my team is ready. He asked in a polite tone. Iruka frowned. Naruto, don't you think you should train some more? C-rank missions can often get dangerous and elevate to higher ranked missions. Naruto arched an eyebrow. Iruka-sensei, I killed a 5-tailed demon a few weeks back and before that took out all of the root Anbu forces by myself. I doubt that a C rank is going to prove much problem, but it would be a good experience for Sakura-chan and Emo team. A ninja's skills and abilities are like a sword, when not used properly they grow dull and blunt. The only true way to find out if their training has been worth anything is to put them into a position where their skills and abilities can be properly tested and used. We aren't little kids anymore, sensei, we stopped being kids the moment we accepted our leaf headbands and the rank of genin. Kakashi was impressed but not surprised with Naruto's small speech, he was after all right. Sakura was very impressed and nodded her head in agreement. Sasuke just scowled. Iruka really couldn't question Naruto's logic, especially knowing his secret, so he just nodded and sat back down. Sarutobi smiled and pulled out a C-rank mission scroll and handed it to Kakashi. That is a guard duty mission to protect a bridge builder, Tazuna-san, from Wave Country while he finishes building his bridge. It will be your jobs to escort him back to Wave and protect him from bandits and brigands until the bridge has been completed. Is that acceptable? Sarutobi asked. Yes it is, Hokage-sama. Kakashi answered. He didn't remember much about this mission from the memories he saw when Naruto showed them, only that it ended up being more dangerous than a simple C rank. Oh well, with himself and Naruto around, not much could put them in danger. Very well, you may come in now, Tazuna-san. The old Hokage said in polite tones. The door on the other side of the office opened to reveal a drunken man with a bottle of cheap sake in one hand and dressed in slightly ratty clothes. The man eyed the group in front of him and shook his head. And here we go, Naruto thought dryly. I come here and pay for bodyguards and you give me 3 kids and their Cyclops instructor. They all look weak as hell, especially the one with a haircut that looks like a duck's ass. Tazuna slurred. Sakura glared, Kakashi shrugged, and Sasuke looked ready to pounce, but Naruto beat him to it. In one swift motion Naruto appeared behind the man, put a kunai to his throat and snatched up his sake before taking a swig. He noted that it was a rather cheap brand with a bad taste to it. Tazuna-san, you best not misjudge a ninja no matter their look or age. Our sensei is quite feared in other countries and is very strong. Sakura-chan is the smartest in our age group, with chakra control that rivals even a jounin, with a fair amount of skills that easily place her at around mid-chunin level. I myself am a taijutsu, ninjutsu, kinjutsu and fuinjutsu master though. Your assessment of the emo team was pretty close, he does have a few skills. Naruto said in monotone as he handed the sake back to the scared man and removed his kunai. By the way, next time you get sake, buy Rice Country Select, it's reasonably priced and doesn't taste like dog piss and cleaning solution. Sakura had blushed at her fiancé's praise, Sasuke just snarled and was promptly bopped upside the head by Kakashi who told him to behave. Truth be told though, he was very amused with the whole thing. Naruto is right, Tazuna-san, we are far more than capable to protect you, so you have nothing to worry about. He may be a genin, but he is more powerful than I am, don't let his age fool you. Kakashi said in his usual lazy manner. Tazuna just nodded. Right then, when shall we leave? In a couple of hours, it will give my team time to do what they need to and gather what they need before we leave. We will meet at the west gate in 2 hours. Kakashi said and vanished in a swirl of burning leaves. Sasuke stalked out of the office while Naruto placed a hand on Sakura's shoulder and the two vanished in a swirl of fire. Tazuna let out a whistle. That's quite a group of kids you got there, Hokage-sama. Sarutobi smiled. Indeed they are. After making the necessary farewells to the other ladies and gathering the equipment needed, Naruto and Kyuubi met the others at the gate and set off towards Wave Country. Before they had left however, he had gathered the other girls and introduced Kyuubi to them. To his eternal shock, they had all taken to her quite well, none of them caring that she was once the feared demon that had attacked the village. Perhaps his explaining the truth behind the attack several weeks ago had helped. They even accepted her as part of his new family group. Naruto hadn't expected the ladies to be so accepting, but he wasn't about to argue, and Kyuubi seemed to really like the other girls, especially Hanabi, Hinata and Sakura. After several hours of travel, Naruto felt the presence of 3 chakra signatures prick at his senses and saw the familiar puddle of water in the road. What bothered him was the fact that there was 3 rather than 2, meaning things would be different this time around. Kakashi had also noticed it and checked to see if the others did. Sasuke was so into his brooding that he remained unaware but could still react swiftly enough if need be. Sakura and Caillou had inched closer to Tazuna, their eyes darting about. Kakashi smirked slightly, he should have known that Naruto would teach Sakura how to detect chakra signatures. Naruto, like him, had dropped back a little in preparation for the attack. He had made Kakashi aware of his secondary air rank and the Jounin trusted his godson's abilities. After they passed the puddle, two familiar figures seemed to rise out of it. It was the demon brothers just like the last time. The other figure was waiting in the tree line to provide backup. Naruto caught a glimpse of a familiar umbrella. It was his other target, Aoi Rakusho. Two little piggies. The demon brothers snarled in unison as they shot their poison chain gauntlets at Naruto and Kakashi. Kakashi was seemingly caught and shredded within seconds, causing Sakura to let out a strangled scream, but her instincts kicked in and she took a stance in front of Tazuna and erected a chakra barrier while mentally thanking Naruto for teaching it to her. Sasuke whipped around to attack, a slightly smug look crossing his features as he saw the bladed chain get ready to wrap around Naruto and end his life. The smugness was wiped from his face when Naruto drew his blades and sliced through the chains like they were paper. Not to be outdone, Sasuke threw several kunai and shuriken at the other chain, causing it to be stuck to a nearby tree. "Wow, what the hell?" the dual-horned brother asked. Sakura let out a cheer when her fiancé cut through the chains and smirked smugly to herself, no one would get the best of her Naruto-kun. Naruto shot forward, twirling his swords behind him and sheathing them in one fluid motion. He didn't need his blades to handle these simpletons. Naruto's foot then skidded harshly across the ground as he raised his other leg, causing him to go into a frighteningly fast spin kick. Demon Dragon Hurricane. Naruto intoned as his foot hit the other man in the side of the head a couple of times before he used the momentum of the move to twist and bring his other foot across the man's face in a sideways heel smash before landing on both feet and crossing his arms. Pathetic emo team, handle the other moron with Kakashi-sensei. I'll handle the last one. Isn't that right, Rakusho-san? Sakura nearly lost concentration on her barrier when another missing ninja with an umbrella and a crackling golden sword jumped out of the tree line next to them. She gasped at the sword. It was the legendary Raijin, the sword that had been stolen from Konoha that had belonged to the second Hokage and Senju clan. Kakashi appeared as well and knocked the other demon brother out. "Be careful, Naruto, that sword is dangerous," he warned. Naruto remained impassive as he drew Griever and Beowulf. Aoi started in shock when Griever also began to crackle with electricity as well as flickers of flames. "Sensei, help, Sakura-chan, reinforce her barrier, this could get messy real quick." Kakashi didn't argue and quickly did as asked. He knew that glint in Naruto's eyes. He was a predator and Rakusho was his prey. Even Sasuke had enough common sense to get the hell out of Dodge. Aoi smirked and tossed his umbrella up into the air and did a few hand seals. "Ninja arts 1000 raining needles." He then grinned evilly and glanced at Sakura. "Once I'm finished with you I'll make Pinky over there scream my name, it will be fun." Well, he's screwed. I wonder how many pieces Naruto will leave him in. Kakashi wondered with a sweat drop. Sakura glowered at the man, putting out a fairly decent amount of killing intent, once again reminding Kakashi why it wasn't a good idea to piss off a kunoichi no matter their skill level. Kyuubi had also added in several growls of her own, but inwardly smirked. This asshole had just dug his own grave. Naruto was going to make him suffer if the glint in his eyes was any indication. The umbrella opened and began shooting out hundreds of senbon needles that had been soaked in various poisons. The smirk on the traitor's face died as Griever began giving off a large amount of fire and electricity. Naruto's eyes almost seemed to glow blue with power as he prepared his strike. Fusion Sword Arts Blazing Bolt Cutter. Naruto snapped and slashed his blade, causing a large wave of fire and lightning to erupt from it in a crescent arc that tore into the senbon needles and melted them mid-flight before it sliced through and destroyed the umbrella. Snarling, Aoi swung the Raijin at Naruto and unleashed a large bolt of lightning and dashed at Naruto. Naruto dodged the attack but had to guard against a strike from the Raijin. This caused Naruto to grunt in pain as several thousand volts of electricity ripped through his body. "Shocking, isn't it?" Aoi taunted. Naruto smirked, causing Aoi to get a bit nervous. "Tell me, Rakusho-san, what was ancient Earth's capital of Thailand?" Naruto asked in a conversational tone. "Huh?" Aoi asked. "What the hell is Thailand?" "Bangkok." Naruto's foot shot up and delivered a bone-crunching blow to the missing ninja's family jewels. Aoi's eyes crossed as he let out a gurgled squeak of pain. Foam could be seen gathering in his mouth as his face turned blue. Kakashi winced and subconsciously grabbed his own little buddy protectively. "Oh, that's gotta hurt." He almost felt sorry for the man. Almost. Sakura looked oddly amused with the whole situation, a fact that scared the shit out of Kakashi only. The woman could be amused with that level of pain from a guy. Hell, even the emo team looked highly uncomfortable at this point. Talk about below the belt. Aoi at this point was in so much pain he had attempted to cry out in pain, but instead it sounded more like he was attempting to hit the high note in some sort of opera. The man could have sworn to Kami that his nuts bounced off his stomach before dropping again. The blow had caught Aoi so off guard that he lost focus on the fight as he tried to keep from throwing up. The Raijin fell from his hands and clattered to the ground. The last thing he saw was the blade of Naruto's sword coming across in a deadly arc, then darkness he knew no more as his head rolled from his body with a spurt of blood. "I release Grand Fireball Jutsu," Naruto said emotionlessly and torched the body of Aoi Rakusho. "Seek and terminate mission success," he said as he picked up the Raijin and sealed it and the head of Aoi into a scroll as proof. "And to think Aoi team gave us such a problem the last time. Pretty sad considering his Kenjutsu is moderate level at best and he relied too much on the power of the Raijin. Damn, I sure was a fool back then. Oh well though, part of me is curious as to why he's here when we didn't meet him until after the Chunin exams and Tsunade became Hokage in the previous timeline. Must be another of those paradox things," Naruto mused. "That was brutal, even for you, Naruto," Kakashi said. Naruto shrugged. "The bastard threatened Sakura-chan, he's lucky that's all I did to him." Sakura just rewarded him with a kiss. She was still a little perturbed that Naruto could kill without showing emotion or that he could do it so efficiently. Though she secretly wished he had left a little for her to pound into the ground. Oh well, there was always the next pervert. Izuna shuddered. Note to self: do not piss off the blonde kid or make remarks about his girlfriend. Ayubi perched on Naruto's shoulder, she could feel through their link that he still felt disgusted at taking a human life. Granted he had gotten so that he would not hesitate to kill to keep one of his precious people from getting hurt, he still held that part of his humanity that made him feel bad for extinguishing a life even if it was an evil one. Still, he knew his duties and what was expected of him. The ends justified the means. "Sorry you had to see that, Sakura-chan," Naruto said softly. She gave him a weak smile. "Don't worry about it, Naruto-kun, we have to get used to it one way or another." While this was going on, Kakashi was busy getting some info out of the demon brothers. He got very little. When he confronted Tazuna, the bridge builder spilled his guts about Geto and the horrible situations within Wave Country. He even tried to play on their sympathies, not that it worked, but they had still planned on finishing the mission anyways. The boat ride the rest of the way to Wave was mostly uneventful except for Sasuke suffering from a case of seasickness. The bridge was as large and magnificent as Naruto remembered it being. Even through the thick mists its silhouette could be seen in the distance. Once they landed on shore and gave their thanks to the boatman, Naruto became slightly agitated. The only ones to really notice though were Kakashi and Kyuubi. Sakura did notice that something was bothering Naruto, but figured it was just his instincts, even she was on edge since the previous attack from the demon brothers. They hadn't gotten too far inland when Naruto caught several different scents: metal, clover oil, medicinal herbs and lilac. He wasn't sure just where the hell the final scent came from, but he sure as hell knew where the others did. Naruto then heard the faint sound of a twig snap. "Might as well get this bowl rolling, Kyu, keep an eye on Sakura." "Alright, be careful, Naruto-kun." Naruto didn't answer and flung a kunai into the bushes. Seconds later a frightened white snow hare hopped out. Sakura was about to ask Naruto why he was so jumpy when she saw him and Kakashi both stiffened slightly. "Duck. Hit the dirt," Kakashi and Naruto both shouted. No sooner did the group minus Naruto, who was out of range, hit the ground than a huge cleaver like Zanbato come whirling over their heads and embed itself into the tree behind them. A large man with half his face covered with medical bandages and his forehead protector tilted slightly landed on the sword. The rest of him was covered in grey anbu pants and bandages, no shirt. Sakura thought the man looked like a brute. "Ah, Sharingan Kakashi, now I see why the demon brothers failed," the man said in a deep growling voice. "I remember reading about you in my old bingo book. Sharingan Kakashi, master of over 1,000 jutsu and genius student of the legendary 4th Hokage of Konoha." Kakashi ushered Tazuna, Sasuke and Sakura behind him. "Zabuza Mamichi, the demon of the mist. How the mighty have fallen, working for a scumbag like Geto, for shame." Zabuza shrugged. "Hey, a job is a job and I need to earn money one way or another, no offense, but I'm going to have to kill the old man now. I'll let you and your brats live if you step aside." Zabuza then unleashed some of his killing intent. Sasuke stiffened in fear, Sakura swallowed hard and was having problems breathing. Kakashi let a single bead of sweat trickle down his face. Naruto yawned. Zabuza glared at the blonde. Either he was too stupid to be afraid or he was better than he looked. Grabbing his sword, Zabuza landed on the ground and rested the massive blade on his shoulder. He increased his killing intent to its maximum level. He noticed that the pink-haired girl began to shiver slightly and inched towards the still unaffected blonde. The kid with a hairdo that looked like a duck's rear was also trembling and sweating his hand, inching for a kunai until Kakashi stopped him. Boy, Kakashi-sensei, why don't you let me handle the browless wonder over there, I am the Kenjutsu specialist here after all. Naruto said calmly. A vein bulged on Zabuza's forehead, this kid had a lot of balls to taunt him like this. Kakashi glanced at Naruto. You sure he's a master of silent killing? He asked, only a little worried. He knew Naruto's skills with a blade were good, but Zabuza was very skilled and his sword was massive. Naruto let a smirk cross his lips as he held out his left hand. A large surge of chakra flowed down his arm, causing the dragon seal tattoo to uncoil around his arm and start to take form of something very large. Grabbing the tattoo seal's so-called tail, the dragon shimmered and burst into flames of blue and red. Once the chakra disappeared, the massive Zanbato, Requiem, rested in Naruto's firm grasp. Giving the massive blade a couple of expert twirls as Naruto settled into a stance caused everyone's eyes to widen. That blade had to weigh no less than 300 pounds, utterly wicked looking, and was almost as big as he was, and he was swinging it around like a damn katana. Naruto cracked his neck. This is my special Zanbato Requiem, let us see how your Kubikiri Haucho stands up to it. His muscles tightened a bit as he made himself ready for battle. Zabuza gulped a bit as he felt waves of power come off the blonde boy. The most frightening thing was the boy's fearful eyes. They had shifted from a normal calm to an ice-cold piercing nature that spoke of both power and skill. Far beyond his perceived years, they were the eyes of a swordsman, one who had seen many battles and slain his foes with his blade. And his sword was both magnificent and terrifying, a truly wicked blade. Still, the swordsman in him refused to back down. So looks like the brat has some skills, let's see how you handle one of the former 7 swordsmen of the mist. Zabuza said calmly and went into a stance while doing one-handed seals. Hidden mist jutsu. He said calmly as mist rolled into the area obstructing everyone's view. Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, Kyuubi and Tazuna had gotten out of the mist in order to keep themselves in one piece. Each of them, save Kyuubi, was shocked or in Sasuke's case envious at Naruto's other sword and his skill wielding it. It was a shame they couldn't see more. Sakura though was afraid for her fiancé, she just got him, if she lost him now she didn't know what she'd do. Kyuubi, sensing her new friend's distress, hopped up on Sakura's shoulder and nuzzled the pink-haired Kunoichi's cheek in a comforting manner. She knew that their Naruto was more than skilled enough to handle this, but even she was still worried, for even a dwarf could topple a giant. Do you think he'll be alright, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked, still a bit nervous despite Kyuubi's attempts to comfort. I'm sure he will, Sakura, just trust his skills and believe in him. Kakashi said. Though, truth be told, he wished he was helping Naruto at the moment. Sasuke just remained silent as he glared into the mists covering the area. How did that little demon freak get so damn powerful? It should be me, I should be the one with that power. I need that power, I deserve that power, I must obtain that power somehow, then, and only then will I be able to kill him. Booing. Clonk. Slam. Crash. Clang clang clang. It has begun, let us hope that Naruto is as sure of his skills that he seemed to be. Kakashi said quietly. Please Naruto-kun, be careful and come back to us, you have a lot of girls that love you, we can't lose you now, I can't lose you now, be safe love. Sakura thought, her hands clenched tightly in front of her as she tried to see any glimpse through the mists, her eyes full of worry. Kyuubi had no voiced thoughts at the moment but was still just as worried about her mate as her soon-to-be sister was. She had faith in Naruto, she always had, but she hated it every time he risked himself, she hated to see him get hurt in any way. But for now she would just have to wait and hope that her mate uses his best judgment. Chapter 11, Wave Mission Dark Waters. Naruto and Zabuza skidded back from the force of their blows, their feet digging into the soft forest floor as they prepared their massive swords to strike back at a moment's notice. The two had been trading sword strikes for nearly 15 minutes now, but neither had landed a solid hit. Naruto had to admit Zabuza was a fairly good swordsman. He hadn't had a challenge like this since he faced off against Kisame in his previous timeline. Then again, he wasn't going all out either. Zabuza was also impressed, this kid had skills on par with his own. It was no wonder that pretty boy, Aoi Rakusho, was now visiting hell with his head in a handbasket. Truth be told, this kid bothered him, even scared him a bit. It wasn't the tail, the slit pupils or the other feral features. No, that would be too simple. This kid, he carried himself like a full-grown warrior, much older than his physical age perceived him to be. His eyes also held a piercing nature that even seemed to cut through him, no easy task, not even that fish-face Kisame could intimidate the feared demon of the bloody mists. And let's not forget that sword, the Requiem, the sight of it alone was enough to send chills down his spine. It was a weapon created to be more than a weapon, more than a simple tool for combat. It almost seemed to resonate with the kid's own power, as if the two were one and the same. It looked demonic, yet somehow divine at the same time. At any rate, this was getting him nowhere, he had to kill that old man, get his money and get the hell out of Wave Country before the hunter Nin caught up to him. Going through a few one-handed seals, Zabuza vanished from sight as more mist rolled into the air. Naruto's eyes darted about, his Omnigan would allow him to see, but he didn't want to be too dependent on a taijutsu. That was the reason the Uchiha and Hyuga clans grew weaker over the centuries. They had become dependent on their gift, squandering it instead of saving it as a trump card and actually training their other skills. Besides, his other senses more than made up for it. 8 points of death, Zabuza's voice said from all directions, only to have Naruto interrupt him. Heart, lungs, clavicle, jugular, kidneys, spine, brain and liver. Naruto deadpanned, causing Zabuza to cringe slightly. Most people freaked out at this point. Do you really think it is that easy to scare me? Naruto asked, resting his massive blade on his shoulders. If you want to intimidate someone, try the emo team I was with. His mind is screwed up enough to be easily intimidated. Zabuza crept silently up behind him, preparing to strike. From behind. And here I thought you had more honor than that. TSK, Zabuza-chan, what would your partner hiding out in the tree line think of such underhanded methods? Naruto taunted, his back still turned but his guard still up. Damn brat, just what the hell are you? No one has detected me before. Zabuza growled in frustration. Demon Arts level 1 Hanyu release. Naruto said as he went through a few odd hand seals. Zabuza got his answer and he wished he hadn't gotten it at that point. Naruto let his Hanyu form out, his 8 other tails joining the one that was already out as he grew more feral. His chakra spiked as he stopped suppressing it and he unleashed a bit of human killing intent laced with some demonic bloodlust, causing the wind to be knocked out of Zabuza and Haku, who was now shivering in fear. Me? I am the former Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed Kyuubi turned into the Hanyu successor of Kyuubi. I am a Hanyu and the new 9-tailed Fox Lord, as well as the son of Arashi Kazama, Konoha's 4th Hokage in the Yellow Flash. My name is Naruto Kazama Uzumaki Neo Kyuubi, at your service. Naruto said lazily as he turned to look at Zabuza with an impassive mask on his face. Eddie informed Zabuza about being the avatar of Shinigami or showed him his Reaper form. The man would probably have keeled over at that moment. Zabuza could only stare in complete and utter shock and a bit of horror. Standing before him was not only the son of a feared legendary ninja who had a flea on sight notice in the bingo books, but also a half-demon successor to the most powerful Biju in existence. The power the boy was giving off was staggering, yet he could tell that it was not his full power. All he could do at the moment was to stare into Naruto's now baleful glowing blood-red eyes. A demon, a real demon, Zabuza muttered before swallowing hard. Half-demon, Zabuza-san. Now Naruto trailed off as something caught his senses, another demonic presence, or rather several. Naruto-kun. I can sense a group of lesser demons coming towards you. Kyuubi sent telepathically. I know from the smell. I'd have to say they are shadow beasts, nightbreed species. Be careful, those things can move from shadow to shadow, and they have a thirst for blood and a taste for flesh. I know you protect the others, I'll handle these bastards. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he continued to glance around. Apparently Zabuza also sensed the malicious beasts because he was also looking about and had grown more nervous than before. Naruto frowned mentally. What the hell was going on? None of this happened the last time. It was almost as if the previous timeline no longer existed and was now flowing in a vastly alternate way. At this point, Naruto knew that he could no longer just expect things to follow along as they once did. He could be somewhat prepared for some things to happen, but he now needed to keep his senses on full alert. He would not fail this time, no matter how different things may have become. Well? Naruto ground out through gritted teeth. Before Zabuza could wonder what the hell was going on, a group of about 15 humanoid creatures melted out of the shadows of the trees. They looked mostly male in structure, but had no distinguishing anatomy. Their bodies were solid black, like they were made of the shadows themselves, with long spindly clawed fingers, sharp spines on their heads and shoulders, crimson-colored rows of sharp teeth and glowing red eyes. The slaver that dripped from their maws hissed on the ground acid. Hand over the humans, half-breed, we desire their flesh. One of the beasts spoke in a gravely hissing voice. Shit, Naruto scowled. Who the hell are you after? That one and his little partner, though the 3 beyond the mists smell delicious as well. The beast sniffed and grinned evilly. I smell 2 female virgins near, such a delight, so pure, so delicious. Do? What the Kyu-chan isn't a hell. Haku really was a friggin' girl. Oh well, at least I know I wasn't having a gay moment in the past. Thank Kami, Naruto mused silently. Sorry to disappoint, but I won't let you harm the humans now. Who the fuck sent you? Naruto growled out the last part. The Sin Lord of Greed, Gornak. The demon hissed and flexed its claws. The devil-class demon lord, huh? Naruto said, falling into a stance. Oi. Zabuza-san, you up for a little contest? Well, what the hell are you talking about, brat? Zabuza asked, a bit unnerved but interested. Naruto smirked. Our little friends here are low-class demons. Humans can kill them by channeling chakra into a weapon and cleaving them in two or beheading them. Bastards are fast though, so be warned now, shall we see who can kill the most. Never one to turn down a challenge, and feeling his confidence returning, Zabuza smirked and dropped into a stance as well. A glint of excitement in his eyes, this would be a test of his skills. It was clear that the kid was above his skill level, but not these new beasties. I like your style, brat, let's sweeten the deal, whoever wins becomes the other's subordinate. He grinned. Except I could use someone like you as a sparring partner. Naruto unleashed his killing intent towards the demons, who had enough sense to get a bit wary. Now let's begin. Both shot off, catching the demons off guard. The supposed leader of them barely dodged Naruto's massive blade, but before it could gloat or counter, Naruto gave a sharp tug, and the scythe-like part of the blade ripped through the beast's torso, spilling a large amount of horrible-smelling sickly green blood. I hope you fuckers like the heat, cause where I'm gonna send you it's going to be hot. Zabuza roared with a slightly insane glint in his eyes as he channeled chakra into his Zanbato and cleaved the nearest demon cleanly in two with a spray of green. Nice. Naruto smirked. Let's kick things up. Pulling back, he began swinging Requiem around until he began spinning like a top. Demonic spin out. Naruto barked as he literally became a whirling, living buzzsaw of death and destruction. Zabuza nearly gawked as Naruto ripped through 2 more demons and 4 trees before stopping his spinning attack. Damn. You've got to teach me that. He said, impressed, before batting one of the demons into the others, using the blunt side of his sword like a club. My turn for a little fun. Mist began swirling around Kubikiri as it turned blood red in color. Crimson mist cutter. Kubikiri was slashed downwards, and multiple crescent-shaped blades of red mist shot out at the demons, turning 3 of them into foul-smelling lumps of green and black. What the hell is going on in there? Sasuke asked, pissed that he couldn't see through the mists. The sounds of battle had grown louder, and they had seen several trees either fall or get uprooted in the battle. Kakashi was getting nervous and antsy, he would rather be fighting than watching from the sidelines. Sakura and Kyuubi were worried about Naruto. Tazuna just stood there confused as hell and a bit scared. What a time to run out of sake. A stench had filled the air, carried by the wind, it reeked of rotting flesh and death. They could also feel wisps of demonic bloodlust and killing intent. It was an unsettling feeling overall. A sudden explosion ripped through the mist, and out flew Zabuza and Naruto in his Hanyu form. Both of them riding themselves in the air and skidding on the ground, using their swords as a means of stopping. Naruto let out an annoyed snarl. So that's the way they wanted, eh? I say we rip that little bastards apart. Zabuza growled as he cracked his neck. Double team the pricks, huh? Let's go. Naruto said. Both shot back into the mists like bullets, leaving behind 3 shocked and gawking humans and a somewhat amused Kyuubi. One of those damn shadow beasts must have used a shadow bomb attack on them and pissed them off. It was the equivalent of an explosive tag ninja use, but made of demonic energy. Kakashi sweat dropped. What the hell was that all about? Kakashi asked, completely confused. I think Naruto-kun and that Zabuza person are fighting something. Sakura said, her hands grasping the ring on the chain around her neck. A few more explosions sounded off. Sounds like they are pretty pissed off. Kakashi stated offhandedly, if not a bit nervous. He was adept at fighting humans, not demons. You think? Nice observation, Sherlock. Kyuubi thought dryly. Another tree got uprooted and landed in the water, along with a large splatter of green. Landing just a few feet from them was the mangled remains of one of the shadow beast's heads. All of them cringed at the sight, it stunk, and it looked to have been crushed in by a fist. Naruto and Zabuza looked at the last demon. It was now standing over them at about 9 feet tall, with massive deformed-looking black bat wings hooped out behind it. Damn thing was a greater shadow devil. In ninja terms, it could be classed as an A-class threat with S-class power levels mainly. Because it was stupid, nothing more than a mindless beast with more power than it knew what to do with and an appetite for flesh and blood. It had formed out of the last shadow beast and the body parts of the other ones to give it a boost in power. The problem was the damn thing couldn't be harmed as easily as its lesser subordinates could be. Physical attacks were worthless against it, and Zabuza was running low on chakra. Haku was now trying to aid Zabuza, but the best she could do was use her ice mirrors to deflect attacks while she treated a large wound across Zabuza's chest. She had rushed out when Zabuza got belted across the way by the demon and summoned one of her mirrors to act as a shield. Are you two alright over there? Naruto asked as he dodged another blast of black energy. Yeah, just kill that damn thing. Zabuza said and groaned in pain as more blood leaked out of his fresh wound. Zabuza-sama, please do not strain yourself, I am having trouble closing the wound. Haku said while trying to apply her limited medical knowledge. Damn, it got to end this quick. Naruto growled before getting belted into and through 2 trees. 3 long slash marks running from his left shoulder to his right hip. They were healing, but slowly since demonic inflicted wounds heal slower than normal ones. Naruto stood and spat out some blood. So that's how it is, now I'm just pissed off. Naruto snarled in a deeper demonic tone. The young Hanyu's anger coming out in a frosty demonic tone laced with bloodlust. Zabuza and Haku cringed slightly at the tone and were glad it wasn't aimed at them. Though they idly did wonder if Naruto even noticed the two tree branches protruding from his back. Naruto's chakra spiked, the previously mentioned branches seared and turned to ash as he gathered his power. Naruto held out his hand, and Requiem came to its master's mental command. It hummed in anticipation as crimson chakra surrounded it. Naruto glared at the demon in front of him, it spat out several black darts of energy, only to have them swatted away by the pissed-off Hanyu. A raging fire could be seen burning in Naruto's glowing red eyes as golden energy and fire swirled around his sword. Naruto hunched down and then leapt up into the air, his blade poised behind him to strike and leaving a trail of fire and gold crackling energy behind him. Light fire fusion mystic hearts raising phoenix shockwave. Naruto sounded the attack. His body was surrounded by a massive gold and red flaming bird as he literally dive-bombed the demon beast below. Naruto's blade impaled into the beast's torso as he and the energy impacted with it. The demon let out a howl of pain and anger as the energies ripped through its flesh and the force of the blow causing it to topple over and hit the ground with explosive force. The impact of both Naruto and the demon caused a forest floor to crater beneath them as a pillar of red and gold shot up into the sky. The shockwave caused the ground to tremble and anything not heavy enough to be blown away. Zabuza and Haku only managed by using chakra to stick to the ground and by use of ice mirrors to take the brunt of the excess energy. Both were stunned speechless, neither had ever witnessed that kind of power being unleashed before. One thing was for sure though, if Naruto was what they had to go through to kill the old man Gato could shove his job offer where the sun didn't shine. Kakashi and the others rushed into the area since the mist had been blown away due to the force of the attack. They saw both Zabuza and a female hunter ninja staring in awe and shock at a large smoldering crater filled with smoke. Just as they were about to ask where Naruto was, said Hanyu walked out of the crater, his upper clothes had been completely scorched off his body, his pants were ripped and his boots looked partially melted. Steam was visibly rolling off of his muscles, his dragon-shaped tattoo back in place, meaning Requiem was back in storage. They could also see the slowly healing wounds across his torso. The black figure shot out of the smoke, another shadow beast. Naruto sensed it and let out an annoyed snarl, twisted around, grabbed its arm and savagely slammed it back down on the ground in front of him, raised his glowing crimson fist and brought it down sharply. The demon's head splattered on the ground from the force of the blow, its body jerked a few times before stopping dead. Izuna cringed at the sight and to think he had been stupid enough to insult a kid that could kill demons, definitely not one of his better moments, that was for sure. Sakura looked a bit ill, but held no sorrow for seeing such a vile beast slain, rather it was the savage manner it was done in that made her a bit queasy. Kyuubi was busy trying to soothe Naruto's stressed mind through their link. Naruto then released his first level form and dropped down on one knee, those fusion arts of his took a tremendous amount of chakra and elemental energy to perform especially the mystical sword arts. That move alone requires no less than a quarter of his total power to do. Thankfully he could regenerate his chakra faster than humans, still, it would take about an hour or so before his levels were back to max. Steam was still pouring off his body. What the hell were those things? Demanded Sasuke, pissed at the amount of power he saw displayed. Lesser demons called shadow beasts, your emo-ness, they were after Zabuza and his partner why, I don't know yet, but I intend to find out. Naruto answered shooting the uchiha glare that could melt lead. In a moment of intelligence, Sasuke backed off miracles do happen apparently. That was one hell of a fight, kid, you win the wager. Zabuza said with a slight tone of respect in his voice. Good, I didn't want to kill you if I didn't have to. Naruto said taking a seat on the ground next to Sakura who was now working on his wounds. What wager, Naruto-kun? She asked while cleaning some of the blood away and otherwise fussing over him. We made a bet, whoever could kill the most demons would gain the other as a subordinate. Zabuza killed 6 of them and I nailed 8 before that last one showed its true colors, it was a greater shadow beast nasty little bastard too. Naruto said wiping some sweat from his brow. Little. Kakashi exclaimed, nearly losing all of his usual nonchalant composure. We saw that thing towering over the mists, it had to be nearly 10 feet tall. Naruto shrugged and then hissed as he was reminded of his wounds. About 9 feet tall but yeah, small in comparison to some other demons. To be honest those are best classified under night breeds a whole class of nasty critters that exist to devour flesh, drink blood, destroy villages and rape women. The females all cringed at that last one, Sakura and Haku blanching at the thought of some vile monster ripping away their innocence before torturing and killing them. Humans were bad enough, but having a demon do it would be nothing less than an absolute nightmare. Haku regained her composure and walked over and bowed. My name is Haku, perhaps I can help with your wounds, Naruto-sama. She said politely. Sakura glared a bit at the pretty girl. She had removed her mask while walking over to them, but let her start applying herbal cream anyway. Naruto however arched an eyebrow. "Sama?" he asked a bit confused. "Yes, Zabuza-sama and I are now in your debt for saving out lives and he has agreed to become your subordinate. So I call you Sama out of respect," she said softly while secretly admiring his muscles. "Well I hate formalities, just use "san" or something if you have to use a suffix," Naruto said and looked at Zabuza. "And if you'd like, Zabuza-san, I would like to offer you the job of a guardsman of my clan. It will include weekly pay as well as room and board in my clan compound for you and Haku-chan here, as well as my personal protection from Hunter Nin," he offered. Haku flushed slightly at the affectionate suffix. Sakura huffed a bit but knew Naruto had a habit of using that suffix on nearly all women. Besides, she was engaged to him now, so she had nothing to worry about even if Haku managed to worm her way in. Kyuubi was amused to say the least. She could tell that Haku was attracted to Naruto, meaning once she got to know him she'd likely be like the others and fall for him. Naruto was of course oblivious to this, which also amused Kakashi and Zabuza, who had also noticed his partner's sudden attraction to the blonde Hanyu. Duck-ass just scowled. "Maybe we should get out of this forest and back to my home," Tazuna said a bit nervously. He wanted to be anywhere but here and he wanted some sake, damn it, after what he just saw he could use a couple of gallons of the stuff. "Good idea, old man, though I doubt there will be any more attacks for a while," Naruto said, getting back up, his wounds mostly healed by now. "Though I am going to need some sleep soon, that last attack took a lot of chakra," he mumbled. "Naruto-kun, you shouldn't channel so much chakra into those fusions jutsus you use. It's good thing you're a nine tails or you'd be dead or in a coma from using all that chakra. Please be more careful, I just got you back and if I lose you me and the girls will storm hell in heaven, find you, revive you and beat the shit out of you, is that clear?" Kyuubi's voice asked in one of those so sweet it's murderous tones. Naruto let out an involuntary shudder, which caused Sakura to cuddle up to him thinking he was cold. There was no way he wanted to piss Kyu off or the others. There were few things that truly scared Naruto. Rampaging women mad at him were one of those few things. He'd rather face all the tailed demons at once except for Kyu. That is, well, the Nibi was a bit of an nymphomaniac, no he didn't want to deal with that one either. Shudder. "I'll be more careful, Kyu-chan, I promise," he replied, hoping to sedate her. Kyu just perched on his shoulder and nuzzled his cheek and let out an affectionate purr. Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Dodge that bullet. As the group began to walk, Zabuza approached Naruto. "Hey kid, I accept the job offer, but only if you teach me some of those attacks of yours like that spinning one," he said. Naruto chuckled. "Sure thing, it's a pretty easy attack to get down, though you have to train yourself to not get dizzy afterwards. Once we get back to Konoha, I'll talk to the Hokage and get you both placed as Leaf Ninja." "Sounds like you have a lot of pull for a genin," Zabuza pointed out. "He does," Kakashi confirmed. "He's the son of the fourth after all, and our current Hokage thinks of him like a grandson, so he's got some pull. It also helps to be a clan leader amongst other things. He also saved the village from a five-tailed scorpion demon a while back, so he's got some pretty good standing now." The Cycloptic shinobi shrugged. Now, Kakashi was a bit edgy around Zabuza and he sure didn't trust him. Though he did remember viewing some things about him during Naruto's memory viewing in Sarutobi's office a while back. That memory had shown that Zabuza wasn't a completely lost cause and still had some humanity in him. Naruto seemed to trust him, or rather knew that Zabuza wasn't stupid enough to try anything against him. In truth, all it really boiled down to was a job. No personal feelings were involved and it was only the circumstances of said job that had made them enemies in the first place. So with that in mind, Kakashi decided to give Zabuza a chance, though he would keep an eye on him. "Yeah, only took me and a bunch of others nearly getting killed by a damn overblown arachnid for those moron villagers to finally see I am not some evil demon incarnate," Naruto grumbled a bit. "Now they're all just scared of me. It'll get better soon, they just have to look past your tail and powers, that's all," Sakura said and smiled in hopes of making him feel a bit better. She didn't like the situation any more than he did, and to think, had he not saved her and Ino, that day she wouldn't have been any better. She nearly shuddered at the thought. She probably would have remained a weak little fangirl, blissfully ignorant to how the world really works. "I know, Sakura-chan, I know. I am patient," Naruto said. Several hours later the group had gotten to Tazuna's home and were happily greeted by his daughter, Tsunami. Naruto still wondered how the hell someone as nice and pretty as her could be named Divine Storm, since she wasn't temperamental in the least. Not like he was one to talk, really. His name held two meanings as well. Naruto was most commonly known as a fish paste cake often served in ramen. But it also meant maelstrom if the kanji was written correctly, hence his name had been given to him in the kanji for maelstrom. His father's name, Arashi, meant tempest. Though only a very select few knew a truth. Arashi Kazama's true name, before changing it to protect his family, had been Minato Namikaze. To keep himself, his mother, Kushina Uzumaki and any possible children in the future safe, he had legally changed his name and clan surname. In the end though, Arashi Kazama became just as feared as Minato Namikaze, so he probably should have just stuck to his original name. All the thoughts on names and such made him tired. The battle had worn him out due to the strain fusion sword arts put on his body. So he curled up on the couch, his head resting in Sakura's lap, while she played with his hair and Caillou balled up on his stomach. Even Kakashi had to admit it was a cute scene. Tsunami and Haku had giggled at the sight, Tazuna grinned and drank his sake, Zabuza gave a perverted chuckle which got him bopped by Haku. The only one who seemed to not be relaxing a bit was the Lord of Brooding. Said, Uchiha was off in a corner, brooding and contemplating the possible chances of getting away with slitting Naruto's throat in the middle of the night. Nice place, that boy's mind is huh. The small boy, Inari as Naruto remembered him, walked over to his mother and pointed at the group of ninja. Mama, those people are gonna die. He said. But they are here to help us, they protected your grandfather, and Tsunami was cut off. No. No one can stand up to Gato. They will die just like the rest did, just like he did. Inari wailed and ran off upstairs. Charming kid you got there. Naruto said dryly. Is it just me or is he being even more of a brat this time around? I am so sorry, it's just he's had a hard time of it all. Tsunami answered sadly. Naruto just waved it off, showing that there were no hard feelings. She and Tazuna then explained the tale of how Inari's adopted father had been seen as a hero of Wave until he was publicly executed for going against Gato. Naruto however was having a telepathic talk with Kyuubi over recent developments. I really don't want to say anything to Sakura-chan, Kakashi-sensei or the others, but this mission has become a S rank easily with those demons involved. The fact that we have a devil-class demon lord lurking somewhere out there, a sin lord to boot, makes me very uneasy. I agree, I wonder how the hell the bastard got free of the nether realm though. Shinigami-sama wouldn't have let him out. No, but Shinigami is not the gatekeeper of realms either. That is Rashomon and his pet Cerberus. Rashomon is all about keeping a balance between good and evil. With me being here, he probably saw that the balance was tipped and has been allowing demons from other realms to pop out. The problem with all this is, you and Kakashi-sensei are the only ones that know of my status as Shinigami's avatar, and I have no doubt that in order to fight this Gornak, I will have to use my Reaper form and powers. Devil-class demons like that don't go down easily, even the other Biju would have problems. That's true, those devil-class demons from the Netherrealm have always been a bit more powerful, that should be allowed, and they use dark emotions as a base for their powers, rather than beasts and elements like the Biju do. Several centuries ago, that psycho, Shukaku, got into it with a Sin Lord, the one for insanity. Shukaku got his tail beat and lost what little sanity he had in the process. It actually took me, Nibi and Golby to take the bastard down and send him back to the Netherrealm. It took you and the 2 and 5 tails to get rid of one devil-class demon. You alone should have been more than enough to take it out. Well, this Sin Lord was the master of insanity and he had a special ability that allowed him to literally eat chakra and yokai. The bastard kept toying with our minds using powerful and deranged illusions while eating our power and forcing us into our humanoid forms. Thankfully Gobi is a master of illusions and was able to break free of them. Nibi trapped the prick with hellfire and called an army of undead to help. I summoned Rashomon's gate while the others were busy fending the Sin Lord off, and together the 3 of us forced him back into the Nether Realm. And I'm expected to handle something like that by myself next time I agree to certain deals with Shinigami team. I'm reading the fine print. Naruto-kun, you are more powerful now than I was before my sealing, and you hold the power of Shinigami. You are by no means weak, you have an unbreakable will, and you are very smart. I may only be at half power now, but I can still help, and so can the other girls, but against things like a Sin Lord we'll have to let you handle those, only you in your Reaper form stands a chance against those bastards. I know, I'm just afraid one of you ladies will get hurt, I don't want to lose any of you because of some damn evil critter trying to make my life more difficult than need be. But I will protect you all, I know all of you can take care of yourselves, but in the event that you can't I will. I promise. Kyuubi purred and cuddled up into Naruto's chest. Sakura let out a quiet giggle at how a millennia-old demoness could act so much like a little girl, at times it was cute. Naruto was still lost to his thoughts, this time alone, due to shutting off his telepathic connection to Kai. Demons in the hole were a nasty bunch to deal with. Some weren't so bad, like summons and some of the Biju and a few dire beasts. Others like the humanoid devil class, night breeds and monster race demons were just downright trouble nice. Ones in that last group were as rare as a needle in a haystack. The devil types were the Biju of the humanoid demons and extremely powerful. They thrived off of human suffering, hate, rage and a host of other foul emotions, even lust. Naruto didn't even want to try to think of what one of those demons might be like. Netherrealm demons had always been the worst of the worst. Naruto would rather deal with the Biju and/or other demons from Tartarus. Tartarus was the central kingdom of hell, which was composed of 9 other realms, and the hidden 10th one, which was the Netherrealm. The realms were Beast Biju, Summon Dire Beast, Judgment, Punishment, Devil, Soul, Suffering, Monster and the Pits. The Biju and Summons realms were amongst some of the nicer places to go, vast expanses of lands and waters filled with all manner of beasts, each holding their own clans and ways of life. The Soul realm was a waiting place near the Bardo for souls to await their final judgment to either remain in hell or be granted passage to the heavenly realms. Judgment realm is, as its name says it, is the place where souls are judged. Devil realm is more like a realm for the higher class devil clans to live in. Monster realm is a vile place where most night breeds come from, a place of festering darkness and evil. Suffering is a realm where souls suffering from curses or burdens placed on them go to remain for the rest of eternity, their judgment already having been passed and their punishment being served. The punishment and the pit realms were the places tainted souls go to receive their eternal punishments or tortures for their crimes in life. Punishment realm worked based upon the worst nightmares of the one being punished or in some cases, having their own crimes turned against them. The pit realm was a massive expanse of barren wasteland filled with large rips in the ground and hills filled with needle-like shards. The pits each are filled with different things to better torture the souls being punished, everything from liquid fires made of blood to rabid beasts, waiting to rip apart their next meal to lakes of acid or flesh-devouring ooze. If Naruto and his mates were to ever venture into hell, they would be placed in the Biju realm as Naruto is the lord of the Fox clan, or they could reside in Tartarus, since that is where Shinigami resides and Naruto is his avatar. In the end, once Naruto's duties on Earth or the mortal realm are finished, he and his mates will have to seek a life amongst other beings with ageless lifespans as well. But he needn't worry about such things for quite a while, and for at least a couple of generations. Later that night, Naruto had left his bed. Kyuubi had opted to sleep with Sakura so she wouldn't be stuck alone and would have some protection if some kind of night breed decided to attack. Naruto would have rather just stayed with them both, but to keep things on more proper levels, he agreed to the current arrangements. Following his instincts and the rather uneasy feeling that had been building in his gut since arriving in Wave, he decided to explore. After sending out a group of shadow clones, he too went off to check things out. He found that this time around, Wave was in worse condition. Before it had just been poverty-stricken, this time you could almost smell and taste the death and evil lingering in the air. From what Naruto could tell so far, he would have to guess that Geto was more or less just a human pawn and front for Gornak. Fitting if you think about it, Geto is a greedy and vile human, and Gornak is the Sin Lord of Greed. The demon had probably been attracted to the surplus of negative emotions emitted from the area in general, and had found Geto. Knowing how such demons operated, Gornak would use Geto to cause as much suffering as possible, while feeding off the negative energies, and then go on a killing spree before moving on and taking all the spoils with him. Not that Naruto was going to give the bastard a chance though. If the previous timeline was any scale to go by, then they had about a week for Geto to gain enough forces to mobilize against Wave. Gornak will likely bide its time and wait, since the opportunity to sample mass amounts of bloodshed will be too tempting for it to pass up. So a week to train and prepare. But first things first. The people of Wave were weak and some dying from starvation and sickness. They couldn't fish or hunt for food because Geto had either taken or destroyed their means of doing so. Naruto let a feral grin cross his lips as he perched on the side of the half-finished bridge. The fishing would be good this night. His clones, 5 in total, gathered back around him as he ran through several hand seals and fed more chakra into his clones and adjusted their function. Okay, guys, hop in the drink and swim down as deep as you can go before detonating yourselves. Right. The clones said in unison and dived into the waters below. About 10 minutes later, 5 explosions went off under the water, causing several large spouts of water to rise up and crash back down. This was followed by large masses of fish, octopus and squid to float up to the surface. Naruto hopped down and stood on the water and used his manipulation abilities to gather all the freshly killed sea creatures in one area. He smirked, the explosions had gathered enough to easily feed everyone for a few weeks if rationed properly, perhaps longer if rationed properly, since Wave wasn't a very large place. Motioning with his hands, he then segmented the mass of fresh food and charged some of his ice element into the segments, making large blocks of ice filled with the fresh catches. There was 100 blocks in all, each filled with many fish and other eatable marine life. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto intoned and 20 clones poofed 2 into existence. He then spotted a large abandoned building near the docks. It was an old ice house used for when the fishing boats used to bring in their daily catches. It was large enough that it should easily be able to hold all the fish he had caught. Alright troops, let's get these ice blocks over to that ice house over there. Be careful not to drop any of them though, we don't want to risk damaging any of the food inside. Naruto ordered. The clones gave a salute and began lugging the large ice blocks over the water and up to the large building. Naruto grabbed one himself and started helping out. After about an hour and a half of lugging massive fish-filled blocks of ice, the job was done and the ice house was filled with enough food to help the people of Wave. Smiling at his success, Naruto quickly jotted down a note and stuck it to the sign just outside of the building. It was a simple note. Dear owner. The stores of your ice house have been filled with freshly caught fish, octopus and squid to be doled out to the citizens of Wave. It is our hopes that this will help end your food shortage and hunger situations until your bridge is completed. Please see to it that this gift is used for the benefit of all of Wave. The bridge builder, Tazuna-san, and his family can help give out the food contained within and ensure none is wasted. Naruto knew that Tazuna's family actually owned this building. When building was slow, Tazuna had been a fisherman and this was his storage house. So he knew that the old man would find the note since he passed by the building every day before going to work on the bridge. But he didn't want any more attention being put on himself than need be, so he figured a simple unsigned note would do the trick to keep him out of the spotlight. With his job done, he ran back off towards Tazuna's house to get some more sleep before daybreak. Two figures watched from a distance and made their way to the building after the blonde Hanyu was out of sight and earshot. The larger of the two chuckled when he read over the note. They had watched Naruto the whole time, curious as to what he was up to. "That's some kid you got there, Kakashi," Zabuza said. "That he is," Kakashi said proudly. "He's definitely one of a kind. Most people would take credit for doing such a deed. From the note he left, he has no intentions of even letting on that he did all of this," Zabuza mused. Kakashi shrugged. "That's just how Naruto is, he's got a good heart, but like any good ninja he hates being the center of attention. He probably doesn't realize it, but this gesture, which to him was a simple one, has probably answered the prayers of many people." Zabuza looked thoughtful for a moment and sighed. "It would have been nice to have him around when I was a Kiri shinobi. With someone like Naruto around, the damn Mizukage could have been overthrown and a better one put in his place," Zabuza said. "A third Mizukage, right? The one you and the other swordsman led the coup against?" Kakashi questioned. "Aye, he was a corrupt bastard if there ever was one. He fostered the fear of other clans' Kekkei Genkai that led to many needless deaths. He ruled the people with an iron fist and forced all his shinobi to kill their emotions. I was one of his little pet projects as a child. You heard about those results. He had me trained as a ruthless killer and in foolish hopes of pleasing him, I went on a rampage during that genin exam. That was when I got the title Demon of the Bloody Mists. As I grew though, he lost interest in me and his other little projects and gained a taste for money and business. He used us to ensure he got his way and used us to enforce tight laws and heavy taxes on the civilians of Kiri. It was at that time, seeing all the suffering that we were forced to cause, the innocents we were forced to kill, that I saw just how wrong the path I had been on was. It wasn't until I had been forced to execute a little child that I finally had enough. I am many things, but murdering innocent children because their parents would not or could not pay taxes for their business is an unforgivable sin. One I still live with to this day and one that I have tried to repent with through Haku." Zabuza let out a bitter laugh. "I often tell her that she is my tool, my weapon and my means to get my ambitions done, but that's just a damn lie. If I were to ever have a daughter, I would want it to be her. The only reason I have tried to keep emotionally detached is because of the life we are forced to live. It was my hope that should I ever be killed that she would move on and have a life of her own, but for some reason I don't think she would," he said. Kakashi sighed. There was no falsehood in the man's words or tones, apparently just being around Naruto for the very short time he had been was enough to start changing him. He should have known though, it was a gift that Naruto possessed. It was a shame that such a gift proved to be ineffective against a certain uchiha. "From what you and Haku told us earlier, I can see why," Kakashi stated in his usual monotone. "You took her in, fed her, taught her and kept her safe. You became her family, you saved her from her personal hell of loneliness and despair." Naruto could relate, especially to Haku. "He's had a life I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But no matter what has been thrown at him, he keeps on moving forward and doing his best to help those around him. Despite being a Hanyu, he is more human than some could ever claim being." Zabuza nodded in agreement. It secretly fascinated him that one as powerful as Naruto could also be so kind. He was no fool, he had seen it in the boy's eyes, the maturity, the pain and suffering he had endured in his lifetime. No matter how much better things got, such memories could never be forgotten, just suppressed. If Zabuza had to hazard a guess, then he would think that a good portion of Naruto's drive and his personality stemmed from his desire to ensure no one he came in contact with would have to suffer as he had. It was truly an admirable trait and he was pretty sure that was part of the boy's drive. Most, like himself, had given up and become what others had wanted them to be. Though he had fought that some when Haku came into his life, he knew he could have done better. How ironic was it that he should take a mission from a man he would rather cleave into, only to meet a young Hanyu that would grant him the chance he had been wanting for a better life away from hunters and petty businessmen. A life where he and Haku could find a measure of peace. Only a fool would pass such a chance up, and Zabuza Mamichi was no fool. That and Naruto could definitely help him sharpen his kenjutsu skills to another level. Let's head back to Tazuna-sen's house and get some sleep, we've got an early morning ahead of us. Kakashi said. Right. Zabuza answered and followed him. Chapter 12, Wave Mission Calm Before the Storm. As it turned out, the next morning came with much joy for the poor citizens of Wave. Tazuna had nearly fainted when he saw the massive stores of fresh seafood in his old ice house. He had wanted to know who could be such a kind person to do such a thing for the people of his community, and got his answer when he came across a tuft of golden blonde fur stuck in the doorframe. He knew of only one person with fur like that, a certain tailed Hanyu. But from the letter he could tell that the boy didn't want any sort of attention for his good deed, and while Tazuna really wanted to show him thanks, he decided it was best to follow his wishes. So with it, a happy Tsunami and a shy Haku made themselves busy doling out fresh seafood to the people of Wave. Naruto watched in the distance from his perch in the tree tops. Caillou and Sakura jumped up next to him, and Caillou went into her human form. Naruto soon found himself being hugged by the two girls. That was a very nice thing you did for those people, Naruto-kun. Sakura said softly. Arching his eyebrow, Naruto asked. Oh? And how do you know it was me? Caillou giggled. I told her. Also, Kakashi and Zabuza watched you do it last night, so it's likely that Haku-chan knows as well. Ah, I see. Naruto answered. As long as no one makes a big deal out of it, I'm good. So what's the plan for today? Sakura asked. I thought I might give you a bit more training in your elements. I'm going to see if you can learn fusion jutsu with water and earth. You should be able to fuse them and get the plant element. That, and I wanted to see the chakra bow you were telling me about. Naruto said. I think you like it, archery runs in my family, and I tweaked the advanced chakra manipulation you taught me to create arrows for my bow. Sakura said, both excited and proud. Caillou nodded with an impressed look. That sounds pretty good, Sakura-chan, and while you keep our man here busy, I can go hunting for some rabbits for tonight's dinner. Naruto chuckled. Your favorite food is always going to be rabbit, isn't it? Well, it's better than ramen. Caillou stated. That depends, wild rabbit is, but domesticated rabbit tastes more like rich chicken. Besides, you know I'm not addicted to ramen anymore, though I still like it a lot. There are other better foods out there. Naruto agreed. Anything with strawberries. Sakura giggled. Strawberries were her most guilty pleasure, and that included any kind of food with them in it. I actually like raspberries and blackberries a bit more myself, but I agree that strawberries are quite good. Caillou chuckled. I'm not much for sweets myself, though I do like most any kind of fresh fruit. Just how did we get on the topic of food anyways? Are you too hungry? Naruto asked. No, it's just fun to talk about our favorite food sometimes. Caillou answered. Naruto just nodded and then sighed, his eyes narrowing slightly as he looked over the area. Both girls could sense their mate's change in mood and looked at him worriedly. What Naruto didn't know was that Sakura and Kyuubi had a long talk whilst he was out the previous night, and now she knew everything. Kyuubi had used a similar memory viewing jutsu to the one Naruto used, except this showed not only Kaiu's memories, but ones she had managed to get from Naruto. Needless to say, Sakura had been horrified at how her other self had treated him and had fawned mindlessly all over Sasuke even after he became a traitor. The only slight comfort that she got was the fact that her alternate self seemed to gain some feelings for Naruto in later years, though, when he got banished from Konoha that had made little difference. The biggest shock came from the deal he made with Shinigami too. Not only was her boyfriend possibly one of the most powerful beings walking the earth, but he came from an alternate timeline and was the avatar of Shinigami. Kyuubi had been surprised that Sakura had taken it all in stride and amazed at the young woman's desire to right what her alternate self did wrong. Caillou was happy though, Sakura would make an excellent mate for her Naruto-kun, and this Sakura was much different than her alternate timeline self was. In fact, Caillou would have to say that she was a much better person in this timeline than she had been in the previous one. Where is Kakashi and Emo team? Naruto asked suddenly. Kakashi-sensei is having Sasuke work on the tree climbing exercise right now, and he said something about practicing his Hiraishin later when Sasuke was done. Sakura answered. Naruto gave a slight nod. Hiraishin is a pretty hard jutsu to learn, it's basically a heavily modified Shunshin jutsu mixed with Fuin jutsu and summoning. He won't have an easy time mastering it took me forever to. At any rate, let's go and start your training, Sakura-chan. Naruto said. Okay, where should we go? She asked as Kyuubi returned to fox form and scurried off to hunt. I scouted a clearing in the woods a short distance from here. It will be perfect for training. Naruto said, remembering the clearing he had trained in the last time. Sakura nodded and both began jumping from tree to tree as Naruto led the way towards the clearing. Both chuckling slightly as they passed Kakashi and Sasuke, who was having a hard time with the tree climbing exercise. 2 days later. Naruto sighed slightly as he sat perched on a tree branch near the bridge. Several of Tizuna's workers had quit out of fear, so Naruto made about 50 shadow clones to replace his lost workers as Zabuza and Haku acted as guards. 2 days had passed since Sakura started her expanded elemental training. Naruto had to shake his head at the memory. Sakura, as it turned out, was a natural echimancer. She had an unnatural affinity for plant element chakra, much like Haku's affinity with ice. In fact, Naruto was almost certain that with a bit more training, Sakura's plant affinity would eventually surpass the Kekkei Genkai abilities that the first Hokage had. She was growing at a truly amazing pace. Her chakra levels were now triple that of Sasuke's were when they became a team, her control was as good as ever, her water and earth manipulation was easily low jounin level, and the special taijutsu he had been teaching her, she took to it like a duck to water. Even her medical studies were coming along nicely, putting her easily at mid to high chunin level. Then there was her chakra bow that had shocked him. Not only was she damn near a crack shot, but she could make arrows of pure chakra, earth chakra, water chakra and now plant chakra. Hell, she even found a way to combine explosive tags to standard arrows if she is running low on chakra or needs to conserve it. Her studies on anatomy gave her great insight as to what targets she would need to aim for, and her inhuman chakra control enables her to make arrows with little to no chakra waste. He was very proud of her and had told her as such. Much to his surprise and delight, she seemed to thrive on such compliments since it earned him a sudden and rather heated make-out session with her. He had to snicker lightly to himself. Emo team had no idea whatsoever as to what he had missed out on. Oh well, the team's loss, his gain. Kakashi had also come along quite well with his Hiraishin, especially after Naruto gave him a few pointers during their private training. Kakashi could now perform the jutsu, but with only one kunai at a time. It would take a bit of training for him to be able to use more than one. Naruto remembered it had taken him 4 years and loads of shadow clones to get the jutsu mastered to where he could use more than one of the special kunai. Naruto had also trained a bit with Zabuza and Haku. He was currently teaching Zabuza how to perform one of his signature moves, the demonic spin-out. The former Kirinin was coming along slowly since one had to gain an immunity to the sudden dizziness that followed after using the technique. Still, Zabuza would master it eventually. He had also helped Haku with her Kekkei Genkai. He taught her 2 of his own ice jutsu, the crystal prison jutsu and piercing ice missile jutsu. She had a good number of water jutsu thanks to Zabuza, but she had no wind jutsu since Zabuza knew none, and since part of her affinity was wind, Naruto decided to help. As such, he taught her Great Breakthrough, Kei's no Yaiba, drilling air bullet and compressed air missile. She learned Great Breakthrough and Kei's no Yaiba right off, but the other 2 were giving her a bit of trouble. They were higher rank jutsu, compressed air missile was easily a low S rank jutsu itself. So he taught her how to better manipulate her wind affinity since she was used to using just ice and water. Zabuza also took a bit of affinity training and learned to better harness his water jutsu and lower his chakra expenditure. Naruto taught Zabuza, seeking shark missile and Aqualanza jutsu. Naruto created to enhance Kenjutsu. Naruto had much more powerful jutsu, but he would keep most of those to himself since they required insane amounts of chakra, control and ability to pull off, much like his mystic arts which he had both armed and unarmed jutsu for. On an interesting note, Haku had also seemed to have taken a liking to him. She was always blushing around him and giving off the same honey vanilla smell that the other girls gave off. This slightly confused Naruto, mainly because he didn't know her too well. Hell, in the other timeline he thought she was a he. The whole "I am a boy" bit apparently was a ploy to help keep Haku safe from some of the more unsavory things that happened to Kunoichi. And to Naruto's surprise, once she got rid of the bindings on her breast, she was damn near the same size as Hinata was. Naruto sighed. One thing was for sure, life was never boring. Looking up at the sky, Naruto could see that it was getting late. Tizuna, Zabuza and Haku had already left and his clones were dispelling themselves. His stomach growled a bit. It was dinner time. He idly wondered just how long he had been lost in his own thoughts and silently cursed himself for not being more aware of his surroundings. Jumping off his perch, he put on a burst of speed and ran towards Tizuna's home. Naruto arrived shortly after Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke did. He had taken them out for training since it was Naruto's turn to help with guard duty. Sakura glomped him and pecked him on the cheek in greeting as Kyuubi perched on his shoulder and cuddled up to him. He let out a slight chuckle and pecked Sakura on the forehead and gave Kyuubi a quick affectionate scratch behind the ears, causing her to purr happily. Sasuke gave a disgusted snort before scoffing at the 2 teens and the fox. Such frivolous shows of affection disgusted him greatly. He was still pissed off that Sakura not only mastered the tree walking exercise, something he was still working on, and she had mastered water walking and kunai balancing. Kakashi had started her on waterfall climbing and had taught her 2 jutsu to add to her arsenal, Water Fang Bullet and Earth Dragon Missile. She learned them quickly and would have them mastered soon. Something that irked Sasuke to no end. How could a pink-haired demon whore from a no-name clan be better than him? It was preposterous. Unfortunately there was nothing he could do at the moment, so he settled for his usual brooding. Tsunami and Haku were busily bustling about in the kitchen, preparing food for everyone, as Kakashi and Zabuza were reading a familiar orange book, both letting out small perverted giggles. Tazuna was guzzling down sake as usual as Naruto, and Sakura sat down at the table with Kyuubi perched on the young Hanyu's shoulders. Inari had also come down to get dinner, and as usual he was sulking and brooding. Naruto wanted to gag at how the kid was acting just like emo team. Though he knew what would likely be coming from the boy soon, he did his best to ignore it and go on as if he had no idea. What he got was worse than the previous time. Inari glared hatefully at the cheerful ninjas sitting across the table from him. He couldn't stand it that they were so damn happy while he was so terribly miserable. Finally having enough, especially from the pink-haired tart and the blonde moron across from him, he slammed his small fists down on the table. Why do you even bother? Gato is just going to kill you all, don't you realize that you can't ever win against him? Inari shouted. The entire table went silent and Naruto sighed just like last time. Well, time to nip this in the bud. Kindly keep such opinions to yourself, Inari-san, you know nothing about the true situation and until you do not try to undermine my team's confidence. Naruto said in slight monotone. We are nothing like you, so please do not judge us as such. He added. Inari turned red with anger as tears welled up in his eyes. I'm glad I'm nothing like you. You, blonde baka, you have no idea how horrible my life has been. But you probably come from some rich family and are spoiled. You probably have no idea how hard life can be. Inari would have continued if Naruto's fist hadn't impacted with the table with enough force to make every dish and glass jump several inches. Naruto let out a low growl. The brat had really grated on his nerves more so than he did the last time. Kakashi, Sakura and Kyuubi cringed at what Inari had said. That brat had no clue. Haku winced as well, while Zabuza watched on silently. Tazuna and Tsunami looked ashamed of the child. Naruto's eyes flashed baleful crimson and glared into Inari's. Even Sasuke had enough brains to keep his trap shut and back off at this point. Silence, you little brat. Naruto's voice once again held a demonic timbre to it. I know nothing of suffering, do I? I would suggest that you find out all the facts about other people before judging them too hastily. I probably know more about suffering than most people in this damn room. Naruto snarled and ripped off his trench coat and shirt. Haku and Sakura flushed, so did Tsunami for that matter. But that stopped when they noticed just how many scars littered Naruto's muscular form. Even Sakura hadn't had a chance to really get a good look the last time she'd seen him without a shirt. Some were small, easily gained from training, some were big, reminders of past fights, but there were others that were disfiguring, especially on his back. It was littered with what appeared to be lash and slash marks from some kind of whip hand or blade. Faint scars from Chidori attacks from his previous life in the future were also present. Anyone could tell just by looking at his torso he had gone through hell. Do you see these wonderful marks? These are reminders. You see, since the day I was born I was hated, loathed and despised by my village. All because my father, in a last-ditch effort to save our home, sacrificed me and himself to seal a demon within me that had been forced to attack our village by a madman. I lost both of my parents that night, the night of my birth. That very same night I had 2 attempted assassinations on me. Had it not been for our Hokage I would have been dead. I grew up fearing and hating my own birthday because the mobs of villagers would always be so much worse. That day I always spent it in the hospital after getting beaten to within an inch of my life. Why? Because I was a living, walking and talking reminder to those people and what they lost that day. The demon, freed from the force that controlled it, did its best to help me and heal me, but it could never get rid of all the scars. Do you know that I have had more assassination attempts on my life than even our Hokage has in his lifetime? I believe the last number came up at around 423. Such a wonderful, spoiled life I live, no. Well then, how about this? Because of the burden forced upon me, even if it had been innocent, I was thrown out of the orphanage at age 5. I lived on the streets for nearly a year, always dodging mobs of angry villagers. I had to eat from the trash bins to get any kind of food, stores of all kinds refused me service, and what they would sell me was either poisoned or rotted. Our Hokage did his best to help, giving me a small apartment and some money whenever he could. My apartment had been broken into and ravaged more times than I care to count, so I had no items of personal value. In fact, I usually scrounged the trash to get what I had, since all the shops in my village either threw me out or charged me triple price for their worst wares. And to top it all off I became a Hanyu, giving the ignorant fools all the more reason to hate and loathe my existence. Naruto's friends had a look of shame in their eyes, except for Sasuke who didn't care. Zabuza was just shaking his head and Haku looked ready to cry, knowing such horror herself. Sakura was sobbing softly next to Naruto with a tearful Kyuubi trying her best to calm both her mate and her new friend. Naruto sighed again and let his power levels go back to normal as well as his voice. Izuna was a bit freaked but knew it best that he kept his mouth shut and he hoped his grandson would learn a proper lesson. Tsunami was of like mind but had a frown on her face. She had never seen a Hanyu before, it was strange. Inari for his part was scared shitless. Inari, you need to understand that no matter how bad you might have it, there is always someone out there who has it worse off. There are people out there that have suffered just as much, if not more so than I have. But no matter how bad things get, how horrible life becomes, you have to keep hope that one day it will be better. Naruto's voice became softer and kindly, yet held a strong undertone of maturity. I for one never gave up, no matter how bad things got. I learned that sitting around and crying wasn't going to do me any good. I learned that in order to move on, I needed to rise above the hate and anger rather than stoop to that level of ignorance and foolishness. And in time I began to find my precious people. That not only gave me the strength I needed to carry on no matter what, but they also gave me true power, the power to rise up against any and all odds, no matter what, in order to protect them. Giving Kyuubi an affectionate scratch and Sakura's shoulder a light squeeze, he looked at the boy with a small smile. You still have people who consider you precious to them, and I am sure you feel the same about them, your mother and grandfather. You might not realize it, but you are hurting them when you are sad, so are your precious people. You should consider yourself lucky you still have your family. I would give almost anything to spend just one fleeting moment with my parents. But I have realized that such things are impossible, but that doesn't mean I cannot find or make a new family to love and cherish, a new family to give me strength to let go of the pains of my past and heal the scars on my heart. Cherish who you have, Inari, and find more precious people to protect. When you find them and let them in, you will discover an awesome power that will give you the strength you need to stand up against anything, even bastards like Gato. Your stepfather was a true hero. He died fighting for what he believed in. Honor that, don't make his sacrifice go to waste. Just because he is no longer with you in the physical sense doesn't mean that he doesn't live on in your heart. Heroes do still exist, they come in all manner of forms and personalities. Naruto walked up to Inari and wiped some of the boy's tears away and, to the boy's surprise, gave him a brotherly hug. Find yourself a new hero, but never forget the ones previous. Live for your stepfather, he would want that, he would want you to be happy. Find your precious people and fight for them and your beliefs with all your being, and then you too will become a hero. There aren't always happy endings in this world of ours, but we must do our best to see that some come to pass. Think about what I've said and remember, I will always be there for you. If no one else will be, so will your mother and grandfather. We believe in you, kiddo, so believe in yourself. Naruto said softly and ruffled Inari's hair. He then stood, turned on his heel and walked out of the now silent house. Tsunami, Haku, Sakura and Kyuubi were weeping silent tears. Tazuna had his head bowed, Sasuke was brooding as usual, Inari was staring blankly at the place Naruto had just been, as Kakashi and Zabuza looked a bit downcast. Was what he said, was it all true? Inari asked quietly. Kakashi nodded and sighed sadly. It is, sadly, it was a very sugar-coated version too. That young man's life could only easily be described as hell on earth. Only recently has his life begun to get any better. In many ways, he is his parent's son. His unbreakable will and spirit never cease to amaze, and his outlook and ability to forgive are a miracle all in their own. He has never once showed hatred towards those who have abused him. All he desires is to protect them and the people he deems precious to him. And he does so fiercely. His power is nearly unmatched by anything except, perhaps, the size of his own heart. Kakashi said, looking at the door Naruto left out of. You should listen to his words, Inari. He is only thinking of your own well-being and happiness. The copy ninja added. It is a shame, the fate of the Jinchuriki. Zabuza said, shaking his head sadly. The power of human sacrifice indeed. To think he would willingly sacrifice so much, even for people that hate him. He is a far better man than I. But that is just how he is, Sakura said softly. Naruto-kun has always sacrificed his own happiness for that of others. He is always trying to help those in need, never asking for anything in return. It's why I love him. I nearly missed my chance to be with him because of my own stupidity, but now I will be there for him so. But he doesn't have to always sacrifice his happiness for others. Kyuubi nodded her head, feeling the same. Sasuke scoffed and went off to bed while grumbling about attention-seeking demons. It took all the restraint Kakashi, Kyuubi, Sakura, Haku and Zabuza held not to get up and throttle the arrogant little prick. Even Tsunami and surprisingly Inari shot him disgusted glares. After a moment, Haku got up and gathered up Naruto's mesh shirt and trench coat. I think I will take Naruto-sama's coat and shirt to him, the nights here can be a bit chilly. She said softly and walked out after him hastily. Sakura wanted to follow, but for some reason she felt that it would be best if she stayed put. She had heard from Kyuubi just how hard Haku's life had been before meeting Zabuza. Perhaps both of them would be good for each other. Sakura did like Haku, she was a very kind and gentle young woman, and in the past couple of days, the pink-haired kunoichi had found that the more she was around Haku, the less she minded if Naruto grew to have feelings for her as well. If there was one thing she knew about her fiancé, it was that he had a big enough heart to love them all equally. What was another girl or two anyways when you have someone like Naruto? Many thoughts flowed through Haku's mind as she searched out the young man that intrigued her so much. He was unlike any man she had ever met before, he was frighteningly powerful, yet he was humble. He seemed to have years of experience, despite his age, and held an aura of confidence, maturity and power cloaked around him. To find out that he too knew the same suffering that she did made her heart go out to him. She could hardly fathom how he could be so kind and forgiving when by all rights he should be destroying everything in sight. But ever since the moment she first met him, she could tell that there was something special about him, something that not only warmed her heart but attracted her to him. It was almost as if she knew him in a way perhaps their similar pasts would better explain it. The ice mistress couldn't deny the fact that she wanted to get to know him better, hell she wouldn't even mind dating him. A truly shocking thing since she rarely let herself get close or think about any other man than her father figure Zabuza. She had also heard Kakashi and Zabuza talking about him being the last of his clan, meaning that he practiced polygamy. At first that made her a bit wary of him, thinking him to be the usual male pervert. But over the past couple of days and through their training sessions, she learned he was anything but a pervert, in fact he actually despised perverts. It was strange in a way. She had seen that he could be truly frightening, his power and the fact he's half demon were not lost on her, not that she actually cared, she thought his tail was actually cute. But when not in the midst of battle he was actually quite kind and very gentle, almost as if he was a different person. Much better than his teammate, the Uchiha, that boy must have been born with a mean stick rammed up his ass. It didn't take her long to find Naruto. He was standing on one of the many unused docks on the pier. His arms crossed, tail and hair blowing slightly in the breeze as he gazed out over the moonlit waters. The silvery moonlight washing over his bare upper body seemed to give him an unearthly glow due to his unnatural tan skin tone, his scars looking all the more darker in the pale lighting. Haku felt her breath hitch as she took in the scene before her. Sure, she thought he was handsome, no woman in their right mind wouldn't, but to see him like this, it was just something she couldn't put into words, it was breathtaking. Sensing the presence behind him, Naruto turned to see a slightly flushed Haku looking at him through slightly glazed half-lidded eyes. He offered her a small smile, the painful past memories his speech had drudged up long since put back in their place. "Haku-chan, why are you out at this time of night, you could catch cold," he said, concerned for her health. Haku's blush turned a darker shade of pink, but she just gave him her usual cute smile. "I brought you out your shirt and coat since it is you who should worry about getting sick," she replied. Naruto gave a short chuckle. "I'm a Hanyu and I have a very advanced and accelerated healing factor and immune system, I don't get sick, in fact I never have once in my life. But thanks for your concern, it is appreciated." Haku fidgeted a bit and Naruto motioned for her to join him on the pier. He thanked her again as he took his shirt and coat, placing them back on before turning back out towards the ocean view. Haku also looked out with him, standing next to him in a comfortable silence. It was actually a beautiful night, the moonlight shone on the water's surface like a sliver dancing across, an endless mass of dark blue silk fluttering in the breeze. It was so clear that you could see each of the stars twinkling happily in the night sky, almost as if the troubles in the world were just a little less at the moment. It was indeed a beautiful sight to behold. "It's a beautiful night, isn't Haku-chan?" Naruto asked in a soft tone, still gazing out over the waters. "It is," she answered in a like tone. "It's amazing how something as simple as nature can bring peace to one's soul. It is a shame that many people do not realize it. For all the ugliness I have seen in my life, all I need to do is remember scenes like this and my precious people. Those two things alone remind me just what I fight for, why I fight and why I protect. Nature, be it night or day, always has a beauty about it so long as it is left unspoiled by man. It always serves as a reminder that there are indeed things still pure in this world." Naruto mused. Haku flushed again. What was it about this young Hanyu that enraptured her so? Could it be his handsome looks, or was it his personality that made her heart flutter and stomach turn so delightfully? She glanced at his facial features for a moment, idly wondering if his lips felt as soft and warm as they looked. She shivered slightly due to both a sudden chilly breeze and her own thoughts. Naruto, being a gentleman, saw that his friend was cold, so he put an arm around her and pulled her close to him, knowing that his jacket was too thin to actually offer any warmth. Haku gasped slightly at the contact and flushed deeply as she cuddled into Naruto's side. Despite the chilly weather, he was very warm and his touch gentle and comforting. "Should we head back? You seem to be getting cold," Naruto asked. "No, that's fine, I'd like to stay out here for a little bit," Haku answered, not willing to let go of the sudden object of her affections. "As you wish," Naruto said and returned to looking out over the waters. Naruto just smiled at the young ice maiden cuddled up next to him, not ever realizing just what kind of impact he was having on her. In a lot of ways she kind of reminded him of a mixture of Hinata and Sakura. She was shy at times, but knew how to be accurate when need be, and she was exceptionally gifted. Naruto idly wondered if Haku could teach Hinata ice jutsu when they got back to Konoha, since Hinata had affinities for wind and water. Not that he wouldn't teach her some himself. Haku found that she felt quite content in the strong arms of her new friend and hoped, given some time, that they could grow to be more than just friends. "Come on, Haku-chan, let's go back to Tizuna's, we have more training to do tomorrow," Naruto said. "Okay." Haku answered softly and followed him back, though she never let go of his arm the entire time. "You're getting very good with your element manipulations, Sakura-chan, if I didn't know better, I'd almost think you had a plant element Kekkei Genkai," Naruto praised. Sakura was slightly panting next to him and in front of her was a rose bush in full bloom that she had made from a single seed and fusing her earth and water element chakra. It was still a bit of a strain for her, but it was getting much easier. As she found out, fusion jutsu not only required a lot of chakra control, but a fair amount of chakra as well. To her credit though, she had learned wood clone and wood encampment wall jutsus fairly easy, but both were low-level jutsu to begin with. Once she got more competent and had less chakra drain, Naruto told her he would teach her thorn prison, ensnaring vine, grass enbin and leaf shuriken jutsus. Sakura had even started on her own project, a new one. She had collected a large number of cherry blossom petals and was infusing them with her chakra. Not only would the chakra keep the pretty pink, red and white petals alive, but when focused properly, it made them razor sharp. At the moment she could only control a small amount of them at any given time, but if Naruto was right, Sakura was about to create a special new ability similar to what Gaara did with his sand. In a way it was kind of scary. "Thanks, Naruto-kun," Sakura said happily. "These fusion jutsu are pretty hard though." Naruto nodded. "Yeah, they can be. But once your chakra levels reach down in level, and given your control abilities, you will have much less problems with them. But for now you have a fair jutsu arsenal, much better than most other genin, you have your chakra bow, and soon you'll have your blossom petals as well. All of which can be classified as Haruno clan jutsu, you've got a lot to be proud about." Sakura blushed prettily, Naruto may not realize it, but he is in fact the reason she works so hard, and he is what inspires her. He is always making suggestions on things she can do, and given her above average intelligence, she has been able to create a few jutsu on her own, almost unheard of among genin or anyone else their age. Ayubi walked into the clearing, in her Hanyu form once again, and gave Naruto a quick kiss as greeting before setting down a small basket of food Tsunami had prepared for them. To say the others had been surprised last night when she took her humanoid form would be an understatement. Though for the record, Zabuza, Tazuna and Kakashi got slight nosebleeds at the sight of her. She and Sakura gave a quick explanation, while Haku was out looking for Naruto. Kakashi had just sighed and muttered about how he might as well not be surprised anymore. Besides, having viewed Naruto's memories that day the teams were assigned in the Hokage's office had mellowed him out greatly towards the former nine-tailed demoness. The fact that she was Naruto's first mate had made Kakashi and Zabuza go into a small fit of perverted giggles, and why not, tails and fox ears aside, she was one hot little number. Ayubi sat down next to Sakura and smiled, her tail swaying happily behind her. Sakura had to giggle a bit at how cute Kyuubi could be at times. "So, how's your training going, Sakura-chan?" Kyuubi asked. "Pretty good, Kyu-chan, I learned wood encampment wall and wood clone jutsu today, and my fusion manipulation is getting better," she answered, feeling pride in her accomplishments. "That's great. I just saw Haku-chan a few minutes ago. She was helping Kakashi-san train the emo kid, he was getting his ass kicked." She chuckled. "No surprise there really, Haku-chan is very fast, especially if she uses her special bloodline jutsu, demonic ice mirrors," Naruto said as he pulled out some sandwiches and tea. "And that's probably what Kakashi-sensei is doing, he's trying to get Sasuke to improve his speed," Sakura added offhandedly as she accepted a sandwich. "So how long do you think we have before Gato team decides to strike out at us?" Kyuubi asked. "Zabuza is with Tazuna and he's getting a bit tense, said something about the fat man making a move soon," she added. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment. "I'd say we have at the most 2 days left until he tries something. That demon, Gornak, will likely wait until all hell breaks loose before he comes in to take over the fight." Kyuubi nodded. "Most likely, Gornak may be a greedy bastard, but he was a smart and powerful one too. You don't get the title of Sin Lord by just being overly sinful. The prick will probably show up with a small army of lesser demons as well. I'm not too worried about those. Wraiths, shadow beasts, lurkers, vampires and werewolves are all pretty much small fry compared to those devil-class bastards. Thankfully the Sin Lords loathe to work with each other, so I doubt we will have to worry about any others showing up," Naruto stated. "What about other tailed demons? You said they would be likely to attack you if you ever left the village," Sakura asked. "That's true, but if any of them are stupid enough to attack, it would be more likely to happen while we are away from civilization. Biju rarely have qualms about attacking a village unless another more powerful Biju is there, and the lesser Biju like that five-tailed scorpion are usually either too stupid or primitive-minded to formulate a proper plan of action, or they despise going anywhere near places with too many humans due to their more animalistic thought patterns. Even some of the Biju lords are like that, Sanbi for instance, he's a giant three-tailed snapper turtle and quite powerful, but his mind is more along the lines of his non-demonic counterparts. Sure, he's aggressive by nature, but if you leave him alone he'll leave you alone unless he's hungry, but otherwise he's nothing more than a overblown snapper turtle with three tails and no ability to use his powers other than on an instinctual level due to his primal thought process," Naruto explained. "Geez, when it comes to demons and stuff like that you are smarter than any book I've seen in Konoha library," Sakura mused. "Well, it kinda comes with the territory, I am the nine-tailed lord after all, not to mention I gained most of Kayu's knowledge at one point," Naruto said a bit dryly. Sakura frowned a bit in thought for a moment. "Say when she blushed a bit. Mate with you, do we get any kind of special powers or anything like that? Do we become Hanyu too?" she asked curiously. "Yes and no," Kyuubi answered. "Once, Naruto-kun mates with someone, you for example, will gain a telepathic link to him, you will gain more power up to about a quarter of Naruto-kun's total limit, his healing factor and accelerated immunity, and his lifespan will also be passed on due to your soul bonding to his. There is a slight chance that you will gain some other powers, like your elemental affinities becoming Kekkei Genkai. But you won't become a Hanyu, at least not in the manner Naruto-kun is. At the most you will become a quarter demoness, and while a few minor features might change slightly, you won't get things like tails or the like. At the most you might get slit pupils and or whisker marks. Besides the mating mark, I'm pretty sure you'll get enhanced senses as well." Sakura just nods. "I didn't really care either way, even if I were to gain tails or something like that, so slit pupils and whisker marks are fine with me if it happens." She didn't need to ask how the whole mating bonding thing was done, Kyuubi had told her. While Sakura was very tempted, she felt it best to wait for a while before she go that intimate with Naruto. Not that a little making out or petting wouldn't make up for it. "By the way, how was Inari? I haven't seen him since the little episode last night," Naruto asked. Kyuubi smiled. "He is much better now, Naruto-kun. You gave him much to think about, and I believe he has discovered that while his life has been hard, it has not been as bad as some others. He actually had a small smile on his face this morning." "That's good," Naruto sighed. "I didn't want to be too rough on the kid or freak anyone out, but it needed to be said. Though I do think I might have confused Haku-chan, last night she was a bit clingy when we were on the pier." "She's probably got a crush on you," Sakura said as she took a sip of tea. Naruto choked on his sandwich, causing Kyuubi to giggle and pat his back. Naruto cleared his throat. "Well, that is unexpected." Sakura pouted a bit. "You like her, don't you?" "Well, she is my friend, yes, but I don't have that sort of feelings for her," he was cut off by Kyuubi. Yet she giggled. "Well, that might come in time, but for right now I am happy with you ladies. But if something does eventually grow between us, I will give her the same chance that I am giving all of you. Just remember, if more girls do come to join my family, I won't love any of you any less, I promise, and you both know I never go back on my word," Naruto pledged. Sakura sighed. "I don't really mind, Haku-chan is a nice girl, just don't move too quickly, some of us would like our fair share of time with you, okay?" Naruto chuckled, leaned over and gave the pink-haired Kunoichi a kiss to relieve her of any doubts. Once Sakura was in a sufficient state of mind-numbing bliss, he repeated the gesture with Kyuubi, who was more than happy to reciprocate. He then got up and sat between the two girls, smiling a bit as they cuddled up to him. Never once in his past timeline did he think that he would ever gain this level of happiness. It was almost too good to be true, even so, he would protect this happiness with all his might. "I am finally gaining what I've always wanted. I never imagined feeling love could be this good when I can actually hold the ones I love. I doubt I'll ever stop being amazed at the wonderful feeling the girls give me. I finally have a family, an unorthodox one, but a family nonetheless. For them I will fight till the end, I would die for them, I would live for them always." Naruto thought as he pulled the girls a bit closer to him. While he no longer knew exactly what would happen in the future, it didn't matter anymore, not as long as his loved ones were kept safe. He was still worried about facing the Sin Lord, but Kami helped the demonic bastard. Should he lay a single claw any his girls or his friends and family for, then they would not face only the wrath of the Neo-Kyuubi but the avatar of Shinigami. Soon demons all over would learn to fear the Reaper, and that the last thing they would ever want to do is piss him off, because, may the gods have mercy on their souls, for he will not. Chapter 13, Wave Mission Maelstrom. A short pudgy man sat seemingly alone in a dark ornate throne room. He was Gato, the head of the Gato shipping company and local crime boss. His chunky face was seemingly twisted in deep thought for a moment before he glanced into the shadows. "My lord, is it nearly time?" he asked with a smirk. The shadows shifted slightly, but no being could be seen, just a large abstract glob of pitch black. "Yes, my minion, I believe it is best to attack a day early to throw them off guard, since they seem to think we will be attacked tomorrow. That foolish blonde half-breed seems to think he has all the answers, but the brat will soon learn to never underestimate me, the Sin Lord of Greed, Gornak. While he is out training will send some of my minions to kill him, while the main force attacks the bridge his human friends and the little vixen demon are guarding. It will be a glorious bloodbath. First your men will go into the attack, and if need be I will join the attack with my forces. My only request is that the 2 human females be brought to me alive. Virgin flesh and blood is so delightfully delicious." Gornak's vile rumbling voice said from the darkness. "I understand, Gornak-sama, but how do you intend to fight the Hanyu? He is dangerous. Look at what he did to the last group of demon soldiers we sent out," Gato reminded. Gornak let out a chilling laugh. "Normal humans can take out pathetic creatures like shadow beasts. No, I have some special little pets for the Hanyu, some of the best monsters I could produce. They will rip him, tear him and feast upon his flesh. I shall have them devour all, but his head, that will be a gift to the 2 human females he seems so fond of before I have my fun with them. Isn't that right, my pretties?" Several inhuman snarls and growls came from the shadows, as if they were agreeing with the demon lord. "Excellent, Wave will soon be all mine, and those worthless peasants will be your payment for the help. Though I do have one request: leave the bridge builder's daughter alive. She will make an excellent slave, and I do so enjoy breaking in new ones," Gato said with a sick grin. "Ha ha 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 ha. A human after my own black heart. Yes, I will give you that woman to play with. I shall enjoy listening to her screams as you break her spirit. Now my little pets, you have a job to do: find the Hanyu and rip the flesh from his bones," Gornak ordered. Several loud roars of approval sounded off as 4 large creatures shot out of the shadows and sped out of the hideout towards their prey. Gato picked up a small shortwave and held it up to his mouth. "Tell the boys to get ready, we attack within the hour, today Wave falls," Gato bellowed. "Yes, Gato-sama," came the reply. Eerie and evil laughter filled the dark room as the vile plan was set into motion. Surely today would mark a great change. Zabuza, Kakashi, Haku, Sakura, Kyuubi and Sasuke were helping Tazuna at the bridge. Naruto thought it best if the group rested properly for one day before the attack. Both the older shinobi thought it was a sound idea as well. They would be no use in battle if they trained themselves into exhaustion beforehand. The only exception was Naruto. Due to his demonic stamina, he just didn't tire out, or at least not nearly as easy as a human did. Naruto for his part wanted to go out and do some last-minute planning on his own and relax a bit, so he left about 20 shadow clones at Tazuna's house, each in henge, to guard over the place. One was even hinged to look like a small fox that was following Inari around as a personal guard. Naruto entered into a familiar clearing and sighed. It was getting close to the day that Gato was likely to attack. He was sure it would happen within the next day or 2 at most. But he was also getting antsy, and he could sense something off. The forest was so quiet and peaceful, too quiet. The hair on his tail kept bristling out, to a sure sign that something was off. Had it not been for his previous years of experience, he would be a bit freaked out by now, but time had taught him patience and given him an unnatural calm in most situations. Naruto stopped walking. He could sense a foul presence, several to be precise. Sniffing the air, he could pick up the scent of blood and brimstone demons. Several sudden chakra spikes could be felt in the distance as Kyuubi's voice entered his mind, telling him they were under attack by Gato's army. "Damn it, I was careless. I should have known the bastard would try to attack early," Naruto grumbled. Demon Arts Level 1 Hanyu release. Naruto's chakra levels once again shot beyond human levels as all 9 of his tails appeared behind him. As this happened, 6 strange creatures stalked into the clearing. Monsters was the only way to properly describe these beasts. 2 of them were mid-level demons called displacer beasts. They looked like black panthers, a bit larger, with 6 legs and 2 long tentacles on their backs. They had a nasty habit of becoming visible and invisible at random moments. 2 were Driders, high-level devil minions with the lower body of a spider and the upper body of a humanoid devil. They were exceptionally good fighters and very deadly. 1 was an Umberhulk, a high-level monster he could have done without. It looked like a giant bipedal cross between a stag beetle, a praying mantis and a cockroach. Its exoskeleton was extremely thick, but its brain power was that of a primitive beast, a nasty one at that, with brute strength to match his own. The last creature was another high-level devil minion known as a lick flare. Humanoid creatures with squid-like heads and tentacles surrounding mouths full of sharp teeth. This particular one was a lick, meaning it was undead, so it also reeked of rotting flesh and would have a taste for fresh flesh, especially brains. I don't have time for this. Naruto snarled. Guess I better end this quick. He went through several hand seals. Demon release final form, Nine Tails unleash. Once again Naruto's body shifted into that of a fox-human hybrid, a werefox. The ground beneath him ripping up from the tremendous amount of power he was letting off as his bones broke and reformed and his body adjusted to his new size and strength. His coat and shirt ripped off from his upper body and fell shredded to the ground, half burnt, as his massive clawed hand set aside his blades. With one final surge of power, he let out an inhuman roar that nearly shook the heavens before hunching back down, feral crimson glowing eyes narrowed and ready for the attack. For those on the bridge, the situation wasn't much better. Gato had shown up with a literate army of thugs and brutes in front of him and a smaller army of monsters and demons behind him. Gornak was nowhere in sight, but they all knew the vile devil was there, just waiting to lash out. For his safety, Tazuna was sent away with a shadow clone to his house, where Naruto's shadow clones could help protect him better and keep him out of the crossfire of such a large-scale battle. The older man had no problems getting the hell out of Dodge. All of the ninja on the bridge were in stances and ready to attack as a piercing roar sounded off in the distance, a roar that three of them knew all too well. Kyuubi smirked. Naruto was pissed and had let out that oh so wonderful werefox form of his, who or whatever was sent after him was in for a whole new dimension of pain. Sounds like Naruto-kun is starting without us, can't let him have all the fun now, can we? Kyuubi asked, flexing her now long razor-sharp claws. Kakashi raised his forehead protector, revealing his sharingan. Nope. He said in his usual dull tone. Sakura pulled out her bow as Haku pulled out several senbon. Shall we do a bit of sniping, Haku-san? Sakura asked. Yes, I believe that would be the best approach with this many foes. She replied. Zabuza just let out a bloodthirsty chuckle and drew Kubikiri Haucho and settled into his stance as the Uchiha drew two kunai. Boy, Kakashi, whoever gets the most buys the drinks, what do you say? Zabuza asked. Kakashi shrugged. Sounds good to me. Beto bristled at how nonchalant the ninja were being. Kill them all. Raze the village to the ground. Plunder, purge, rape, kill, destroy. He shouted with rage and an insane glint in his eyes as his troops shouted their approval and charged. Prosh. Beast. Naruto spat out a tentacle from one of the displacer beasts, its mangled body impaled through a tree. His tail shot out and wrapped around the lick flare. It was the next most dangerous creature there other than the Umberhulk whom he had sent skidding back from a hard punch. The hairs on his tail stiffened to the point they were like thousands of sharp needle blades. But the feral grin, the tails twisted and unraveled quickly, each hair ripping and cutting into the rotting flesh of the lick flare. Naruto whirled around and caught the undead by the head with his claw and then savagely crushed its skull, sending out a large splatter of blood and fluids. He hurled the remains at the other displacer beast as it lunged at him. Naruto then pounced on the smaller six-legged beast and grabbed it by its neck and hind legs. He let out another roar before literally ripping the poor creature in two, its guts spilling at his clawed feet. If one were to look, they could still see the heart making its last beats as the stomach and intestines squirmed and pulsed a bit. The Driders backed off a bit as a sudden notion of fear washed over them. However, they were not to escape their fate. The large werefox charged at them on all fours and lunged at the nearest one, his glowing crimson eyes showing no signs of any sort of humanity any longer, only primal rage. The Drider let out a howl of pain as the werefox's jaws clamped down on his left shoulder like a vice, its razor-sharp teeth sinking into its flesh and crushing its bones. With a savage jerk of the neck, the Drider was forever relieved of his left arm as it now hung limp from the werefox's jaw. Crimson blood flowed like water from the gaping wound as the nine-tailed beast spat out the arm, licking its chops of the blood, its tails flailing behind him in an almost joyful manner. The wounded Drider staggered back, but not before a furry clawed hand made its way around his neck, clamping down tightly and cutting off all airflow. The spider-like demon felt like its head was going to pop like a zit and then darkness. The werefox had ripped the head and spine out of the Drider, killing it instantly. Seeing his partner killed in such a ruthless manner, the other Drider decided to flee. It was clear to it that this thing had earned his title as the new nine-tailed lord. Unfortunately for it, it ran right into the irritated Umberhulk, whose answer was to literally bite off the Drider's head and devour it. After enjoying its light snack, the Umberhulk tossed aside the Drider corpse and decided to go after its main course of fox. Said werefox just gave the Umberhulk a look that said the bigger the bug, the louder the crack and the larger the splat. Had the Umber Hulk had any actual common sense, it would have ran in the other direction. Sadly, such creatures were mindless primal killing machines and real stupid to boot. The giant bug let out a roar and charged its next meal. Beast Naruto grinned, baring all of his razor-sharp teeth. Pathetic creature, the werefox rumbled out. The beast attempted to clamp its mandibles around Naruto's large fox-like head, only to have them caught by two large furry clawed hands. Part of Naruto really wished he had an economy-sized can of Raid. This was one big damn bug. However. Proc. Crewink. One Umber Hulk minus a pair of mandibles equals one ugly critter in a lot of pain and even more trouble. Naruto delivered a shattering blow to its carapace, causing it to crack in several spots and the beast to hack up a stream of smelly purple blood. The werefox wasted no time and began raining blows down upon the large bipedal insect with the force of a hydraulic jackhammer. The Umber Hulk was outclassed and overpowered in this situation, but it was too stupid to even think of fleeing. Like any other insect, it continued to try and get its meal, despite getting the beeswax kicked out of it. Naruto slammed the beast down on the ground hard enough to make the ground shake from the hit. He jumped on the prone monster's back, cracking its shell again, and raised his massive clawed fist over its head. They check in, but they don't check out. Beast Naruto roared. Splot. Damn, I'm not cleaning that up. Naruto snarled, scrunching up his nose at the foul smell of the Umber Hulk's head fluids and brains which were splattered out in all directions. Now time for the real fun to begin. He growled as his red eyes flashed. But that Naruto got down on all fours, grabbed his swords and took off in a dead run towards the bridge, ripping up the forest floor beneath his claws. Ice release 1000 ice needles. Haku barked as a rain of ice needles showered down upon the advancing group of hired thugs. Kyuubi, Kakashi and Zabuza were busy in heated taijutsu or kenjutsu fights with some of the better thugs. Sasuke had nearly exhausted his chakra, so he was going straight to jutsu as well, armed with his two kunai. Sakura was giving off continual fire from her chakra bow. Zabuza cleaved another thug in two, panting from the effort as bodies lay all around them. Damn it, there's no end to these bastards. He growled. Kakashi just leapt back and began doing hand seals. How about I give us a Malborum? Fire release fire dragon missile jutsu. Several large dragon-shaped fireballs tore through the humans but were deflected by the oncoming demon troops. Beto was standing smugly on the other side of the bridge as the large blue-skinned form of Gornak appeared next to him. Both laughing as Gornak ordered his Drider archers to let loose a barrage while the salamanders offered support fire. Sakura attempted to raise a barrier, but she didn't have enough chakra to cover the all well, so several stray arrows or fireballs hit them, thankfully not in any vital spots. Kyuubi cursed. If she tried to use her fox form, she might step on one of her friends. If she used any of her large attacks, she could blow the whole bridge to Tartarus. Now. Press the attack and slaughter them. Geto screamed. That would have been a good plan, except for one little catch in the shape of a large, very pissed off, humanoid fox landing between the ninja and the attackers. The werefox let out a piercing roar that scared the shit out of the attacking humans and made most of the demons wary. Geto actually wet himself at the sight of Naruto, while Gornak looked amused. Kyuubi smirked and crossed her arms. You guys just lost, there's no way you can beat 2 Hanyu and 5 trained ninja. Naruto reverted to his Hanyu form and attached his swords back to his belt. Sorry it took me so long guys, I had a bit of an infestation to take care of first. Naruto said, his eyes narrowing at Gornak. He knew he couldn't screw around with these guys, he wouldn't put his friends in danger like that. Well, looks like I have to reveal my final trump card a bit early, guys, stand back. Naruto said sternly. The ninja all looked at each other but knew from his tone of voice he wasn't messing around. Nodding, they all put a bit of distance between them and him as Naruto began going through a few hand seals. He held out his right hand as black flames began leaking out of the tattoo on his arm. Reap through all soul edge. In a flare of demonic fire, the scythe appeared in his hand, causing his friends to gasp a bit. Just how many weapons did he have? Soul release avatar of Shinigami demonic reaper ascend. Naruto snapped. Once again Naruto's body and muscle mass began to grow, but only slightly compared to his werefox form, topping off at about 6'9". His skin darkened to a charcoal gray color and was littered with gold and silver tribal and Celtic runes. His tail lengthened and burst into black and purple fire. Blood spurted from a sudden slit on his forehead as a golden-colored eye opened with a silver pupil. It was a devil eye called the Jagan, giving him the ability to see into souls, judge them and torture them if he so wishes it. It held a number of nasty little things that it could do, such as its doom gaze. A pair of horns sprouted out from the sides of his head and curved back as his hair turned a metallic silver color. 4 bursts of black and purple flames shot out from his back, incinerating the blood spattering, and was followed by a flurry of black feathers with silver highlights and gold feathers with crimson highlights. The pair of black feathered wings hooped out from his upper back, while the golden feathered wings stretched out from his mid to lower back. Finally he opened his eyes. Black had replaced the whites of his eyes, his retina now deep purple and his slit pupils pulsing crimson. His Reaper garb appeared on him along with the chains. His wings spread out wide before folding behind him as he rested Soul Edge on his shoulder. The pressure from his power alone was enough to choke even the demons in the attacking force. Kakashi and Zabuza shivered slightly, he looked like the legendary angel of death. It never crossed their minds that was exactly what he was right now. Haku and Sakura were stunned but not afraid. Kyuubi just had a smug look on her face. Sasuke passed out from the pressure. This is the power bestowed upon me by Shinigami-sama himself. It is my job to send tainted souls to him to meet their final judgment, demon or otherwise. I am his avatar. Naruto's demonic voice echoed through the area. Should I'm not getting paid enough for this? One of the thugs gulped. Naruto glared at the man, his Jagan narrowing. Know this, your souls are tainted with the blood and suffering of the innocent. None of you will leave this bridge alive. The Jagan widened as a beam of energy shot out of it and entered the man's head. He began screaming and foaming at the mouth until his skull swelled and popped like a flesh balloon. Pretty parlor trick, half-breed, but it'll take more than a pathetic trick like that to harm a Sin Lord. Gornak said, amused, and motioned for his troops to advance. The various demons and monsters surrounded Naruto. He made a hand motion to tell his friends to stay put. Considering this turn of events, none of them were willing to risk getting caught in the crossfire between a Sin Lord and a demonic Reaper. The word suicide wouldn't even describe it. Reaper Naruto twirled his scythe like a staff and then settled into a stance, the chains on his chest snaking and twisting down his arms on his mental command. His three eyes looking around at the foes surrounding him, his face set like stone in hard determination, but otherwise showing no emotion. You do not know who you are fucking with. Naruto warned. Bull remained still and silent until one of the human thugs swallowed hard. Naruto's form blurred and faded from sight. A second later 6 of the Drider infantry fell over, split in 2 dead, before they even knew what happened. Naruto reappeared above them, massive wings spread out as torrents of chakra and other energy swirled and spiraled around him. A ghostly figure shimmered in behind Naruto, the form of the death god. Shinigami himself had come to watch his avatar in person. Shinigami raised a clawed hand and snapped his fingers. The wall of black fire surrounded the bridge on all sides, even on the waters below there would be no escape now. Shinigami then pointed to Geto with an evil grin on his features. Naruto smirked with a nod. Geto, for your crimes against the innocent guilty. Your sentence: first you must watch as all your troops fall, your sick plans shatter, and then my master has business with you. Apparently greedy souls like yours taste quite good this time of year. Naruto held out a hand as water and wind began swirling around it. Ice prison. This and sharp shards of ice erupted from the ground around Geto and caged in the whimpering fat man. He would have tried begging for mercy, but he was far too frightened to make anything more than a pathetic whimper. Gornak chuckled. Such a pathetic little mortal. Now come Reaper, let me see your so-called power. Gornak snapped his fingers and all the fallen humans began rotting and decaying at an accelerated rate as they stood back up. The zombies were then forced to merge into a large pile of festering flesh and bone until one large being was created. It was roughly 30 feet tall and resembled a giant skeleton with an inhuman skull. The large club of bone was in one hand and the other arm was a massive blade formed of bone. This is but one of my wonderful powers. I take the flesh and bone of the fallen and use them to create my lovely little pets. I think I'll call this one Bone Beast. Gornak said. You call that little? Naruto muttered dryly. Caillou got a new chew toy for you, rip Bonehead apart for me would you? I'll put a barrier on our friends. Kyuubi grinned. Now things are gonna get real fun. Naruto channeled his power and raised a crimson crystal-like construct around his friends made of pure demonic chakra. It was a barrier strong enough that only he or another 9-tailed beast could shatter it. At the same time Kyuubi unleashed her power and took the form of a very large 6-tailed crimson-furred fox. Because she was Naruto's mate and she still had tails, she was technically a Biju, meaning her power, while not what it used to be, was still no slouch and more than the current Rakubi. Kyuubi and Bone Beast clashed as she flung him to a safer area near the black fire barrier Shinigami had put up. She didn't need their fight to destroy the bridge. Naruto looked down at the remaining monsters and human thugs. There were too many for him to just pick off one at a time considering the limited space of the bridge. Also a high-powered jutsu would get rid of them, but it would destroy the bridge in the process. He also had to fight Gornak. This form was powerful, probably more than his 9-tailed form, but his body hadn't adjusted to using it for long periods of time yet, so it did drain him a bit. Bolt power comes at a price. The price for his Reaper power was severe power drain even with near limitless chakra. If it were to pull too much and he ran out of chakra, it would start eating his soul energy, and as soon as that was gone he'd fade into nothingness, his soul gone and his body turned to dust. Thankfully he shouldn't have to worry about that unless he was fighting some kind of all-powerful dark god or something. He glanced over to Kyuubi. Her battle was going well, a monster like that was really nothing more than a giant undead puppet and she was easily tearing it apart. Exhaling a deep breath, Naruto began his preparations. The clouds above him turned dark gray as thunder began to rumble. Lightning flashed as the winds began to pick up and rain began to fall in a steady downpour. Holding out his scythe that ignited with black flames. He began twirling it at such a rate of speed that it turned into a large fiery black disc. Reaper Arts Hellfire Chakram. Naruto barked and flung the ignited soul edge at the group of monsters. He then went through a series of odd hand seals, running on pure instinct alone, as his tail flared and the feathers on his wings stiffened into razor blades. Some of the chains on his body sunk into his flesh and fused with his body. His power levels spiked again as black chains made of a strange organic metal-like bone with barbed spikes on the ends tore out of his arms and began attacking the opposing forces while soul edge sliced through the others. Reaper Arts Chains of the Fated. Naruto snapped and slowly descended to the ground as his chains continued to attack, impale and slice his enemies to death. Soul Edge returned to him, but instead of going to his hand, it hovered a few feet from him to give him all the room he and his chains needed. Shinigami smirked from his spot watching this boy. His potential was limitless. To have this level of control of his Reaper form and powers on only the second time such a feat should be impossible. He was even able to use Kami's gifts of the second wings and chains. He wondered, could that have been all that she had given his avatar when she planted that kiss on him when they met in the bardo? Kakashi-sensei, did you know he was this powerful in Reaper form? Sakura asked, a bit scared and awed at the same time. No, until now I have never seen this form. Hey, how did you know about it? He countered. Ai-chan told me. She answered. But how can he channel that much power through his body? Wouldn't it kill him? Zabuza asked, wincing as one of Naruto's chains splattered a thug's head like a melon. Who knows, he's the nine-tailed lord and the avatar of Shinigami. I'm guessing the normal limitations don't apply to someone like him. He's never been what one could call normal though, and that's what makes him who he is. He has the power of a god, but he doesn't flaunt it in favor of living as much a normal life as he can. Kakashi said. It's more than that, sensei, he wants to protect those he cares for no matter the cost. He failed the first time because of circumstances beyond his control, but now nothing can stop him from doing what he needs to do, and anything that tries will face what we are seeing now. Sakura said softly. Aku remained silent and was joined by the others as they watched Naruto literally turn into a one-man army. Blood, body parts and bodies littered the area as he continued to rip through all the enemies. No humans were left, all of Gato's men had fallen, and only a few monsters were left. Even Kyuubi had finished with the bone beast that lay in broken shards on the other side of the bridge. Both Sakura and Haku looked over all the carnage. Was this Naruto's true nature, or was the kind and gentle person they knew his true self? It was hard to say, perhaps he was both. But looking at him now, the cold look in his eyes, the malicious sneer on his lips, the way his teeth are gritted in rage, it was scary. He could kill in such a brutal manner and not even so much a flinch when he killed the monsters and demons, though it was almost like he enjoyed it. Is this always going to be like this? I hope not. I'm not sure I could handle so much death and destruction. I really love him, but he scares me when he's like this. Sakura thought as the final demon minion fell to Naruto's blood-drenched hands. Shriek the lips. Across a ragged tongue. Convulsing together. Sing violently. Move the jaw. Cry out loud. Bound up the dead. Triumphantly. Naruto walked over to the ice cage holding the terrified Gato as Shinigami hovered down behind him. Naruto glared at the cowardly criminal. For all the pain you have caused the innocent, I hope you enjoy your eternity, Gato. Naruto growled and swung his scythe sharply. Soul Edge tore through the ice and Gato's body like a hot knife through butter, his soul caught on the edge of the blade as his body fell to the ground in two pieces. Shinigami grinned and grabbed the screaming man as a black portal opened behind him. As they vanished, Gato's screams were still echoing through the area. Naruto turned to see Gornak clapping his clawed hands with an evil grin. Well done, half-breed, it appears you a bit stronger than I had first thought, but haven't you nearly reached your limit? You're sweating and your power levels are starting to weaken, such a pity. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. You pray so hard on bloody knees. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. Down in the cool air I can see. Damn it, using both my nine-tailed form and Reaper form within a few hours' time has drained a lot of my chakra. If this keeps up I'll burn through my own soul. I have to kill this bastard quickly. I can't let him harm anyone else. Naruto thought. It was true, his power expenditure had drained half of his reserves. The longer he stayed in Reaper form, the more of his chakra and eventually life force and soul energy would be consumed. If he ran out of chakra before that, well, he really didn't want to think about it. Granted, his forms had a fail-safe. When his power levels dropped to low, he would revert to human form. But he could cancel that out if he needed to. He almost had to laugh. Everyone thought Kyuubi's chakra was infinite, and in turn his was as well. That was bullshit. 9 taels worth of chakra was indeed massive, enough to equal all 3 Sannin and all the cages combined and surpass them, but it wasn't limitless. No, the secret was super fast chakra regeneration. Mid to high jutsu cost could regenerate within a minute or so, but his specialized and really high-powered jutsu took so much that it halted the regeneration process for a little bit from the strain on his system. Assuming his 9-tailed form and Reaper form required a steady and modest drain on his chakra, also halting his chakra regeneration. Meaning any jutsu he used in either form wasn't replenished, and his chakra was still being drained slowly, the price for being half-human, one might say. It wouldn't always be like that though. Once he gained his immortality, he would gain an incredible boost in power, likely negating the prices he pays now. Well, it looks like it's just you and me, Gornak. Shall we fight, or are you so afraid that you resort to petty mind games? Naruto asked with a smirk. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Stir the limbs across the wrist. Full possession of memory. Bury me as a dog. Icy hands surrounding me. Gornak let out another vile chuckle. Well, then it is time for me to play now. I shall show you true power. Gornak's body was engulfed by a torrent of tainted purple energy as it began growing in size. 2 massive demonic wings stretched out from the energy. His body grew to about 10 feet tall as his skin turned a brighter shade of red with green veins pulsing under his skin. 2 massive horns grew out as his face took on the appearance of a mixed wolf and alligator. This was Gornak's true form. His glowing lurid purple eyes glared down at the Reaper before him. The amount of power and killing intent mixed with bloodlust in the area was enough to suffocate even the most experienced shinobi. Naruto was smart enough to be very wary of this foe, but there was no way he was going to back down, not now, not ever. Even if he had to burn his own soul to ash, he would stop this bastard dead in his tracks. Having this much power, it's a burden, isn't it, half-breed? Gornak asked with a sneer. Naruto's face hardened further as his eyes narrowed and he began summoning all the power he had left. The only burden around here is having to listen to you spout shit all day. Just because I'm a little lower on chakra doesn't mean that I'm a pushover, don't underestimate me. Naruto growled. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. You pray so hard on bloody knees. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. Down in the cool air I can see. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Think what you like, half-breed, but unlike me your power has a limit. Gornak taunted and leered over at Kyuubi, who was growling at him. He let his twisted grin widen as his tail lashed out and snared her around the neck. You seem attached to this one, brat, too bad she is not a virgin, then the taste would be so much better. No sooner did the words leave Gornak's mouth did he find a very irate demon reaper cleaving his tail in two. But that isn't what shook him and everyone else there up. It was what Naruto had become. The usual red and blue chakra that surrounded him had vanished to be replaced with black and purple flames. Chains of black hellfire were twisting and writhing all around him, his wings spread out and the feathers ruffled in a dangerous manner. Soul Edge had somehow gotten longer and bigger, the blade now consumed in black and purple fire just like its master. Kyuubi's eyes went wide in fear of this killing intent, this bloodlust, she knew it all too well. In Naruto's past life, when she had still been within the seal, he had hit this level once before. It made him a monster, a true devil. She remembered the aftermath. Iowa had been turned to rubble, and every person within the hidden village, civilian or not, had been slaughtered without mercy. To think he would push to this state as a reaper. Kyuubi leapt away from Naruto and towards the others, adding another barrier to the one Naruto placed, and hoped it would be enough if Naruto unleashed any large-scale attacks. Naruto let out a cold, mirthless chuckle that even sent a shiver down Gornak's spine. If the Sin Lord didn't know better, this half-breed brat was becoming more of a demon by the second, a very pissed-off one to boot. My little friend, it calls, Naruto muttered darkly. For your blood, your fear, your death. Shriek the lips. Across a ragged tongue. Convulsing together. Sing violently. Move the jaw. Cry out loud. Bound up the dead. Triumphantly. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. You pray so hard on bloody knees. The ragged they come and the ragged they kill. Down in the cool air I can see. Gornak cringed, scenes of his own death by ripping and brutal dismemberment as the demonic reaper laughed viciously played before his own eyes. 4 flaming chains tore out from behind Naruto with blinding speeds as they impaled Gornak's wrists and ankles and then wrapped tightly around them, scorching his flesh with hellfire. Another chain appeared and wrapped around his neck as the Sin Lord was forcibly lifted off the ground and forced into a spread eagle position mid-air by the chains, just a few feet in front of Naruto. A fang-filled grin crossed Naruto's face as he pulled back his fist and plowed it into the Sin Lord's gut with enough force that the flesh on his back bulged out from the impact. The Jagan eye was glaring balefully at Gornak, using its power. Naruto searched through the demon's mind and found all of his victims, and then used the Jagan to turn their suffering back onto the one who caused it. Gornak could only scream and howl in horror and pain as Naruto continued his torturous assault on both body and mind at once. For your crimes you are found guilty. I will deliver to you your punishment. Look into my eyes, feel the suffering you have caused others as your body is torn to the four winds. Naruto said darkly. All three of Reaper Naruto's eyes turned bloody crimson as flames seemed to swirl within them. Gornak let loose an inhuman howl of terror as all of his own horrible power was turned back on himself. All the pain and suffering he had caused over the centuries he was now forced to endure 100-fold. His arms and legs were savagely ripped from his body by the Naruto's flaming chains. The only one remaining was the one around his neck. Endgame Naruto growled and used his chain to fling Gornak's screaming form up into the air as the fires around him grew more intense. Red and blue chakra once again joined in and mixed with the black and purple fire as Naruto went through a series of unknown hand seals. As soon as Naruto finished the seals, he took a stance with his wings back and hands to the side. The energies roaring around his body channeled into his hands as a swirling orb of mixed energy formed in the space between his hands. The ground shook, thunder cracked, and lightning flashed as the waters beneath the bridge churned violently. Naruto shoved his hands forward. Omega Art Dead Soul Destruction Wave. A massive beam of black, red, purple and blue energy shot from Naruto's hands, piercing the air like a bullet through flesh. Ripples in the air were visible as the roaring sound of dying oxygen molecules filled the air, with the deep roaring of the energy tearing through it. The beam impacted with Gornak, his screams were silenced as his demonic body was vaporized within seconds of impact. The beam continued to travel into the sky, boring a massive hole in the dark clouds that had gathered until it vanished. Only a slight twinkling light in the sky remained as a reminder of the powerful attack. The barrier surrounding Naruto's friends vanished. None of them could believe what they had just seen. An attack like that, holding that amount of raw power, had the potential to obliterate anything within a 1,000-mile radius of the impact point if it were to hit ground. They watched still in stunned silence as Naruto reverted back to his usual form, soul edge returning to its place in his seal tattoo. He looked at them and saw that they were all okay. They noticed a relieved look cross his features before he fell over face first onto the bridge. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you wanted. Hey, yeah, I'm your super beast. Shinigami and Kami sighed as they watched Naruto's friends rush over to him and check him over via viewing pool. That boy, he has more potential than I had thought. To think he can use one of my ultimate attacks and survive the backlash of using it, truly amazing. Shinigami said with a hint of pride. Indeed, and his power will only grow with each battle, each brush with death he has. The time will come one day when he unlocks the last gift I gave him that time we met in the Bardo. But he will have to learn to gain control of Berserker state he seems to go into. Only by having total control over his emotions will he attain his full power and potential. He nearly lost control of his rage today when Kyuubi was threatened. I shudder to think what would have happened had she been harmed. Kami stated. Shinigami nodded. Give it time, he is getting better at controlling his emotions. When the time comes, I am sure he will do us all proud. Chapter 14, Wave Mission After the Storm. 3 days later. Many people had been shaken up by the events of the battle on the bridge. The ninja couldn't really blame them. It wasn't every day that one encounters a being with the powers of both a demon and a god of death. After the initial shock was gone, many of the people realized that while Naruto was indeed something to be feared, he wasn't evil. None of them could fault his actions in the long run, and he had fought hard to protect not only his comrades, but the whole of Wave as well. Zabuza, Kakashi and a rather sulky Sasuke took care of the massive dead bodies on the bridge so Tazuna could finish it. The bridge itself had nearly been finished when Gato and Gornak launched their attack, so aside of some cleanup and some finishing work, the bridge was completed successfully within 2 days of the attack. Tsunami and Inari were beyond impressed and grateful for what the ninja had done for them. Inari now viewed Naruto as the greatest hero to ever live. He also thought Naruto's powers were the coolest thing he'd ever seen. Caillou had chuckled at the boy's obvious hero worship. Naruto was still in a state of stasis sleep. Sometime during his battle he had unlocked a few powers, mainly the chains and runic seals in the shape of wings had appeared on his back. As such, his body needed to properly adjust to new powers and abilities. Also, because of the prolonged length Naruto spent in his Reaper form, his body adjusted more properly to that as well, meaning his chakra reserves had grown and condensed more than they had been, and his rate of chakra restoration had nearly doubled in speed. Much to Kakashi's and Zabuza's amusement, it wasn't uncommon to see Caillou, Sakura or Haku fussing over the sleeping Hanyu. In fact, all 3 of the girls slept with him at night, or rather in the same room. Caillou would curl up with him in her chibi fox form, while Sakura and Haku had futons near his bed, citing that they needed to be nearby in case he needed anything even. Though he had healed completely from the few wounds he had gotten in the fight. The only person who wasn't happy about the mission success was the ever-brooding Sasuke Uchiha, who fervently believed that Naruto had stolen power that should have rightfully been his, as well as the glory of a battle he alone should have won. His petty little mind never even considered the fact that Gornak would have eaten him for a light appetizer had he even tried to take on the Sin Lord. Naruto woke early on the morning of the fourth day. Blearily he looked around the empty room he was in. He did arch an eyebrow at the sight of the two folded futons next to the bed. Yawning, he got out of bed and stretched. Several of his bones gave a satisfying crack as they popped back in place. He hissed with relief. Caillou-chan or Sakura-chan must have gotten some fresh clothes for me. Naruto mused as he picked up a new clothes setting next to Griever and Beowulf on the chair at the foot of his bed. The clothes were obviously civilian made. A simple pair of traveler's boots, pants and a sleeveless tunic vest and a simple black cloak. Luckily all of his tools were kept in scrolls and his utility belts or holsters on his legs, which were also sitting there waiting him to put them on. He quickly got dressed in his new clothes. He figured his old ones were likely screwed up beyond repair during the fight with Gornak, not that it really mattered. He had plenty of good work clothes waiting for him back at home. Securing his blades on his belt with well-practiced ease, he went over to the door and walked out of the room and turned down the hall towards the bathing room. He was sure he'd need a good cleaning. As he approached the door he checked to see if the occupied sign was out. It wasn't, so he figured he was good to go. Placing the sign out and getting undressed, he quickly bathed himself and took a short soak in the tub before redressing and walking to the nearby window in the hall. Not really feeling like talking to anyone at the moment, he opened the window and jumped out, then made his way towards the woods to stretch his legs and work out the kinks for too much sleep. Naruto-sama is gone. Haku said, a bit distressed as she ran back down into the first floor. The others, minus Sasuke who was out on patrol, looked shocked and some a bit worried. "Wah, but I thought he was still sleeping," Sakura asked worriedly. Caillou sighed. "No, he woke up a little while ago. His mind isn't in the best of places right now. He even locked me out from his end of the telepathic link. He gets like this after large battles where he's forced to take a bunch of lives." She frowned and decided to explain further. "You see, the human part of Naruto isn't really fond of killing. He does it because he has to in order to protect others or do his job, but he dislikes taking lives if it can be avoided. On the other hand, his demon, or rather his primal side, gets a thrill out of it and enjoys it immensely. The problem with demons, even if they aren't evil or half-blooded like I am now myself, is that we enjoy the taste of blood perhaps a bit too much. We enjoy fighting, and we especially enjoy destroying things or beings that make us angry or go against our natures. For Naruto-kun and myself, Geto Gornak, and their little army were all polar opposites of what we are, and their natures clashed with our own, making them all targets and prey. I nearly went into a berserker frenzy when Gornak brought out those nightbreeds and other demons. Myself had Naruto-kun on the other hand, did for a short time with Gornak. You saw the results. He is ashamed because he enjoyed doing what he did to that Sin Lord. He enjoys killing evil demons and sometimes people. It allows him to vent certain frustrations and rages he has obtained over the years. You could say it was one of his few flaws. He isn't upset he killed those brigands and monsters, but he is ashamed that you saw that side of him. Sakura-chan and Haku-chan know what I am talking about, as do you, Kakashi-san. Despite how well he hides it, he does still have his insecurities. Caillou explained. Kakashi sighed. I can relate. Even after all my years as a shinobi, I still don't like to kill when I don't have to. I still remember my first kill. I couldn't eat for almost a week without puking. I won't pretend to know what having to deal with demonic bloodlust is like, but I am sure it isn't something any of us would like to deal with. That is something I can relate to myself. Zabuza stated grimly. I was raised as a weapon and often succumbed to bloodlust when I was younger. I didn't really get much control over those darker urges until I grew older and realized just how wrong some things were. Part of me still enjoys killing or the thrill of a good hunt, but I don't let it rule my life anymore. Naruto-san's a good kid with a level head and strong heart. He'll be fine. This isn't his first time killing. He told me about what he did to the rude Anbu. He didn't like it, but considered it a necessary evil. In truth, all of the ninja present knew of Naruto's unique circumstances. Caillou and Sakura had explained it to Haku shortly after the gruesome battle on the bridge, mainly because they had to explain how he became the avatar for Shinigami. Zabuza had been told earlier than that by Naruto, and Kakashi had confirmed the story. Normally the former Mist Nin would have thought it a load of crap, but then again it did explain a lot of things, particularly why Naruto held an air of maturity about him and why his eyes seemed older than he was physically. That, and it was common knowledge that the memory viewing jutsu couldn't be faked, nor did it lie. Needless to say, the Demon of the Mists was very grateful that Naruto saw it fit to save his skin rather than let him die like he had in the previous timeline. The only people who didn't really understand what was going on was Tazuna, Tsunami and Inari, though they didn't really care either. To them, Naruto was the hero of Wave. Tazuna was even going to name his bridge after him to honor all that he did for his people in their time of need. Naruto's a strong one, he'll be back once he gets his head cleared, Kakashi said and returned to his book. Sasuke Uchiha found himself walking through the seedier part of Wave, his cold black eyes scanning the area for any possible threats as his perpetual scowl remained fixed on his features. Why does the dope have so much power? I should have that power. I am the one who needs it, I am the one who has suffered and lost. I need power, I must have power to get my vengeance to kill him them. But how can I kill Naruto now? He's too damn powerful and he's working for Shinigami. If only I could rip that power from him and make it my own, then nothing, no one could stand against me. He turned down a dark alleyway as his own brooding thoughts went to darker and darker areas of his slowly twisting mind. You crave power, do you, child? A eerily silky voice asked from the shadows of the dark alley. Sasuke stopped, drew a kunai and went into a stance. Show yourself. She snapped. In time, Sasuke-kun, in time. The voice said silkily. Now answer me, do you seek and crave power? A sudden surge of killing intent filled the area. It was so violent and twisted that it made Sasuke's skin crawl. The power behind this killing intent, it was amazing and intoxicating. He was having trouble breathing as the pressure continued to rise. It felt much like Naruto's but different at the same time. Perhaps it was evil that he felt. This, Sasuke-kun, is but a sample of the power I can give you. Tell me, do you seek such power? The voice asked again. Why yes, I need this power. I need to kill them, the ones who have wronged me. I crave vengeance. Sasuke screamed. Kuku came the chilling laugh. Excellent, if you agree to my terms I will grant you this power you seek and help you seek your revenge. What are the terms? Sasuke asked, struggling to regain his composure. I can't tell you all of it yet, the walls can hear and see when you least expect them. Just let it be known that I seek the nine-tailed brat myself. He is paramount for my plans. The demon will make excellent material for my experiments. My minion in Konoha will contact you again shortly after you return. I must take my leave now, Sasuke-kun, remember I can give you the power you need to reach your ambitions. Until then. The voice chuckled darkly and seemed to vanish into the darkness as a scroll rolled out to the Uchiha's feet. Sasuke picked up a scroll and opened it. A dark smirk crossed his features. The scroll was filled with quite a few useful and powerful jutsu. He could use the one called Hidden Snake Hand, looked interesting. With this I am one step closer to my revenge. Once I've killed Itachi, his eyes will be mine and I'll reclaim what was stolen from me by that damn demon. Naruto, just wait, in time I will become more powerful than you, then I will make you beg for death at my feet. After I have destroyed your happiness, it's just a matter of time. Sasuke chuckled to himself darkly and placed his new scroll in his pouch as he walked out of the alley. Crush. Bang. Crewink. Proc. Boom. Naruto relaxed his stance as two trees fell over in splinters and the large boulder he had been training on shattered into small pieces. He let out a sigh and cracked his knuckles. Seems I'm back to full power again. Heh, training is kin to therapeutic. He smirked and then frowned. Still, I need to stop depending on my demon and reaper powers, so much I'm letting my skills slip. He sat down and pulled out a bamboo canteen and took a long drink of the water it contained as he began thinking and planning to himself. It won't be long now until the Chunin exams and I'm damn sure the Hibi team will show up. I'm also sure the prick knows about me and the emo team by now, though I don't know how or if it will change his plans. The Sharingan isn't completely lost either. There's a good chance that if the team gets a cursed seal, it will repair what I did. Then the only option left is to kill him. I'm also betting that the Hibi team is going to try something against me as well. The bastards know better than his namesake, and that eight-headed, eight-tailed prick is more trouble than it's worth. I've also got to do something about Gaara. I'd rather have him as an ally this time. It'll give us a better chance of protecting Jai-san from the snake. Guess I'll have to talk to Shukaku. If push comes to shove, I'll make that miserable Tanuki do what I need it to do. I can't extract the insane sand log furball or that crazy priest without killing Gaara. Maybe the priest, but Shukaku has been there too long and bound by the seal. The crazed priest is just a secondary soul and can easily be reaped. I guess the only thing I can truly do is turn Gaara into a Hanyu by destroying Shukaku and giving Gaara his power. A simple task, and I'll be glad to be rid of that damn Tanuki sooner than later. I'll also have to seek out Yujito one of these days too. Nibi will be willing to help since she cares for her container's well-being. That will leave me with a few better options than what I got with Shukaku. He silently mused. Ryo, for your thoughts, dear. Kyuubi asked as she landed next to him. HNN. Oh, hey Kyu-chan. Naruto greeted. I was just planning a few things ahead. It's getting close to the Chunin exams and you know what that means. Kyuubi nodded and sighed. Hebe team will try to pull something, and then the Akatsuki will pop up not long after. Then there's Gaara that we need to attend to as well. I pretty much know how I'm going to handle Gaara, I still want him as my friend after all. Shukaku is going to be destroyed and Gaara will hopefully agree to take his place. If things go like last time then I'm pretty sure Konohamaru will set the whole thing up. Naruto said. As for Orochimaru, he's going to be more difficult to deal with, especially since Kabuto hasn't been seen much in Konoha. I'm pretty sure he will try to attack with Suna again like he did last time, and I think Emo team will still be a target, but I'm pretty sure I will be too. Too bad for him, my body is immune to those mutated enzymes he injects when he places a cursed seal. My blood will purge them, and being a seal master I can break the seal, even if he does figure out a way to make one stick. Naruto added. Kyuubi frowned. Let's hope he doesn't get you. The last time it happened you went on a rampage because the enzymes had horribly tainted demonic chakra laced into them. You leveled 3/4 of Odo by yourself and almost slaughtered civilians in the process. Yeah, not one of my better moments, huh? Naruto mused dryly. Still, I only had 6 tails when that happened and you were still sealed in me. Now I have 9 tails and Reaper powers. That alone is enough to negate the effects of a cursed seal, though it's likely to still have a couple of problems if the team manages to get me with one. I will need rest to recharge my energies after purging it, and there is a slight chance of going berserker, but I should have partial control if that does happen. Am I still going to act as a guard for the old man while you're taking the test? Kyuubi asked. I would still rather be in there with you, you know. I know, Kyu-chan, but Jai-sen will need someone to guard him since Hiro-senin will likely be peeping and Ba-chan will probably be getting drunk or gambling. Besides, if memory serves correctly, most of the ninja are going to be very busy during that time and I'll need someone on the outside I can trust with no actual commitments to keep an eye on things. I'd like to keep Hayate-san from getting murdered this time too, but that won't happen until the second part of the exam is done. I know, at least I'll be able to use telepathy to speak with you when I need to. She grumbled. I can't wait until Orochimaru and the Akatsuki are gone, then we can get on with our lives and not have to worry so damn much. It'll happen for all of us. The only ones I'm really worried about is Madara and Pien with their ultimate Mangekyou Sharingan and Rinnegan and Pien's 6 damn bodies. My Omnigan will be able to give me an edge over their Taijutsu though. I might have to forego using my Reaper form against them since I can't access my Omnigan in that form and I don't know if the Jagan will be of much use against them. At least this time around I'll know what to expect of those bastards in battle though, so it won't be so bad. Naruto smirked. Kyuubi arched an eyebrow. Oh, and I do hope you don't think you'll be facing those monsters alone, dear. Naruto knew that tone, it was sickeningly sweet and pure evil, and he had no desire to sleep on the couch for the next couple of months. You know I won't do that, that's why I am training the girls, and I know you can hold your own. Naruto frowned. The only part that is bothering me is that, well, in order for me to be absolutely sure they are properly protected they will need some of my power, you know what that means. I don't want to push something like that though. I want things to come naturally. Kyuubi chuckled. I doubt you'll have to worry much, the girls are legal adults now, and if the pheromones they produce being around you is any clue, I think I'll have a few sisters soon enough, including Haku-chan. She said smugly. Naruto's sweat dropped. Isn't it a bit early for that? She hardly knows me. Kyuubi shook her head and smiled. Don't be so clueless, Naruto-kun. When a girl finds what she wants, she doesn't screw around in obtaining it. Haku-chan likes you a lot. She already knows about your secret. I talked to her with Sakura. I am sure it won't be long before she starts giving out hints to what she wants. We like her, so if you would like her to become a member of your clan, then by all means add her. I'm sure Hinata-chan and Hanabi-chan would agree as well. Maybe, but Ino-chan and Tenten-chan might not be so willing. They can get kinda possessive and Tenten-chan's got all those painful pointy objects. Naruto cringed at the thought. I'd like to keep all pieces of my anatomy intact. I'm a bit attached, you know. Kyuubi snickered. Oh, I'm sure she wouldn't think of harming that part of your anatomy, yet she hasn't gotten her use out of it yet. Naruto's eyebrow twitched. It always comes back to that, doesn't it? And you ladies have the nerve to think men are too perverted. He grumbled. Kyuubi just grinned impishly at him, making him sweat drop again. Speaking of which, it's been a while now and there is a hot spring near here, she trailed off as she cuddled up against him and breathed in his ear. I've got an itch that needs scratching, love, you haven't been doing your duties enough. Naruto swallowed hard but kept his composure, but damn if she wasn't a little minx at times. Silently he allowed her to lead him off. Well, there are worse fates than this. He mused, silently amused. While Naruto was performing his duties with Kyuubi, Sakura and Haku were taking a much needed soak in the furo. Though this was mostly to get away from their perverted senseis, who would have figured that Zabuza of all people was a fan of the Uchiha series. Inari and Tazuna had left to go make the final checks on the bridge, and Tsunami went to gather a few things from the new market that had opened up the previous day. None of them knew where Sasuke was, not that they really cared, since all he did was sulk and brood about Naruto's obvious superior power. Yeah, what an ass. Sakura-san? Haku suddenly asked a bit shyly. Sakura glanced at her and blinked in confusion. Yeah? Do you really think Naruto-sama would accept me as a part of his family like you and Kaio-san? She asked with a bit of a blush. Sakura chuckled. If there's one thing I've learned about Naruto is that he's got a big heart. You already know about his circumstances, and I told you how badly I used to treat him before I realized what a fool I had been. Just give him some time to get to know you a bit more. I know he likes you as a friend, and if you start showing interest in him it'll happen. Doesn't it bother you though? Having to share him? Haku asked. It's not so hard for me because it's a very common thing in Mist for men to have multiple wives, but I heard most other countries don't often practice it. Sakura sighed. I'll admit I wouldn't mind having him all to myself, but for some reason I just can't imagine having a relationship with him without the others. One thing I do know is that he needs us. The things he went through in the previous timeline, they were horrible. In a way I suppose this is my way of atoning for the way my alternate self acted towards him. He spent so much of his life alone and he's so mature. Sometimes I have trouble remembering he's a 35-year-old man in the body of a 13-year-old boy even if he's built like a 16-year-old. I guess the reason I don't have a problem is because he treats us equally yet special at the same time. He gives us respect and kindness. He helps us to better ourselves and protects us when we can't protect ourselves. He does have a few negatives like his violent tendencies, which you saw during that last fight. He broods sometimes, but nowhere near as bad as Uchiha does. He can be very scary, outright terrifying when he's angry. But no matter what, no matter how mad he gets, it's never for the wrong reason, and he never takes it out on anyone who doesn't deserve it. He literally went through hell in his first life and by rights should absolutely hate some people, myself included, yet he's willing to forgive. To me that speaks much of his character and his honor. I count myself very lucky that he wants me to be a part of his family, that he gives me a part of his heart, and I vowed I would do everything in my own power to always be worthy of that. So I guess my answer is no, I don't mind sharing him because sharing him is better than not having him at all. Sakura explained while fingering the engagement ring on the chain around her neck. He is unique, isn't he? Haku mused. He's different from any man I've ever met. He even takes the whole evil demon stereotype and trashes it completely. I don't think that anyone else in the world could pull that off and still be like Naruto-sama. He's definitely one of a kind. Sakura nods with a giggle. Yeah, he is. According to Kaio-chan he's a real hot number in the sack too, that's always a plus. Sakura-san? That's so improper. Haku said and then smirked. So he's really that good, huh? Sakura hummed. According to Kaio he made her toes curl. She said he can be soft and gentle or beastly and passionate. Ino actually got a look at his equipment once at the hot spring when she peeped on him, and Kyuubi confirmed that the term standard issue do not apply. The only thing I can vouch for yet though is that he is one hell of a kisser, sure melts my socks off. The only thing I know he's good at is massage. He helped me work out the cramps in my legs and back after training sessions. Haku pouted. Ah yes, he's good at that too, very good. Sakura replied with a slightly glazed look. So when do you think we'll be heading back to Konoha? Haku asked. Sakura stretched a bit and leaned back, giving Haku a good view of her budding assets. Not sure, in the next day or so I'd think. The bridge is built and Tazuna is safe, no one has to worry about Gato anymore, so we will probably leave tomorrow morning. She answered. I wonder what Naruto-sama's home is like. He said Zabuza-sama, and I would be living there with him. Haku wondered out loud. Sakura grinned. You love it. It's the Kazama estate. It's basically a large compound with a huge mansion. It's got an awesome onsen in it, a private hot spring out back, a huge library and a nice office study. Its kitchen is really big too, and it had a tea room, family room with a large fireplace, recreation room, a workout room front. And rear deck patios enclosed by mesh screens overlooking the gardens. It's surrounded by lots of trees, and in the back 40 he has a nice private training ground. He's got a few other things too: private wine cellar fully stocked with loads of aged wines and sake, a small private medical ward and a lab where he works on jutsu, seals and herbal medications. He's also got a family armory with lots of weapons in it and loads of bedrooms. All of us have our own rooms there too, to use if we need them or want to spend the night. Sounds like a really nice place. Your parents let you spend the night over at his house, knowing you intend to marry someday? Haku asked, a bit shocked. Sakura chuckled. Well, mom did give me the talk and showed me the birth control jutsu just in case, but Naruto-kun is always a perfect gentleman. He never does any more than any of us are ready for that, and he cooks for us, and his cooking is really good. He thinks he picked it up from his mother who also had a natural talent for cooking. Wait until you try his homemade sushi made from fatty tuna, it's to die for, and his triple chocolate cakes, kami, those are really good. Sakura gushed. I wonder how good he makes sukiyaki or sashimi, those are two of my favorites. Haku mused. I've tasted his sukiyaki before, it's really good and he always gets prime beef for it and fresh vegetables. You'd have to ask Hinata-chan or Hanabi-chan about his sashimi though since I haven't had it yet. Sakura stated. Now I'm getting hungry. Haku chuckled. So my dinner should be started soon. We should probably get out and see what's going on. Sakura said. The two girls got out, dried off and went downstairs and found Tsunami cooking, while Kakashi and Zabuza were busy reading the little perverted orange book. Sasuke was back and ignoring the others as usual. Naruto had also returned with a rather pleased-looking Kyuubi who was back in fox form curled up next to him while he did the usual maintenance on his swords and tools. Izuna and Inari were playing Go and Izuna was losing. Naruto greeted the two with a smile and went back to repairing the kunai and senbon that Kakashi had asked him to. His blades hardly needed any maintenance due to their special properties, but tools like shuriken, kunai and senbon often needed to be checked to see if they were salvageable or not. The two girls were glad to see Naruto back to his usual self and walked into the kitchen to offer Tsunami some help with dinner, a rich-looking stew and fresh bread from the looks of it. She agreed to the help and set the two girls to work on some rice and a salad to go with the dinner. All in all, it looked to be a peaceful night in Wave. The next morning. Are you sure you have to leave so soon? Tsunami asked the group of ninja. They had all gathered at the front of the bridge along with many members of the town to see their saviors off. Naruto was in a different set of clothes this time, just his usual black pants and a copy of his favorite trench coat, but without the usual shirt underneath. It was pretty hot out, so no one really blamed him. Even Zabuza and Kakashi were dressed lighter. One really noticeable thing was the lack of mist forehead protectors on either Zabuza or Haku. Though it did distract Sakura and Haku a bit since they kept glancing at Naruto's bare torso since his coat wasn't closed. Kyuubi snickered to herself from her perch on Naruto's shoulder. I'm afraid so, Tsunami-san, we have duties to do back in Konoha. Kakashi said. Kakashi-sensei is right and we have a report to make to our Hokage too. I've also got to get Zabuza-san and Haku-chan registered as citizens of Konoha. Naruto said. We'll come back again one of these days to check on Wave though, and I left my address for you so you can always write. Inari walked up to Naruto, you could tell that the boy was doing his best to hold back his tears. I'm going to miss you, big brother. He said sadly. Naruto smiled and knelt down and pulled the boy into a brotherly hug. I'll miss you too, kiddo. Keep up your training and take good care of your mother. If you ever need my help you know how to reach me. He said. Inari nodded with a smile as he tried to stop his tears from falling as he pulled out of the hug from his hero. Naruto gave a light chuckle. You know it's okay to cry sometimes. You can't always keep your emotions bottled up or you'll end up like a certain emo we all know. Inari made a slight face while Sasuke grumbled something that tender ears shouldn't hear. I'll try. Do you still cry sometimes? Inari asked. Not often but there have been a few times. It's nothing to be ashamed of, if anything it shows you're still human and aren't trying to kill your emotions, something most ninja are guilty of. Naruto answered and stood back up. He didn't notice the admiring looks he was getting from those around him, especially the girls. Kakashi could almost see Arashi's image overlay with Naruto as he talked to the young boy. The women present just knew that he would make an excellent father one day. Alright kiddo, we've got to go now. Keep up your training and practicing that taijutsu I taught you. I left a few scrolls for you to study once your mother thinks you're old enough. Just remember, don't use your skills to hurt others, use them to protect those precious to you, and you will never fail. He then turned to Tazuna and Tsunami. It was a pleasure meeting you, Tsunami-san, and your cooking was great. Tazuna-san, best of luck to you and the rest of Wave. Don't worry about covering for the air rank, I will make up the difference for you. Keep that money and help your people get back on their feet. I wish you all well. He turned and looked at his friends. Alright then, let's head out. The others nodded and began following Naruto down the bridge as the people of Wave watched until they were out of sight. That kid, Tazuna mused with a chuckle. He's going to make one hell of a leader someday. Have you decided on a name for the bridge yet, father? Tsunami asked. I think it will suit it, well, the great Naruto bridge named after the hero of Wave. May it always stand against the trials of time as that young man stands against those who wish to harm others. Tazuna said. An excellent idea, Tazuna-san. The village masonry said. I will start work at once on a grand memorial statue to place in honor of them. I thank you, Shiro-san. Tazuna said. This is your best idea yet, Grandpa, thank you. Inari said, hugging the older man. Tazuna looked down and smiled as he patted his grandson's head. He then looked back out over his masterpiece as it stood towering over the waters. He knew deep down that had it not been for Naruto and his friends, that his vision of this grand bridge would have been lost along with many innocent lives. True, the young man had come because it was his job to do so, but during his stay, he had given the people of Wave back something they had once lost. He had given them hope and he had given his grandchild a purpose once again. To Tazuna, that was worth more than all the gold or riches in the world. Thank you, Naruto Dono, thank you for giving us all hope and a reason to go on. I pray that you find the peace you seek and that your own dreams come true, you truly deserve it. Tazuna thought as he gazed off into the distance. Chapter 15. Return to Konoha. The trip back to Konoha had been for the most part uneventful for the group. Sasuke had been suspiciously quiet and broody, but the latter was common, so the others let it go, though Naruto did keep a discreet eye on the Uchiha. Kakashi and Zabuza spent most of their time with their noses buried in identical orange books of poor Naruto. Had nearly face planted on the ground when Haku told him of her sensei's collection kept in his storage scrolls. Apparently Kakashi wasn't the only perverted shinobi to read them frequently. Kyuubi didn't really mind the books, in her opinion they brought up some interesting ideas. Sakura and Haku spent most of their time talking to each other about all sorts of different topics, that is when they weren't glued to Naruto's side. Naruto on the other hand had discovered a few interesting things. One of which was that he no longer needed to use the demonic seals and jutsu to assume his nine-tailed Hanyu form or even his werefox form, which, oddly enough, now pulled less chakra than it did before. His chakra levels had also grown, nearly doubling in size. Naruto found this most interesting since he already had insane amounts of chakra, both human and demon, but now he truly was bordering on limitless considering his control. He could also use his chains now in any form, since they fused with his body. This would likely become very useful in the future. Even though he was now able to use his alternate forms, except his Reaper form, without hand seals, he realized that he was becoming far too dependent on his alternate form's powers. Granted, it was true that accessing his other forms only brought out his full potential, he still desired to test himself with limitations. That isn't to say he'd be stupid enough to tackle someone like Orochimaru without at least taking on his nine-tailed Hanyu form. His wings, while a bit strange without his Reaper form in effect, was a welcome addition to his arsenal. At any rate, he had vast jutsu and kinjutsu skills that haven't even been tapped yet, skills he would use during the Chunin exams to better keep his more powerful abilities under wraps for now. With the Chunin exams looming closer, though, he was beginning to get a little on edge. It was at about this time that everything began going to shit in his previous timeline. He was glad that he took a little extra time on their trip back to Konoha to properly check himself over. The fewer surprises the better. He sighed as they passed through the gates. He was going to be quite busy for the next couple of days. He needed to see Hinata and Hanabi, then Tenten and then Ino. He planned on giving the Raijin to Ino since it would better augment her elemental affinity. However, he knew Tenten would freak if he didn't do something for her, considering she's the Kinjutsu mistress. Special weapons like the Raijin or his blades didn't just grow on trees either, but he could make one for her. A few specialized seals, a bit of blood and some elemental chakra, and 2 special jewels for chakra cores, and he'd have the perfect weapon made for her. All in all, he was going to be busy. Alright, Sakura, Sasuke, you two can head on home. I'll see to it that your mission pay is sent to you as soon as Naruto and I give Hokage-sama the mission report. Kakashi said. Whatever. Sasuke monotoned and stalked off towards the old Uchiha district. See you later, Naruto-kun. Sakura said and pecked her fiancé on the cheek before heading off towards home to tell her mom of her mission. Well, let's go get this over with. I'd like to get Zabuza-san and Haku-chan back to the house before it gets too late. Naruto stated. Akira Sarutobi was only mildly surprised when Naruto walked in with Kakashi, Zabuza and Haku in tow. The elderly Hokage knew he had planned on saving them if at all possible. Naruto then showed him the Raijin before clipping it to his belt next to Griever and then placed the Anbu storage scroll in front of Sarutobi, who sweat dropped it to Kanji seal, which simply said the goods. Though Zabuza and Kakashi thought Naruto's sense of humor was quite funny considering the scroll held the head of Aoi Rakusho. The very few council members in the room didn't share the humor. And this is a most difficult situation. Taking in Haku-san is not a problem since she is technically not a ninja or with any other village. But with Zabuza-san the situation is a bit more difficult since he is a missing ninja. However, in light of the help he gave you in Wave, and since Naruto has taken him on as a guardsman for his clan, I believe I can smooth things over with the council. Sarutobi said. Also, an excellent job on your assassination mission concerning Rakusho. The price for his bounty will be added to your mission fee. Thanks. If the council gives you any more crap about Zabuza-san, just tell them that he is an honorary member of my clan, and if they don't like it, they can take it up with me personally. Zabuza-san and Haku-chan have my complete trust and I will take personal responsibility for them. Also, if any of those old perverts on the council try to turn Haku-chan into a breeding factory because of her Kekkei Genkai, they will have to find new accommodations at the village loony bin once my Jagan is finished tripping their minds to shreds. I consider her a member of my clan and a person very precious to me like the other girls. If she is harmed, hell will not hide them from my wraith." Naruto finished in a sinister demonic tone that sent chills down the spines of the council members present. Sarutobi hid a private smirk. He knew Naruto was playing things up to scare the piss out of the elders that were still against him and the bloodline fanatics that were amongst them. Being a Kazama Akanamika's and the nine-tailed lord, well, let's just say that no one really wanted to try their luck against him. He did after all utterly destroy Danzo and his root organization in one day, and he hadn't even been at full strength when he did it, nor was he seriously harmed in the process. Any normal human would have been dead within seconds trying to take on that many trained shinobi. Aku blushed prettily at Naruto's protectiveness and unconsciously snaked her arm around his and cuddled up to him a bit, completely forgetting where she was and who they were in front of. The Hokage, Zabuza and Kakashi just smiled at the show of affection. Naruto was a bit surprised by the sudden action and glanced at her. Haku just smiled up at him through a light pink blush. He gave her his second trademark, a lopsided smile that was nearly as much a lady killer as his foxy grin usually was. "I guess she really does have a thing for me. I'd be a damn fool to pass her up to, she's a wonderful young woman, beautiful inside and out. Guess I have a new clan member or will have when I'm physically old enough to marry." Naruto thought, bemused. Haku felt Naruto give her arm a gentle squeeze and his smile told her what she had been yearning for. He was accepting her. What he had said wasn't just to protect her, he cared for her and truly considered a member of his clan. "I will see to it that Haku-san is left alone by the more radical members of the council, I promise you that, Naruto-kun." Sarutobi then got a slightly demented grin on his features which made the other shinobi a tad nervous. "Might I ask if you are considering a marriage with her as well?" Haku flushed brightly. Naruto did as well, but to a much lighter extent. Kakashi let out a slightly perverted giggle and Zabuza had to choke back a gruff haw at the sudden panic look on the young Hanyu's face. Not often you got to see someone pull that kind of reaction out of Naruto these days anyway. "Well, if that is what she wishes, I would like to marry her in a few years," Naruto admitted and then shot Sarutobi a rather dry look. "Of course I would have liked to date her and let her get to know me better before springing that little tidbit of information on her. Thanks for nothing, old man," he said dryly. Sarutobi snickered mentally at the young Hanyu's discomfort. Aku's face had a rather blissful look with big dreamy eyes as she cuddled up closer to Naruto. His proclamation had been a dream come true for her, a man who was stronger than her, that would protect her when she couldn't protect herself. A man who had not only been through one lifetime of utter hell, but saw it fitting to save her and her father figure the second time around and even offer them a safe haven and home where they would be welcome, warm, safe, fed and happy, no more running or dodging hunter nin. A few council members in the room looked like they bit into something that was a nasty mix of sour and bitter as they noticed that the demon brat obviously had the attentions and affections of the girl with the ice bloodline. They silently seethed. She would have made oh so wonderful breeding stock, especially for the Uchiha heir. Then again, he was sterile now, so that was out. They cursed silently. If it wasn't for Naruto's Omnigan, his genetic elemental affinities and his unique physiology, they would have had him executed at best, exiled at worst. Sadly, he killed the only one who could have taken him out. They could only hope Danzo-sama's soul was resting peacefully. In hell. Danzo whimpered as tears streamed from his eyes. He was strapped to an evil device, nude unfortunately, in a bent-over position with his head forced up, his eyes forced open as he was forced to watch episode after episode of two ancient Earth kid shows called Barney and Teletubbies. Frankly, both shows made him think a lobotomy without painkillers followed by a quadruple root canal would be a slight twinge of relief. He didn't even want to get started on the yaoi and a shudder went down his spine. The accursed purple dinosaur thing was singing again. Honestly, it was no wonder the damn things were extinct. They killed themselves to get away from the annoying one. Danzo sobbed again. Would his torment never end? Karma has a way of biting certain deserving souls in the ass at just the right moment. The large crimson-skinned humanoid with cloven-hoofed feet, gigantic muscles, huge wings and a set of wicked horns on his head came strolling up with a sadistic smile on his face as he lazily tossed a pineapple in his clawed hand. "Uo Danzo-chan." Lucifer sing-songed sadistically. "It's 6 on the dot. Do you know what time it is?" Danzo blanched. No. Please, not that. Not the pineapple. Have mercy. Mercy, I beg of you," he cried out. Lucifer put on a mock understanding face and patted the hysterical man on the head like one would a kicked puppy. "I understand, my poor fellow," he trailed off as a truly evil grin crossed his features. "So I'll be quick about it." He laughed as he reared back his hand with the pineapple ready. Outside, 3 men chained to a boiling lava pool, Winston slight sympathy. "I think we are the luckier ones." Adolf Hitler grimaced. George Bush Jr. nodded sagely. "That's true, better to boil in lava than be forced to watch those abominations and get a pineapple up the ass every hour. I swear that boy screams any higher though, we'll all go deaf." HNN Attila the Hun grunted as he proceeded to pick his nose. Apparently he'd found something good stuck up there or something. The other two sweat-dropped. Hell was an interesting if not strange place all things considered. You could even grow used to the heat and pain if you spent a long enough time there. A skeletal dragon flew overhead and let out a slight fart sound and dropped a flaming nugget on Attila's head. The Chinese barbarian sighed. Burning dragon poo stunk something horrible. Grumbling, the Chinese barbarian flicked the smoldering turd off his head and glared at the two bastards, snickering at his misfortune. Back in Konoha. Damn demon brat, muttered one of the councilmen quietly to the person next to him. Leave it to that thing to rob us of a perfectly good breeder with a Kekkei Genkai. I swear if Uchiha-sama hadn't become impotent, we could have used the little slut to thud. The councilman's mutterings to his fellow council member were cut short as three things happened in rapid succession. The first had been a loud dripping nose, followed by the sound of a large chain, and finally the spiked end of the chain, embedding into the wall, next to the pudgy man's face. Looking at the source of this caused the council members in the room to suck in a fearful breath. The hated demon brat was standing with his hand outstretched, the chain coming out of a slit in the palm of his hand, his blue eyes glowing an electric blue color, and a pair of golden feathered wings with crimson highlights stretched out slightly behind him. Barely restrained killing intent was bubbling off him, and his face was set in an angered sneer. You would be wise to watch your words around me, little worm. Naruto snarled demonically. I couldn't give two shits and a fuck what the hell you pathetic, pompous little self-serving bastards think of me, but the moment you insult Haku-chan you stepped over the line. You'd also do well to remember just who and what I am, mortal. I have no problems eliminating you and yours should I find out any of you are plotting against me. Konoha are my precious people, this is your one and only warning. Zabuza-san, Haku-chan, let's go, the smell of shit in this place is unusually high today. Jai-san, I'll talk to you later. Naruto stated and walked out as he retracted the chain back into his body without so much as flinching as his wings reverted back into their tattoos. Amused, Zabuza followed Naruto with Haku hot on Naruto's heels and slightly flushed from him, jumping to her defense. Zabuza waved a farewell to Kakashi and the secretly amused Hokage as he shut the door. The only other noise heard in the silent room was the sound of the rotund councilman voiding his bowels and a slight perverted giggle from Kakashi, who was still reading his favorite book. Sarutobi scrunched his face at the sudden pungent stench that filled the room. Naruto-kun seems to be correct, the smell of shit in here is most unpleasant today. Council members, you are dismissed. He said, shooing them off like unwanted pests. It didn't take Naruto long to get Zabuza and Haku back to his clan compound. Both were seemingly awed by the size of the home, though it wasn't nearly as large as the Hyuga compound. Zabuza took one of the guest rooms for his own. It was a modest room, but large enough to be comfortable and have a small space to lounge in. It was even furnished for him, a sweet deal to him considering some of the places he'd been forced into in the past. Haku found a room in the same area as the other girls' rooms. It was in the rear portion of the first floor and connected to both Naruto's private onsen as well as the hot spring outside, which had plenty of hedges protecting the area against peepers. This area was reserved to clan members and/or immediate family or spouses. All of the rooms were decently sized with restroom at the end of the hall. Each room was furnished with a comfortable four-posted king-size bed, several shelves for books and scrolls, a desk to work at, a small couch, two chairs and a tea table near the window which overlooked the gardens. The rooms even had doors that opened to the garden, which was filled with various flowers, herbs and even spices. From there you could take a small path leading off to the hot spring if you wanted to soak in an open-air bath. Needless to say, Haku loved her new home. Naruto went to his room and stored the Raijin away into a scroll and then placed it in his special hiding place, a blood storage seal hidden behind a picture of his parents. Only one with his blood could open it, and the seal had a special trigger to it. The blood had to be fresh, any older than a minute, and the chakra node would reject the person trying to unseal what was hidden in it. Once he got Tenten's weapon done, he'd be able to give Ino the Raijin. For Tenten he figured something unique would work well, and she was pretty slick with a halberd. He had all the items needed to upgrade a simple halberd into a lava halberd, though it was going to take him a while to make more core crystals since it would need two, one for earth, the other for fire. Making them was simple, just time consuming. All it required was a pure crystal which could be bought in most jewelry shops, and then one had to pump in a small amount of element-based chakra every day for 6 months' time after a few seals had been placed to form a core within the crystal and a replenishing seal, which would make the crystals replenish their chakra from both the user and any spare chakra in the area. Thankfully he could set it so the drain on Tenten would be minimal. A few more seal runes and kanji after that would grant the user control of the weapon and its special abilities. Unlike the Raijin though, this weapon was going to be attuned to Tenten via her own blood, so only she could use it. Thinking on it, he decided that a couple of special absorption seals would be good for it to allow it to eat and assimilate any fire, earth or magma jutsu sent at it that would keep a decent charge in it, and she could always send said jutsu back at its source. He idly wondered if he could apply the same seals to the Raijin to upgrade it as well. Perhaps he'd check into that, make the weapon more personalized. After Haku and Zabuza got settled in and Kyuubi decided to go take a nap, Naruto decided on going to his first stop, the Hyuga compound. That is, once he got into more civilian attire. Simple black pants with orange fire on the bottoms, black hiking boots and a black tank top. His gloves, gauntlets, combat boots, trench coat and other things were left in his room. Only his belt with his 2 swords and utility pouches went with him, not that he really needed them. Since Sarutobi had put Naruto on the spot earlier and made him confess he wouldn't mind marrying Haku in the future, and since she seemed so happy with the idea, Naruto stopped by the jewelry shop once again. Somehow the man once again had something just perfect for the occasion. A platinum ring with a snowflake carved out of some kind of prism like gem or crystal. He purchased it using some of his mission money, placed it in a protective pouch, and put it in his valuables pouch on his belt. It didn't take him too long to arrive at the Hyuga compound. After greeting the guards, he went in and began heading towards the gardens, knowing that was where Hinata enjoyed spending her time. Hanabi would be there as well, most likely. As he walked into the garden, he found both Hinata and Hanabi training. To his surprise, Hanabi had also gotten herself a pair of tonfa, and Hinata was helping her train with them. Hinata also had a new outfit on. Tight black pants with her usual ninja sandals. A lavender tank top on under a new dark purple guy top with a special black cloth belt that could holster her tonfa. On the back of the guy top was the Hyuga flame symbol with a dragon in the uzumaki spiral. Naruto approved of the design. Hanabi was wearing a similar outfit but in blues and shorts instead of long Anbu style pants. From what he could see, Hinata had gotten quite good with the tonfa, perhaps she had a natural affinity for them. He also noticed that both girls could easily mix their Jyuken style into it, making it a specialized Kenjutsu style. Naruto had taught Hinata his variation of the Jyuken that he mixes with his Taijutsu styles. He had found learning more than one helped, since you could keep your opponent guessing. So she was now well versed in nerve clusters, pressure points and the chakra scalpel that added to her Byakugan's ability to see chakra coils and Tenketsu points, made her just as dangerous as Naruto could be, just not quite as fast yet. Good afternoon, Naruto-san, how was your mission? Hiashi asked pleasantly as he walked up to watch his daughters spar. Naruto gave his future father-in-law a bow. Good to see you well, Hiashi Dono. As for the mission, both were successful and the Raijin has been reclaimed and is now in my care. Aoi Rakusho has been terminated and Wave was liberated from its oppressors. Though the unexpected interference of demons did complicate matters a bit, but it wasn't anything I couldn't handle. Hiashi arched an eyebrow. My, sounds like a very eventful C-rank mission you had there that added to the A rank you already had as well, must have kept you fairly busy. That's putting it mildly. Naruto chuckled. Just check with Jai-sen later, he'll let you read the report I made since I have you on my trusted people list and my advisors list. By the way, how did you Elder Council take the information and the new seal I presented? Hiashi frowned. Not well, I'm afraid. They are angry because my daughters are now out of their grasp and they fear you. They still believe you are what you once jailed and refuse to believe the explanation that Kyuubi was forced into the attack. They tried to deny the new seal you made as well, since it would destroy their control over the branch families. They were also quite angry when I named Niji my successor as clan head and told him the truth of what happened all those years ago with my brother. His cage bird seal was removed by me and your new bloodline protection seal was placed. He is much happier these days. The elders of the clan, however, are very upset with the situation and are pushing me to break off the engagement and betrothal or try to come to some other agreement. Being the head of the clan, they can't openly defy me though, and due to my actions, I now have a great backing from the branch families, especially once I declared my intentions to merge the main and branch together. I fear that both you and I will have assassination attempts in the near future by the more stubborn of the main families. Hiashi explained. Naruto looked the man in the eyes, a dead serious look on his features. Hiashi don't know Hokage Jai-san told you my secret, correct? Hiashi gave a slight nod. Indeed he did, I am aware of the whole story, but it changes nothing. Thank you. Naruto gave him a slight smile. But you can use this to your advantage. Hinata and Hanabi will one day become my wives, that makes them my family and by extension, that makes you, Niji and other trustworthy Hyuga my family as well. I protect my family. Anyone who tries to hurt my family will face my wrath. I never want to see Hinata-chan or Hanabi-chan in tears because of foolish and outdated politics. So you tell those stubborn power-hungry old bastards that if anyone so much as touches my fiancés, you, Niji or anyone else you see fit to protect they will have me to deal with, and should I find enough guilt or evil within their souls I will send them to meet Shinigami-sama for their judgment, or I will give them a taste of my Jagan. The Ashi mentally cringed at that thought. He was very well aware of what the Jagan was capable of. It made the mangyeko sharingan look like a cheap imitation in comparison. Only the Hokage, Jiraiya, Tsunade and a few trusted ninja and clan leaders were proxy to Naruto's personal data, since most of them were asked by both Naruto and Sarutobi to act as advisors. It was Naruto's plan that when and if he should become Hokage himself, that he would take those trusted allied clans and a few other trusted people and build a new village council for the sole purpose of the betterment of both the ninja and civilian sides of the village. This council would be established on much cleaner politics and policies, and any corrupt members will be removed quickly. As such, these trusted people knew of Naruto's role as not only the Neo-Kyuubi, but as Shinigami's avatar and all the power that goes with it. They also knew of Naruto's past life and mental age. This meant that Naruto was the unofficial second in command of Konoha, though it was never really voiced, most silently agreed to it, since the boy or rather man had much more experience than even some of them could claim. That and only an utter fool would go against or try to piss off a man that could literally burn your soul to ash with just a mere glare. Granted his Reaper powers weren't public or even clan knowledge, beyond those he trusts, but if a little fear tactics keeps his precious people safe then to hell with it. He can afford to let out a few secrets to keep ignorant assholes in line. Very well, I hope this prevents future problems, and I thank you for your support. You are very much like your parents, may they rest well. I believe they would be very proud of how you've grown. Hiashi said with a small smile. Naruto just gave him a small half smile. I like to think they'd be proud of me. Perhaps I will find out someday. Until then I have precious people here to watch over and protect to fight for. Naruto stated as the two sisters stopped sparring and noticed them. Naruto-kun. Both yelped happily and ran over to him. Hinata plowed into his chest hugging him, while Hanabi hung off his waist and began playing with his tail. Naruto let out a light chuckle and gave both girls a warm hug. He smiled to himself. It was moments like this that made coming back in time worth it. This he wouldn't trade for anything in the world. The Ashi smiled at the scene and noticed his nephew standing a short distance away. Niji gave a slight smile and a nod towards Hiashi, and the two left Naruto, Hinata and Hanabi alone to catch up with each other. Niji was fully aware that it was Naruto who had changed his fate, a feat he had once thought impossible, yet here he was now, heir to the clan and without the cage bird seal, but rather Naruto's more humane version. For that, Naruto would always have a dedicated and loyal ally in Niji Hyuga. After they left, Naruto bent down and gave Hinata a kiss and Hanabi a gentle peck on the forehead. Both flushed a bit, but smiled nonetheless at the welcome affection. How are my two Heims doing today? He asked as they broke apart a bit and sat down on one of the garden benches, a sister cuddling up to either side of him. We are doing well, Naruto-kun. Hinata said softly. How was your mission? It was fine. We ran into a few snags here and there, but nothing we couldn't handle. I even brought back two former Kiri ninja. Zabuza of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist and his adopted daughter and student Haku. Zabuza is working for me and Jai-san now and Haku-chan. Well, Naruto trailed off. She got a crush on you, huh? Hanabi giggled. Just so long as you don't forget us we don't mind. Naruto sighed. Thanks, and I would never forget or ignore either of you. You are both very precious to me. I think you'll both like Haku-chan. She is much like you, Hinata-chan, but has some of Hanabi-chan's fire in her. She's also got a Kekkei Genkai that gives her inhuman control over the ice element. Kind of like your wind and water affinities but a bit stronger. She said she'd help you train up your ice affinity too. She's living in my compound now with Zabuza-san. You two should come over sometime to meet her. She sounds very nice, Naruto-kun. Hinata said with a small smile, hoping she and this new girl could become good friends. How does Sakura-san and Kayu-san like her? Naruto chuckled. Let's just say I think that both of them help her along with her crush. Did anything interesting happen while I was gone? Not really, but I don't get out of the compound much anyways, unless I'm going to your place. Hanabi pouted. I had a few simple C-rank missions with my team, and Kurenai-sensei is helping me get better with my tonfa, though she said I was a natural with them. We were also told that the Chunin exams will be taking place here in Konoha this time, and Kurenai-sensei wants us to take part in it. I think they are in about 2 weeks. Apparently Niji Nai-san and his team will be too along with Ino-san's team. Hinata paused for a moment and then giggled. Kiba-kun got caught peeping at the hot springs by Kurenai-sensei and Anko-san when we were all soaking. Anko-san chased him all around the village until she caught him, stripped him and hung him by his feet in the park with a large dog biscuit stuffed in his mouth. Naruto slumped over slightly, shaking in barely restrained laughter at his friend's misfortune. That was even better than Ino's idea of senbon needles to the ass being good motivational tools for Shikamaru. Bet Kiba doesn't do anything perverted for a while. Naruto chuckled. I think we'll be in the exams too, Kakashi-sensei will enter us so we can test our skills. It should be an interesting challenge. He said with a mental smirk. A certain snake bastard wouldn't know what hit him if all went according to plan, though Naruto hoped they don't end up destroying half the countryside like they did last time for a human heir subhuman. Orochimaru was very powerful. Hinata and the other ladies are stronger this time than they were in my original timeline, so things should go much smoother for them. Having Haku and Zabuza here will help matters too along with Hirosenin and Bachan, we should be pretty set. Still the Hibi team is bound to know a few things. The last time I fought him it took almost 6 tails worth of power to put the slippery pedophile down for good, I'll have to be careful this time around. I wonder if he'll still be targeting the team or will it be me this time, perhaps both. At any rate I'll have to be cautious, I'm not sure I'll be able to kill the snake in the forest since he has a habit of using those damn mud clones of his. I'll either have to wait until the invasion or sometime after depending on how things go. I wonder if I should have pretended to be my younger self and let things happen as they normally would have sometimes, but this is so much more entertaining. Naruto thought as a flash of bloodlust filled his eyes. I'm going to enjoy killing that bastard, I will show you, Orochimaru, what? Through fear and terror is before I destroy you and send your soul to Shinigami-sama. Udo-kun. What are you thinking of? You seem lost in thought. Hanabi asked curiously. The slight glint of bloodlust faded from his eyes and he smiled down at his betrothed, kindness once again residing in his fearless blue orbs. Just about the challenges ahead, Hanabi-chan. Now then, since we seem to have a free afternoon, would you ladies like to have some lunch? I could fix your favorite sashimi again with some cinnamon buns. He offered. It'll give you two the chance to meet Haku-chan as well. That sounds wonderful, Naruto-kun. Hinata smiled while her sister nodded. Both girls ate as cooking any chance they got. The lunch and visit went off without a hitch. Naruto was pretty surprised at how quickly Hinata and Hanabi warmed up to Haku, all three showed signs of becoming very good friends. After the Hyuga sisters left, Naruto offered Haku the ring he got her and the proposal, needless to say she was ecstatic. At first she had let out a few happy tears and then tried to pry out his poor tonsils via her tongue until Zabuza walked in and let out a Kakashi-like perverted giggle, only to have a senbon launched at his manhood for the interruption. Naruto had laughed, he'd never seen Zabuza sweat bullets like that before or take off in such a fast run. After that he took Raijin and went to his study lab to begin work. Upon closer inspection he discovered that he could indeed add seals to the blade to make it more personalized to Ino. He would need to use a combination of ancient Celtic runes and modern kanji calligraphy to accomplish this, but that and a bit of chakra would ensure it worked out. He also fetched a halberd from his armory, the weapon more resembled a sword spear type of weapon. It had a long ironwood handle, wrapped in black leather for grip, and the blade resembled an ancient Arabic sword known as a scimitar. At the base where the blade met the handle was a large axe-like blade on one side and a long spike on the other. After fusing the two different element chakra crystal cores on either side of the blade and then placing a runic bridge seal, a fusion seal, an indestructible seal, a recognition seal and a chakra absorption seal, with external and internal absorption nodes, the weapon was nearly completed. He just needed to let the seals and chakra finish combining and fusing together before giving it to Tenten and having her add some blood to the blade, which would then ensure only she could use it, as the blood recognition seal only worked with the first blood to touch it, after that it locked in place. Seal work on the Raijin went much faster since most of the work was already done for him. Still, working on both weapons had drained about a quarter of his chakra reserves and putting seals on anything was tedious. Thankfully it didn't take too long for the weapon seals to finalize and begin working. Naruto dubbed the new halberd, Ifrit. Named after a legendary guardian beast that was lord over magma and was said to sleep deep within a volcano within the lava flows of ancient earth. Each element and sub-element had its own guardian beast. Once, millennia ago, there was even a special summon contract for the guardian beasts. But their powers were abused so they withdrew the contract, hid it somewhere in the mortal realm, and departed for their domain in the realm of summons. Their king was a massive dragon called Bahamut that was the guardian of the void element. It was said that one attack from Bahamut could slay even a Biju in a single blow, leaving behind nothing but a rippling void of space. It was also believed that Naruto's Zanbato, Requiem, was forged from one of Bahamut's spines, a gift given to the unnamed demon and angel artisans that forged and crafted the blade. But that was merely legend, and no one knew if it was true, not even Naruto, Kai or Shinigami. After everything was finished, Naruto grabbed a storage scroll and placed both Ifrit and Raijin in the scroll. It was late now, so he would go and give the two ladies his gifts the next day. He had much to prepare for. He planned on stepping up his ladies' training for the Chunin exams, as well as a few special preparations he had to make. Sasuke Uchiha gasped in pain as he got up from the ground, his hand covering the gift his new master had given him. Said master stood in the shadows, his yellow eyes glinting in the darkness. Sasuke could feel the new power flowing through him, repairing the damages done to him by his Oni dope teammate. The Uchiha smirked darkly as he channeled his new purple chakra into his eyes. His eyes turned crimson, each with 3 comma-shaped tomo in them. It was the sharingan. Ukukikuku, my seal has awakened the powers sleeping within your blood, Sasuke-kun. For this gift you will agree to follow me? The man asked silkily. Yes, with this power I can finally destroy them, the dope and him. I will follow you, Orochimaru-sama, and gain the power you promised. For this power I sell my soul to you, so long as I get my vengeance, nothing else matters. Sasuke said with a dark grin. Excellent, Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru purred sinisterly. And vengeance you shall have, but remember our deal. You can humiliate the Hanyu and keep its horrors for your own pleasures, but it is mine. It has powers I wish to extract from it and make ours, but first it must be broken and made to submit to us. So until it is time you will do as you would normally. Just remember to keep your seal well hidden. I will leave this jutsu scroll here for you to study. Once you are finished, speak to our mutual friend for more. I will be leaving for a while, train hard until then, Sasuke-kun, and hide your secrets well. The snake Sanin said and melted into the floor. Sasuke grabbed the scroll and chuckled darkly, his pupils slitting for a second as his retina turned purple. Soon, dope, very soon you and everyone else who had ever crossed my might will fall at my feet. I will enjoy watching you suffer as I slowly destroy your happiness and grind it in your face. Soon there will be no need for this pathetic village, they will all bow to me or fall to my power. Sasuke ranted as a sickly aura of lurid black and purple chakra covered him. The Uchiha walked off into the darkness of his compound to study the jutsu scroll his new master left for him, unaware that said man was still watching him from the shadows. Ukukikuku, that is right, my little puppet, my vessel, dance from the strings I hold and deliver to me the prizes I desire. The power you and the fox brat will bring me will make me the most powerful being on the planet. My ambitions will finally come true. I will master all this world's jutsu and then I will gain the jutsu of other realms with the combined powers of the Mimic Sharingan and the Kitsune's Omnigan and Reaper's Jagan. It is only a matter of time. Kukikuku. Orochimaru let an insane and bloodthirsty grin cross his inhuman features as he melted into the shadows. Why settle for the power of mere humans when the powers of demons and devils was so much more delicious? And that marks the end of this part of the story. If you guys made it this far and want next part of the video, comment down below to let me know. Thanks for sticking out till the end. Keep supporting guys, we are gonna cross 1000 subs soon. Anyways, I would gladly appreciate every likes, comments and subscribes I could get on the series. It only takes a minute, and best of all, you can show your support for absolutely no cost. See you in the next one.